American comic, I'm lost, I'm surrounded by superheroes with father issues. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 751, The Expedition to the Unjust World begins. After leaving the office at Hogwarts, Harry was in a bad mood. Walking in the school corridor, he suddenly wanted to go outside to relax. Although he knew that the school rules did not allow it, he still did it. Crossing the school lawn and leaving the dormitory, he wanted to go to the observatory to look at the stars. He wondered if he would feel his parents by his side when he was closest to the sky. Stepping on the stairs, Harry entered the astronomy tower. Harry stood at the highest point, looking at the stars, and suddenly heard footsteps coming from behind. Turning around, Harry saw the teacher of the Defense Against the Dark Arts class, Professor Mad-Eye Moody, appear behind him. Professor Moody, you should understand, Harry, the observatory is a restricted area. If I wasn't on duty here, and other teachers found you, you would definitely be put in solitary confinement. Moody didn't seem to blame him for breaking into the observatory, but smiled kindly at him and walked over. Sorry, Professor Moody, I just want to see the stars. Moody nodded. I understand, Harry, I also like to see the stars. I remember someone said, where the footsteps can't reach, the eyes can reach. Where the eyes can't reach, the spirit can fly. The distant starry sky, our footsteps can't reach, only the imagination can reach it, so we will put all the spirit and beauty on it. Imagine our loved ones, or lost family members looking at us from above. Seeing that Professor Moody not only didn't blame him, but also talked to him, Harry was a little moved. Thank you, Professor Moody. After a moment of silence, Harry mustered up the courage to ask him, Professor Moody, do you know that Tom met the mysterious man on the alien planet? I know that Tom and Loki repelled the mysterious man, so Padraic and Dumbledore insisted on giving them high scores, but this kind of thing is not suitable to be announced, otherwise it will only cause panic. In the scoring session after the second level of the day, Tom and Loki scored the highest, and Wanda ranked third. In the end, Dumbledore gave the reason that the two were the bravest and protected the other warriors. I remembered something about the Death Eaters. Harry stood in the observatory and suddenly figured out something. There is a Death Eater in Hogwarts. It was him. It was this Death Eater who put my name in the Goblet of Fire and deliberately made me participate in the competition last. Harry figured out who put his name in. Calm down, Harry, I know who that Death Eater is, Moody said to him calmly. Karkaroff? Right, Harry said anxiously, it's him. He used to be a Death Eater, and the way he kept looking at me was full of something wrong. It's him, Professor Karkaroff. Moody smiled strangely. No, not him, Harry, and I guess Karkaroff has escaped now, because he felt the dark mark on his arm burning. He betrayed many loyal supporters of the Dark Lord and dared not go to see them, but I doubt he will go far. The Dark Lord has a way to track his enemies. Karkaroff is gone? Then didn't he put my name in the Goblet of Fire? Harry asked a little confused. Wasn't it Karkaroff? No. Moody's expression suddenly became serious, and he slowly said to him, it wasn't him, Harry, it was me. Harry was stunned when he heard what he said. He took a step back, his face full of incredible expression. No. No, no. Harry looked at him in astonishment. You couldn't, Professor. Don't joke, it was indeed me, Harry, Moody said, and at the same time his magical eyes turned to the entrance of the stairs of the observatory, where the door was already closed. Harry knew that he was preventing himself from escaping suddenly. At the same time, Moody slowly pulled out his wand from his arms and pointed it at Harry. I never thought that we would become enemies, Harry, but this is the helplessness of fate. Moody asked him. He forgave them, didn't he? Forgive those Death Eaters who were at large and escaped from Azkaban. What? I don't understand what you mean, Harry stammered. He looked at Moody's wand pointing at himself. No, this is not true, it's just a lame joke. It must be. I'm asking you, Harry, Moody said to him calmly, has he forgiven those scum who never looked for him? Those traitors, cowards, they didn't even dare to go to Azkaban for him, those disloyal and despicable things. They had the courage to wear masks and make trouble at the Quidditch World Cup, but after seeing the dark mark I launched, they all ran away one by one. You launched it, Professor Moody, you are talking about? I don't understand. Harry was even more confused. I told you, Harry. I told you, and it was very clear, if there is anything I hate the most, It is to let a Death Eater go free. They chose to betray my master when he needed them the most. I hope he punishes them. I hope he tortures them. Tell me, did Tom tell you that he tortured them, Harry?" Moody's face suddenly showed a somewhat neurotic smile. Harry shook his head desperately. "No, you didn't." "No, it can't be you. Then you were wrong." Moody shook his head. "Who put your name into the goblet of fire?" "It was me. Who has been helping you from behind to prevent you from being eliminated?" "It was me." Moody's magical eye turned back to stare at Harry. His crooked mouth opened and smiled at Harry. "At first my plan was you, but the Padraic family got involved. No one expected that Raven and the others would be so powerful that I almost didn't even have the ability to interfere, but later I still knew the content of the second level and informed him in advance. My master told me that he was interested in you, Harry, but he was more interested in another Tom, because it was him, when he was young, so this time the Dark Lord targeted Tom, and you escaped." Moody's wand was still pointing at Harry's heart. Behind him, in the mirror on the wall, there seemed to be a vague shadow shaking. "The Dark Lord didn't care about you, but I know he has always wanted to kill you. If I did such a thing, how would he reward me? Harry, I gave you to him. Think about it, if I did it for him, how would he reward me? I gave you to him. You are one of the things he wants most. Then I killed you for him. I will get more honor than any other Death Eater. I will become his most beloved confidant, closer than his son," Moody said, and his normal eye bulged. His magical eye stared at Harry, and a crazy smile appeared on his face. Being pointed at by the other party's wand, Harry knew that he didn't have time to take out his wand. "You know, Harry, the Dark Lord and I have a lot in common." Moody seemed to be completely out of control. He looked down at him and said, "For example, we both have very disappointing fathers, extremely disappointing fathers, Harry. We both inherited our father's name with shame, and we both happily, very happily, killed our fathers to ensure that the Dark Lord is in power." "You're crazy." Hearing that the other party killed his father, Harry looked at him in shock and couldn't help saying, "You're crazy. How dare you do this?" "I'm crazy." Moody raised his voice loudly, with uncontrollable anger in his voice. "Very good, Harry, let's wait and see. See who is crazy. The Dark Lord has returned, and I assist him. Harry Potter, you didn't conquer him. Tom Patrick didn't conquer him. Now, I will conquer you." Moody pointed his wand at him and opened his mouth to release magic. Harry also reacted and quickly put his hand into his robe to prepare for a counterattack. With a dazzling silver light and a loud sound of wood breaking, the door of the observatory was suddenly rushed open. The person Harry didn't expect, Peter, suddenly appeared behind Moody. Then, silver energy suddenly bombarded Moody's back. Moody groaned, flew out heavily, hit the wall, and then slowly slid down from it. Peter walked to Moody with an expressionless face, looked down at him who was in a coma, and then turned over his body with his foot. "Mr. Peter." Harry saw Peter appear and walked over excitedly. Peter looked up at Harry and put his hand on his shoulder. "Are you okay, Harry?" "I'm fine, thank you, Mr. Peter. If it weren't for you, I might have been killed by him." Harry thanked Peter gratefully. Mr. Peter always appeared in time every time he was in danger. He now understood Hermione a little. No wonder Hermione relied on Mr. Peter so much. Mr. Peter can indeed bring people enough sense of security and protect him and Hermione like a father. "You're welcome, Harry." Peter looked at Moody. "Also, this guy is not Moody, he's pretending." "Then who is he, sir?" Barty Crouch Jr. The next day. Padraic Farm. Boom was very dissatisfied because he handed Mad Eye Moody to Dumbledore last night and watched him torture him with truth serum. Boom was going to talk to him and sneaked into his room, but ended up staying alone in the empty room all night. Boom went downstairs angrily and saw Peter frowning, as if he was worried, so he asked him, "What's wrong, Dad? Is it the Voldemort thing that bothers you?" "No, it's not." Peter shook his head and picked up Boom. "I received Lyra's distress signal." Chapter 752 Dad, why don't I call you Jinx Patrick? Lila, Bertugo blinked. "Dad, are you saying that Lila's world is in trouble?" "Yes, actually, it can't be said to be a distress signal. It's more like some kind of information transmission, telling me that she has encountered some unsolvable difficulties." "Then will you go to help her?" Bertugo said somewhat aggrievedly. "Dad, I wanted to talk to you last night, but you stayed in Hogwarts. Now you have to go to Lila's world again. I am your most beloved daughter. Also, the Triwizard tournament is over. Why did you stay in Hogwarts last night, Dad?" Seeing Bertugo's aggrieved expression, Peter reached out and scratched Big Hugo's nose. Because something big happened in Hogwarts, I know, it's nothing more than Voldemort's resurrection. Boom snorted coldly. If it were me, Dad, I would kill Voldemort in one go. It's a pity that you didn't let me participate in the farm competition. Really? But Boom, you don't know magic, and Voldemort's killing curse is very powerful. Peter rubbed Boom's blue bowl cut and said to her, I also know rune magic, although I only know a little bit. Boom was a little frustrated, but soon cheered up. By the way, Dad, I want to give myself a cool name. Peter looked at her in surprise. Aren't you called Boom? Isn't this name cool? Boom is my nickname. When I go out, I introduce myself to others as my father's daughter. I can't call myself Boom, right? What do you want to be called? Peter asked Boom curiously. Jinx Padrake. Peter, sure enough, what is coming will come. Bayo? Do you know what jinx means? Of course I know, Dad. Jinx means jinx. Peter, are you still talking to me? And you, a little girl, are you using your exclusive game lines to talk to me? Ahem, I mean, do you know that jinx means trouble? You are my daughter, Bayo, not a trouble. Maybe you can give yourself a big name. How about Lux? Lux. Bayo lowered his head and thought for a while, then shook his head. No, I feel that the name Lux sounds like that of a silly and innocent princess. At this time, a princess of Dalmatia was hit hard. Can you tell Dad why you thought of the name Jinx? Peter asked his daughter while holding her. Because I had a dream, Boom said with some melancholy. I dreamed that I became the daughter of Father Vander from the Black Alley. One day Father Vander was kidnapped, and Way and Milo went to rescue Vander, but they didn't take me with them. Peter listened to Boom's story quietly without interrupting her. Like Milo said, in the dream, I felt like I was really a burden. Then, when I discovered the energy of the Hex Gem, I immediately wanted to prove myself. This was the first and last time. Out of kindness, I wanted to help everyone and did something. However, Vander, Milo, and Craig were all dead. Boom was a little uncomfortable when he said this. I knelt on the ground and begged V not to leave and not to abandon me, and then V said, because you are a jinx, the me in the dream could have saved them. That's just a dream, Boom. Peter kissed Boom's hair gently, and there is no such thing as could have. In fact, could have is a kind of counterfactual thinking. This way of thinking will make us aware that if it didn't happen, the result might be better than it is now. This is because when people encounter negative results, it is natural to think that things should have been better, which leads to counterfactual thinking, accompanied by negative emotions such as regret, disappointment, and guilt. But the fact is that the result may be worse than it is now. Peter comforted his daughter. Even if that was a story in a dream, it's not entirely your fault, Boom, so you are not a jinx. After listening to this, Boom felt much better. He looked into Peter's eyes. Dad, I had another dream. This time V didn't separate from me. We were very good friends. But one day, when V and I went to Jace's house to steal, V was killed by the Hexcore. Peter fell silent. He remembered that in the original world line, Ike had indeed traveled through a parallel world. He found that Fandel and Hilko in the parallel world were not dead, and Jinx was not crazy, but a lively and cheerful girl. Her hairstyle also changed from long hair to short hair. Both her image and personality were completely different from Jinx in his world. The reason for changing the world line was that V was blown to death. Why do I always dream of a bad ending for V and me? Boom asked Peter uncomfortably. Dad, do you think V and I will not become enemies in reality? Peter felt a little trembling when he heard Boom say that. Clark saw that he would rebel in the future, and if you two twins become enemies in the future, then he really couldn't stop even if he wanted to. In addition, his daughter was really sensitive. Not only did she dream about herself in parallel universes, but also more than one parallel universe. He remembered that Wanda in the original world line saw herself in countless parallel universes when she was corroded by the Dark Book. Boom is now almost catching up with Wanda's ability. No, of course not, you are all Daddy's good daughters. Peter collected his messy thoughts and whispered to comfort Bombshell. Dad, the two were talking when Way, Little Horace, Clark and Azu came in from outside. Several people helped to sort out the haystacks in the barn outside. Gwen and Wanda went to Talon Cafe, and Jane returned to Gotham to continue her breast cancer treatment. The farm was much quieter. Godfather, I heard that you rescued Harry yesterday and arrested Mad Eye Moody. Clark asked Peter curiously about what happened yesterday. He and Azu watched the entire Triwizard tournament and knew several teachers at Hogwarts. They also knew that the current teacher of the defense against the dark arts class was Mad-Eye Moody. Yes, he is Barty Crouch Jr.'s transformation. How did he do it, Emperor Dad? Little Horace came up and asked curiously. Peter explained to them, last night Dumbledore used Veritaserum to interrogate Barty Jr., and he admitted that he and Wormtail did it. They prepared the Polyjuice potion in advance and went to Moody's house together. Moody put up a great fight and made a lot of noise, but the two men finally subdued him in time and pushed him into the dark room of his own magic box. Then they pulled out a few of his hairs and added them to the potion. Barty Jr. drank the potion and turned into Moody, taking his wooden leg and magical eye. Peter paused and continued, and Barty Jr. also cast an imperious curse on Moody, but did not kill him, because Barty Jr. needed to ask him questions, understand his past and his habits, so that even Dumbledore wouldn't be able to see through it. Everyone fell silent after listening to Peter's story. What a perfect plan. If Tom hadn't suddenly appeared and disrupted his plan, he might have really killed Harry, Clark said with some mixed feelings. It turns out that there are so many intrigues and conspiracies in the magic world. It's like this everywhere. Humans don't change easily. Peter patted Clark's shoulder and turned his eyes to him and Zoo. John, Clark, I'm giving you two a task. You need to go to the world of injustice, check what happened in that world, and confirm the safety of Leela. World of injustice. Zoo's eyes narrowed when he heard Peter say this word. Yes, I believe you two can handle it. Before Peter finished speaking, Boom Boom raised his hand. Dad, I want to go too. No, you're still young, Boom Boom. You can't act with Zoo and the others now. I have my own name, Dad. My name is Jinx Patrick. I have grown up enough to protect you, Boom Boom said unconvinced. Wei, who was next to him, was surprised when she heard Boom Boom name herself Jinx Patrick. When Azu and Clark heard Boom call him Scourge, they looked at each other with some difficulty. Okay, Boom, you have a more important task, which is to protect the farm in Asgard. Understand, Peter said while touching Boom's hair. He still had to pay attention to the situation at Hogwarts, so he asked Azu and Clark to go and take a look first. No problem, Dad, Azu said confidently. As long as I take action, there is nothing that cannot be solved. Just like if you let me participate in the Triwizard Tournament this time, I only need to make a little move to defeat Raven and Star-Lord. It's a pity that you didn't let me participate, Peter. I see that those of you who didn't participate are all very dissatisfied. Unjust world. After entering this world, everything seems to be very calm, and there seems to be nothing abnormal. Zoo looked around and said to Clark, who was reading a newspaper, everything seems normal. Did Dad make a mistake? Maybe there is an undercurrent. Let's go find the Batman in this world first. Clark handed Zoo the newspaper with the headline Batman still hasn't appeared. His disappearance remains a mystery. Zoo nodded. Of course, Dad once said that no matter which world it is, as long as there is no evil Batman, it's always right to find him. Chapter 753 Azu, Clark, I don't feel good today. As a reception area, to be honest, this place needs some improvement. Looking at the slightly shabby place after entering the new Batcave, Azu complained to Clark. Wayne Manor has been abandoned, and Batman moved the Batcave to a new place. The two spent a long time to find it. Tap. 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 A metal door opened, and Bruce Wayne in a suit walked out. John, Clark, long time no see. Since the two left the world of injustice, they haven't come here for a long time. Bruce was a little surprised to see them. You two have matured a lot. Zoo walked towards him. Thank you, you too, Bruce. This suit is nice. You are the first one to compliment my clothes. Bruce walked over and shook hands with Zoo. How is Padraic now? My father is fine. He recently had another unknown boy. Now he takes care of the child every day. And by the way, he goes to the wonderful magical world to explore with a group of wizard girls. Hey, hearing Zoo say this about Peter, Clark immediately glared at him. John, you can't say that about the Godfather. After saying bad things about Peter, Zoo also felt a little regretful. Clark is a big leak. Will this guy tell his father? Although his father and Fleur and Hermione are somewhat ambiguous, everyone is pretending to be stupid. How could he blurt it out in a moment? Ahem. Bruce pretended not to hear what the two said, and said, let's go. I'll take you to visit the new Batcave. The two followed Bruce into the elevator. My great-grandfather built the original Gotham Underground tunnel, but now, he led the two out of the elevator and into the wide space. This is now the new Batcave, pointing to the many monitors and control consoles arranged around. Bruce introduced Azu and Clark. This is the Brother's Eye. Clark nodded. Is this the eye of surveillance? More than that, this is a communication hub that connects all the satellites and servers on this Earth, warning us when a crisis comes, and then giving us guidance. Zhu looked at a machine in front of him and said to Bruce, I guess the person who operates this must be a genius. Bruce nodded, maybe, after Clark looked at the brother's eye in front of him. He asked Bruce about the business. What happened? Is Leela okay now? Bruce's expression changed slightly when he heard the other party mention Leela. I can't contact her now. Bruce sat in front of the computer and began to operate. After the end of Superman's reign, the collapse of the regime has caused the world to split. We have tried our best to repair it, but sometimes we are out of reach and powerless. As he operated, the image of a gorilla appeared on the screen. This is the Gorilla Grodd. They gathered a group of old friends and called themselves the Secret Society. My insider in Gorilla City said that Grodd is planning something big, but we don't know what, where, or when, so I asked Leela to investigate it. So Leela disappeared. Zhu crossed his arms over his chest and said to Bruce, I guess Leela shouldn't be so weak that she would be caught by a gorilla. Bruce shook his head. Things won't be that simple. I used the sand that Leela gave me. According to her, this dream sand can contact Peter across dimensions, so I tried to use it to contact Peter. You know, my identity has been exposed, so it's inconvenient for me to do many things. Previously, Injustice Superman sent a group message on his mobile phone, telling the world that Bruce is Batman. After Clark heard what he said, he frowned. Do you have any clues now? About Gorilla City or Leela? Yes, Bruce said to the two. I found out that Scarecrow is going to deliver a large amount of fear gas to Grodd at his hideout, Slaughter Swamp. If you can find him, you may be able to find something. After hearing the clues provided by Bruce, Clark and Zhu looked at each other. Late at night. Slaughter Swamp. Clark and Zhu rushed here. Standing behind the window of an abandoned warehouse, the two looked at the fully armed soldiers who were moving boxes. The man wearing a face mask and a red scope in front of his eyes was talking to Scarecrow. Can you hurry up? I don't want to be beheaded by Grodd because of delaying tomorrow's attack plan. Scarecrow replied to Death Shooter. Don't worry, Death Shooter, we will definitely be ready before tomorrow's attack. Tomorrow? Who is Death Shooter? Zhu showed a puzzled expression on his face. Clark explained to him in a low voice. Deadshot's original name is Floyd Lawton Jr. He is a mercenary and professional killer, known as the world's deadliest shooter and the most accurate shooter on Earth. Zhu shrugged his shoulders. Maybe he should compete with Star-Lord and Boom Boom to see who is the most accurate shooter in the world. Swoosh! As soon as the voice fell, the whistling of vines suddenly came from behind the two. With a bang, Clark and Zhu were entangled by the vines and hung directly in the air. There are actually eavesdropping bugs here, and I caught them. The red-haired Poison Ivy walked towards the two from the shadows. Let me see who this is. As she spoke, she walked to Zhu and Clark who were hanging upside down. But the moment she saw the two, she stopped, with a shocked expression on her face. It's you. Superman. Seeing Clark, Poison Ivy made an unbelievable sound. She didn't know that Clark was a visitor from another world, and thought Clark was the Injustice Superman. Although I'm used to being mistaken, I have to say that I'm not the Superman you know. Before he finished speaking, Clark broke free from the vines and floated in the air. Bang! The vines on Zhu's body were instantly shattered, and he said to Poison Ivy, you got one thing wrong, that is, red-haired girl, you are the little bug. Looking at the two Supermen standing in the air, Poison Ivy was a little scared. You are Batman's people. Zhu moved his wrist. What's the difference? Poison Ivy took a step forward with a slightly exposed figure. Bruce Wayne has been busy in the concrete jungles of Gotham and Metropolis. In my opinion, he is no different from Superman, and Grodd can give me what I need. Of course, if he can't do it, I will use him as fertilizer for flowers. Clark took a deep breath and said to her, come with us, we need to know something from you. What if I say no? Poison Ivy stared at him and slowly controlled the plants outside the room to move closer. Whoosh! The plant vines moved over instantly. Clark's body was entangled by the vines in an instant. He smelled the unique humus smell of the plant. The surface of those deep purple vines was covered with fluorescent veins, and each time they were entangled, they would release neurotoxins. Clark frowned and tore off the vines on his left arm. But then he felt uncomfortable and found that those fluorescent veins were absorbing his energy. Shaking his head, Clark's expression became serious. His pupils shrank to the size of a needle tip, and his throat vibrated, blowing out a freezing breath. Facing the tide of man-eating vines, Clark exhaled an extremely cold airflow. which lowered the temperature of the entire greenhouse. But the next second, Clark felt a sense of drowsiness. He saw Poison Ivy blowing a kiss to him, and then his mind became a little drowsy. Clark knew that Poison Ivy's body could emit strong toxins, including strong hormones, which could kill any target and seduce any man or woman. And Poison Ivy can secrete deadly toxins with her lips. If the target kisses Poison Ivy, it needs to be treated within a certain period of time, otherwise the toxin will spread throughout the body in a short time and die. But what he didn't know was that Poison Ivy's toxin also had the effect of mind control. She achieved the purpose of mind control by kissing the object or the object inhaling psychedelic gas, and the controlled object would have hallucinations from time to time. In the original world line, Poison Ivy once used mental toxins to control Superman and provoked a war between Superman and Batman. Only some people with strong will such as Batman could resist Poison Ivy's mental toxins. Now Clark was accidentally tricked by Poison Ivy. On the other side, Azu didn't know that Clark had been immersed in Poison Ivy's mental illusion. At this time, Azu had left the room and was fighting with the Scarecrow outside. Bang! Scarecrow threw the bomb-emitting fear gas to Azu. After a dull sound, green fear gas emanated from it. Azu looked at the bomb spinning on the ground and spraying fear gas outward and shook his head. Then he slowly walked to the fear bomb in front of the Scarecrow's astonished eyes and picked it up. "You know what? My father used to smoke this to get high, Peter." As the Scarecrow looked at him in disbelief, Zoo placed a bomb that released the fear gas in front of his nose, and then took a deep puff. Zoo's action as an old smoker completely shocked the Scarecrow. After a top-notch puff, Zoo showed an intoxicated expression to the Scarecrow. "It tastes good. It seems that the effect of the fear gas on him is similar to that of cigarettes." Seeing Zoo pretending to be so cool, the Scarecrow smiled. "Very good, then you should like my new formula." As he spoke, he raised the nozzle in his hand and released another kind of fear gas towards Zoo. Zoo took a sip, then turned around and fell to the ground without hesitation. Chapter 754, Confidence, the new Supergirl. Kneeling on the ground, Azu shook his head, trying to make himself more conscious. He looked in the direction of the Scarecrow and found that it was Peter who was walking towards him. Dad, Peter, who was huge and seemed to have a strong sense of oppression, walked out of the shadows step by step. "John, look at you, you have grown up a lot, but your ability seems to have not grown at all. You are still arrogant and proud, and often fall in the same place. You still haven't grown up, not at all." Peter's voice with an echo kept echoing in his mind. "No, Dad, I'm already growing up. I'm your proudest eldest son. I respect you and am willing to follow you until the end of the world. No matter what happens, Dad, I'm your proudest son." Azu hurriedly stood up and explained with a panicked face, "I can inherit everything from you, Dad. I've been making myself stronger." "No. You can't." "John," Azu said excitedly, "I can. You are the measure of everything in my heart. Do you know? Dad, the world is divided into three parts in my eyes. One is the world I live in, which is full of rules and regulations. These regulations are specially made for me, but I don't know why. I can't always fully comply with these regulations. Then there is the second world, which is very different from my world. This is your living world. You keep watching our world. Finally, there is the third world, where everyone except you and me lives happily, a world that is not bound by any orders or precepts," Azu said to Peter, who was walking over with a strong sense of oppression, in a heartfelt tone. "Only your world, Dad, my world, and the third world will exist. Dad, do you remember when we went swimming together when we were little, under the influence of the fear gas?" Azu spoke out his true feelings. "I still remember the time when we were changing clothes in the locker room together, Dad. I was weak when I was little, and you were strong, tall, and broad-shouldered. I felt very pitiful in the locker room, not only in front of you, but also in front of the whole world, because you are the measure of everything for me." Then, we walked out of the locker room and in front of everyone. I held your hand, with the body of a little child, trembling with fear. I stood barefoot on the wooden board, afraid of the water, and couldn't learn your swimming moves. You showed me how to swim again and again with good intentions, but I wished there was a crack in the ground for me to hide in. I was extremely desperate. At such a moment, all my bad experiences came together. I thought the best situation would be that you left the locker room first, and I stayed in the locker room alone, so that I could delay the moment of making a fool of myself in public as much as possible, until you finally came to see what was going on and kicked me out of the locker room." He paused, his eyes slightly red. "Dad, I am very grateful to you because you didn't seem to notice my embarrassment, and I am also proud of your physique, but you disappointed me." Peter's voice came faintly from above his head. "You disappoint me now. You can't be the kind of person I expected." Then Peter's illusion disappeared in front of him, and the next second, he saw countless people lying on the ground. Clark, Star-Lord, Raven, Boom, Loki and others all fell to the ground powerlessly, looking at him with despair on their faces. "John, this is your only chance. As long as they are gone, you can inherit my golden throne, Padrick Farm and Asgard. You will be my only son, and we will control the world together." Peter's voice came to him from behind. "Go, send Raven and the others away from here. You are my only son, you can do it, so you won't disappoint me forever." Under the instigation of Peter behind him, Zoo walked towards Clark and the others on the ground like a zombie. But just after taking 2 steps, his eyes changed. "No," Zoo turned his head sharply, "you are not my father. My father would not act like this just because he is disappointed in me. You are just a fake clown. Do you think I will listen to you?" As he scolded, Peter in front of him stepped back step by step. Zoo's consciousness was restored in an instant, and the illusion in front of him disappeared without a trace. Then he saw a rumbling sound coming from the swamp. Scarecrow and others had already fled on a jet ski. At the same time, Clark woke up from the illusion created by Poison Ivy and moved to Zoo's side at super speed in an instant. "Should we catch them?" Clark asked Zoo. No, I have installed a tracker on the guy called Death Shooter." Before Zoo was poisoned by Scarecrow's gas, he had already attached the tracker given to him by Batman to Death Shooter. As he recalled the hallucinations created by Scarecrow's fear gas, and tried to calm himself down, he asked Clark, "Why did you come out so late?" Clark was embarrassed to say that he had just fallen into the hallucination created by Poison Ivy. He said with a somewhat unnatural expression, "I was just affected by Poison Ivy's neurotoxins, and my movements were restricted, but I finally recovered." In fact, he fell into a dream that was extremely happy for him. Clark in the dream woke up on the farm, and he didn't have to worry about his hero identity every day, whether he should leave the farm. He had a happy family and the world was very peaceful. He was the owner of Padrick Farm, talking to the Godfather, looking at his wife and son, and constantly showing a happy smile. His wife had a face that was a combination of Louise and Lana. Although it was a bit strange, it would be nice if such a dream was really a reality. No matter how perfect the dream was, it was still a dream. In the end, Clark relied on his willpower to overcome the illusion created by Poison Ivy and woke up. "Really? Is it that simple?" As he looked at Clark with doubt on his face. The other party's guilty look made it hard for him not to doubt. At the same time, in the world of injustice, in a secret base in Kandak, in the desert, with an air explosion, a figure flew through the air. Kara, wearing a Supergirl uniform, flew through the air and landed in the base. This Kara is not the Kara of the DC world, but the Supergirl Kara who arrived in the world of injustice not long ago. Kara fell to the ground, looking at the sunset in the desert, thinking of her deceased mother. She was a refugee from Krypton. The Kryptonians have strong technology, but when another more terrifying existence attacks Krypton, they can't defend their homeland. Faced with an endless army of robots, even the most powerful Kryptonian warriors will be afraid. Because they all belong to one person, the city collector Brainiac. Superman's father Jor-El, and the people of Krypton are fighting Brainiac. But after seeing his brother Zor-El die in battle, Jor-El decided to start the final plan. He discovered a planet on the edge of the universe. Although the civilization there is still very primitive, it is enough for Kryptonians to survive. He decided to send Kara and Carl away. Kara was rescued by her mother, who told her about Jor-El's plan. Heartbroken, Kara was then sent to a spaceship bound for Earth. What made her even more sad was that after she left Krypton, she witnessed Krypton explode into pieces. A fragment of a planet hit her spaceship, and the violent impact caused Kara's spaceship to deviate from its course. The system has automatically generated a new route. The new route has been generated, and cryogenic sleep begins. Kara didn't know that she would arrive on Earth 35 years later than Superman. She thought that when she arrived on Earth, she would be able to find her family 35 years later. Kara's spaceship ran out of fuel, and when it was about to hit the Earth like a meteor, a pair of strong hands hugged her spaceship. Kara woke up from the spaceship, and the dazzling sunlight made her feel a little uncomfortable. "No, but I'm his friend, you can trust me." A man named Black Adam caught Kara's spaceship. "Kara, where have you been?" a voice from behind interrupted her thoughts. Kara turned around and saw Wonder Woman and Black Adam walking towards her. Diana asked her with an unhappy expression. Kara showed the vitality of a young girl and pointed to the sky. "I was flying in the sky just now, listen to the sound," Black Adam said to her with a serious expression. "How many times do I have to say that the place outside Kandak is very dangerous?" Kara argued for herself. "I have been lost in the universe for decades. Before Adam found me, I was dormant in the speed of light. Now I am trapped here again. Can't I have some space?" She felt that her life was a mess now. Even the basic freedom was gone. Wonder Woman looked at her. "Then how can I make you feel better? Let me out." "Diana, you taught me how to use my power. This world needs help. There are too many differences among the people on Earth. They are always fighting in vain." Listening to Kara's words, Wonder Woman shook her head. "That is a world without Kal-El. Batman has spies everywhere. Leela has become his lackey, monitoring everything. He cannot know your existence before you are ready." Wonder Woman held Kara's hand and said to her earnestly, "I'm not afraid of the woman in the red cloak." Kara shook off Wonder Woman's hand and clenched her fists. "I can bend steel with my bare hands. Lila can do it too." "What?" Kara was stunned for a moment. "She can do it too, but you said she is Karl's daughter. Why would she stand on Batman's side? Why does she have the power not to rescue Karl?" "Because her real father is not Karl, it's Peter Patrick. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 755. Hello friends at the zoo. "Who is Peter Patrick?" Kara asked Black Adam and Wonder Woman in confusion. Wonder Woman had a complicated look on her face. "He is a visitor from another world. He led a rebel alliance to arrest Karl and destroyed the entire Justice League." "Is he alone?" "No, not just him. He is the leader of the Patrick family. He also has Superman, Homelander, Raven, Star-Lord and others under his command. In short, he is a dangerous and powerful enemy. Lila Clark is the Superman he created. She is just Karl's daughter in his dream, but Peter Patrick made everything come true. He is the god of sleep and has incredible power in dreams." Hearing Wonder Woman's story, Kara was stunned, and then looked at her hands. "My hands can't defeat Lyra and Peter Patrick." A frustrated look appeared on her face. "Since I can't defeat them and can't help rescue Kal, what's the use of these powers?" Black Adam heard Kara's words, put his hand on her shoulder, and said to her earnestly, "We will, Kara, just like you and I rescued Diana on Paradise Island." Wonder Woman walked in front of her. "The time will come, and then we will rescue Kal. And then Batman and Lyra Clark will surrender to us." Wonder Woman has been resentful of the humiliation she has suffered. Wonder Woman's life was not easy before. After being defeated by Peter, she was imprisoned on Paradise Island. The chains that imprisoned her were made by Zeus himself. These chains once imprisoned the god of war Ares for a long time, and now they are used to imprison Wonder Woman. Not only was she chained, but she also had to endure the ridicule of the god of war Ares. "I really like to see you in such a miserable state now, Diana. How pathetic. We are all products of war, and we are all bound by this chain. These chains were forged by Zeus to imprison me, and the irony is that now they are restraining you." Ares said such unbearable words. But in fact, Ares mocked Wonder Woman as a byproduct, and he had something more important to tell Wonder Woman, which was the real purpose of his coming here. He told Wonder Woman that a weapon had been forged, an unprecedented weapon, and this weapon was not for war, but for ending war, and once it was launched, all wars would cease to exist. Wonder Woman thought that Ares wanted to stop all this herself. But the other party told her, "No, you can't stop it, you'd better accept this ending now." Wonder Woman's equipment was no longer there at this time, and a female warrior named Nubia put on Wonder Woman's equipment and became the new Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman could only wait. Afterwards, the Assassins League and Black Adam joined together, and they decided to use Kara's power to rescue Wonder Woman. Supergirl Kara, disguised as a drowned adventurer, snipped into the interior of Paradise Island. A large number of Amazon warriors are Diana's die-hard fans. These people have been secretly supporting Diana, and the lasso of truth ensures that there are no traitors and leakers among them. Kara was broken into the room by two Amazon warriors with a lasso of truth. One put the lasso of truth on Kara's arm, and the other warrior pointed a sword at Kara. After confirming that Kara was here to rescue Diana, the female warrior named Antiope took Kara to a secret room. The room was already full of fully armed female warriors, all of whom were Amazon warriors loyal to Diana. The warriors surrounded the city, and each of them held the lasso of truth and said their oath to Supergirl Kara. While these people were swearing, Amazon Queen Hippolyta was persuading her daughter Diana in prison. She locked Diana with the chains that imprisoned the god of war, but the two still disagreed. Diana felt that Superman was the god who brought peace to the earth, and that there was nothing wrong with Superman's actions. But the Amazon Queen felt that Superman brought war and destruction to the earth. At this moment, the female warriors rushed in and attacked the Queen. Seeing that the rebellious Amazon warriors were numerous and powerful, the Amazon Queen knocked Antiope down with one punch, then ran to the observation deck and blew the guardian horn of the Amazon tribe. Although Antiope knocked the Queen unconscious, it was too late. The new Wonder Woman and the Amazon warriors had already discovered them. What followed was Diana's unbearable memory of that war. Pulling her thoughts away from the previous memories, Diana looked at Supergirl Kara and whispered, "I know now, Ares, the mysterious weapon you mentioned is her." Casting her eyes to the setting sun in the distance, Diana said to her mother in her heart, "Mother, humans have ruled for too long. They have been fighting, hurting innocent people, and hurting the world. We can protect the world. If you are afraid to fight, we need someone who can lead us to fight." Kara didn't know that Wonder Woman had so many associations in her mind at this time. She looked at the two people who spoke to her earnestly, nodded hesitantly, "Okay, I will be patient during this period, and I won't go out." Then Kara looked at Wonder Woman with curiosity and asked her, "Diana, can you tell me how Peter Padrick defeated the Justice League?" "Wonder Woman, you really are talking about things that are not related to others, and you only expose people's scars." Seeing that Wonder Woman's face was a little ugly, Black Adam stepped forward to resolve the embarrassment. "Let me tell you, Kara, the cause of this all started with Lex Luthor." The next day, Zoo and Clark followed the signal and left Gotham. Bang! The two fell from the sky and landed near the Ape City. Bruce's voice came from the headset, "The best way for us to stop Grodd is to take the initiative." Zoo frowned. "So you mean, capture all the gorillas in the city?" "No, we just need to capture their leader Grodd. If we take him down, the other gorillas will surrender. Don't be too careful about the other members of the secret society." Clark listened to Bruce's voice in the headset and asked him, "Don't you have an army?" "No, we don't have an army after the collapse of Superman's regime." Bruce said to him, "If you need help, I can send Blue Beetle and Firestorm to the scene to help you." Zeus said to Injustice Batman unhappily, "No, we don't need it. Do you think that if the two of us can't solve something, we can send Blue Beetle and Firestorm to solve it? Then I wish you good luck." Hanging up the communication equipment, Zeus complained to Clark, "No matter which world, Batman is so annoying." Clark smiled, remained silent, and did not comment on Bruce. He was afraid that Zeus would tell on him. "Okay, we have to go. I have to get back to the farm as soon as possible, otherwise I don't know what trouble Raven and the others will cause." Zeus ended his chat with Clark, and according to the address provided by the tracker, he flew into the sky with a boom and rushed to the target location. A few minutes later, the two arrived at a secret base. In the open space covered by metal plates above their heads, many gorillas wearing armor and uniforms gathered. On the high platform, a majestic gorilla in uniform slowly walked up and spoke to the gorillas. "Our time has come. In a few hours, we will break the blockade of humans. There will be no more oppression, no more regimes, and no more Justice League. Today, the world welcomes their new masters." Standing under the flag, the gorilla Grodd opened his arms, that is, the secret society. As he spoke, the whole venue boiled, and several superheroes came up from the audience. Poison Ivy, Captain Cold, Catwoman, Deadshot, Bane, Scarecrow and other superheroes walked up to the stage. Looking at the Scarecrow on the stage, Zoo felt a little bad. "I hate Scarecrow and fear gas. I'm going to catch this guy and make him absorb all the fear gas." Zoo still hasn't forgotten Scarecrow's fear gas last night. He boasted that he could absorb the gas like Peter without falling, but he didn't expect to be slapped in the face by the speed of light. "These guys have entered the room, let's go up and catch them." Seeing the gorilla leader Grodd and other members of the secret society enter the room, Clark interrupted Zoo's complaints about Scarecrow's resentment and signaled him to start the capture. Inside the base, Grodd walked in front, and Catwoman said to him, "The speech just now was good, but you were a little boastful, Grodd. Did you ask Superman to write the manuscript?" Grodd said without turning his head, "Soldiers must be properly motivated to sacrifice their lives, Catwoman, and hatred is the most lasting motivation." Captain Cold shook his head. "Then after the association is disbanded, it's best not to transfer hatred to us." Grodd replied to him, "Of course not, as long as our goals are the same, there's nothing to worry about." Catwoman and the others kept a distance, walked up and whispered to Grodd, "Hey, Grodd, I heard that we have a secret partner. Since everything we do depends on him or her, can you tell me who he is?" Grodd shook his head. "He will be here soon." Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a burst of air. Azu broke the glass and fell from the sky, and the ground was instantly blasted with spider web-like cracks. Standing up with his body slightly bent, Azu tilted his head and said to the startled people, "Hey, friends from the zoo, hello." Chapter 756, New Enemy, Brainiac. You are the Homelander." Catwoman looked at Zoo, who suddenly appeared in shock. She didn't expect to see the Homelander from another world here. "Yes, it's me. It seems that you guys are really unwilling to be idle. And you, Catwoman, aren't you on Batman's side?" Catwoman shrugged her shoulders. "I don't like the way that guy does things. We parted ways a long time ago, okay, although I don't like him very much either." Zoo crossed his hands in front of his chest, turned his eyes away from Catwoman, and looked at the other people in the secret society. "But you guys, don't think that you can overthrow Batman's order by hiding in a rat hole." Before he finished speaking, Zoo's thermal vision shot towards Bane, who was closest to him. With a bang, Bane couldn't dodge in time and was hit hard and flew out. However, because Bane had taken the Superman drug, he was not shot through the body by the thermal vision. Zoo's sudden attack stunned the other members of the secret society around him. Seeing that Zoo had no moral integrity, the secret society members stopped being polite to him and immediately began to attack. A purple beam of light hit Zoo's back of the neck. Grodd's mind control amplifier was activated. Bane, who was lying on the ground, stood up with a roar. The venom tube was wrapped around his body like a parasitic vine. Bane picked up a nearby vehicle and smashed it at Zoo. "Go to hell." Bang! Zoo easily caught a vehicle with one hand, but found that the bottom of the vehicle was stuck with a miniature gas tank lead by Scarecrow. With a bang, the yellow-green smoke exploded instantly. He was forced to hold his breath and retreat, but was entangled by Catwoman's alloy whip around his ankle. "Sorry, this is our territory." Catwoman smiled softly at Zoo. Facing Catwoman's attack, the next second, Zoo suddenly exerted force, twisted his waist and threw her into the air. With a bang, Catwoman fell to the ground and rolled, hitting the ground with a dull sound. As Zoo threw Catwoman out, Bane had already rushed out from the shadows. The roar of the venom pump drowned out the friction of the hydraulic joints. Bane roared and swung his fist, brushing Zoo's cheek, scraping a string of sparks on his steel body. Facing Bane's attack, Zoo sneered, grabbed Bane's neck with one hand and lifted him up. Bang! Bane's venom tube burst due to overpressurization, and the yellow-green liquid splashed on Zoo's uniform, corroding tiny holes. Grabbing Bane, Zoo flew up suddenly, flew into the sky and then threw him down heavily. With a dull boom, Bane hit the ground and lost consciousness instantly. Zoo defeated Bane and fell to the ground, and when he landed, he stepped on a floor tile and crushed it, and the shock wave shook the surroundings. "It's time to cool down, Scout." Seeing Bane was defeated, Captain Cold raised his freezing gun angrily and shot at Zoo. The absolute zero rays from the freezing gun froze Zoo's cape. When the ice crystals spread along the cape to the shoulders, the Gorilla Ground's mental shock hit again. Zoo's figure stopped for a moment and was shot by the freezing gun. Zoo, who was a little annoyed by being shot, shouted and broke the ice layer, and the heat vision split the energy core of the freezing gun. Captain Cold, who was unable to react, was instantly blown away by the heat vision. Grodd on the other side saw Zoo defeat the other members of the secret society effortlessly in an instant, and knew that he could not be the opponent, so he quickly retreated and prepared to escape. Just after escaping from the room, he heard a boom. Clark flew down from the air and stood in front of him. "No, you can't escape, Grodd." At the same time, Zoo also dealt with the other members of the secret society and walked out. "It seems that things are going well." Zoo greeted Clark and walked in front of Grodd. He complained to Clark, "I didn't expect that gorillas could talk." Clark glanced at Grodd and explained to Zoo, "The gorillas here didn't know how to talk at the beginning, Then why? Actually, at the beginning, the gorillas in Gorilla City were a group of ordinary gorillas, but the radiation from a meteorite gave them extraordinary intelligence. Among the irradiated gorillas, Grodd and another gorilla Sarawa gained even more powerful mental powers, allowing them to manipulate minds or communicate mentally, but most of the residents of Gorilla City are peace-loving, but Grodd is an ambitious radical. Clark told Azu the information he had learned. Grodd has wisdom beyond human beings and is a very powerful telepath. Although his main telepathic field is mind control, he can control people's minds and force them to act according to his orders. He can also transfer consciousness to other creatures to control them. He can also attack the enemy mentally and create horrible hallucinations to torture the opponent. Grodd interrupted Clark's speech. You are right, Superman, I can control people's minds, but compared to you humans who use illusory thoughts and lies to control people's minds, I can only be considered elementary. Hearing Grodd's words, Zu stretched out his fist and hit him at once. Grodd, who was hit hard by Zu, groaned and fell to the ground. Just bring him to Batman. Zu grabbed the gorilla on the ground and said to Clark. Unexpectedly, Grodd, who was caught in his hand, laughed. Hey, Homelander, Superman, you won this battle, but you have already lost the war. At the moment when Grodd finished speaking, the ground suddenly shook violently. It seemed that something fell to the ground, causing a large-scale vibration of the ground. Azu and Clark looked up and saw a huge spaceship flying overhead. Looking at the huge spaceship, Azu couldn't help but let out a surprised voice. Shit. The next second, whoosh, a beam of light suddenly came out from the bottom of the spaceship. The two people who were unable to react in time were directly absorbed by the beam of light and entered the spaceship. Standing in the spaceship, Clark looked around vigilantly. What is this place? Obviously, we have entered the interior of a strange spaceship. Azu and Clark stood back to back, carefully looking at the structure inside the spaceship and said, I have to say that you can easily defeat the gorilla Grodd, which is worth studying. Suddenly, an electronic sound came from a distance. Azu and Clark looked in the dark direction where the sound came from. Countless mechanical arms rose from the ground. The octopus-like mechanical arms slowly spread out, revealing a bald, green-skinned alien face. The other party's forehead was covered with black mesh patterns, as if a living circuit board was embedded under the skin, and the patterns flashed dark red light with thinking. Azu looked at the green-skinned alien who suddenly appeared, stunned for a moment, and then asked Clark uncertainly. Green skin? Aliens, Clark nodded. I guess they are Martians like John. The bald green-skinned alien shook his head and said to the two, my origin is thousands of light years away from Mars. It is called Comet. I am Brainiac, and you, Superman, you are the one I have been looking for. Kal-El, the last orphan of Krypton. Before he finished speaking, the neural mechanical wires in Brainiac's body pierced out like a venomous snake. Clark tried to dodge, but the light of kryptonite on the wire instantly made him lose his strength. The data mechanical wire instantly penetrated Clark's shoulder blade, and the Kryptonian cells were forcibly extracted. Clark's skin quickly turned gray. Damn it! Seeing Clark injured, Zu shouted angrily and immediately shut out a thermal vision. He tried to cut the data cable with thermal vision, but found that the surface of the cable was covered with some kind of coating and could not be cut at all. The angry Zu immediately activated super speed and rushed towards Brainiac's body, but was crushed to the ground by the suddenly activated gravity field. With a bang, Zu fell heavily to his knees. Your power is also very strange, but it did not exceed my expectations. Brainiac's eyes flickered, and the gravity field suddenly increased in strength, and Zu's suit began to crack. Relying on surprise, Brainiac instantly put the two people in danger. Walking to the transparent cabin, looking at the Earth outside, Brainiac slowly said, what a wonderful planet. At this time, Brainiac's spaceship cage of knowledge was suspended in outer space outside the Earth. The strange shell seemed to be made of countless civilization debris. I will collect worlds, retain their core knowledge to improve my wisdom, and then I will discard the residue. Zu took a deep breath, using all his strength, and asked him, why? Why do you do this? Your race values expensive metals to symbolize your identity, but in my opinion, this is meaningless. I value knowledge, which is different from your metal trinkets. Knowledge is more valuable when it is more scarce. As he spoke, countless spaceships sped towards the Earth. Now my army has set out, and this planet has begun to become my collection. Azu and Clark turned their eyes to the screen in shock, and found that the streets of the city displayed on the screen were densely packed with robots. The robots kept shooting at the crowd, running in fear. The city suddenly became chaotic. And you will see all this destruction with your own eyes. Just as Brainiac finished speaking, a blue and red figure suddenly rushed in. Bang! The thermal vision instantly cut off the mechanical arm controlling Clark. Lyra suddenly appeared and grabbed Clark and Azu in the gravity field. Bang! The spaceship's cabin wall was smashed, and Lyra grabbed the two and flew towards the Earth at a high speed. Brainiac did not react until Lyra took the people away, then he roared. No. Chapter 757 Hermione and Little Thoughts, The Purpose of the Unjust World. No, I'm fine, I'm not tired. At Hogwarts, Harry said to Peter, Dumbledore and Sirius Black. We can talk tomorrow morning, okay, Dumbledore, Sirius said hoarsely. He put a hand on Harry's shoulder. Let him sleep, let him have a good rest, he has been through a lot recently. At this time in Dumbledore's office, Peter, Sirius Black, Tom, and Harry were talking about Voldemort. The Ministry of Magic also heard about Voldemort's resurrection and sent investigators to investigate in the school. In order to prevent the situation from getting out of control, Dumbledore asked Peter and Tom to rehearse the lines. After Harry experienced Voldemort's resurrection and the fake Mad Eye Moody almost killing him, he was a little dazed and had not rested well in recent days. After hearing Sirius let him rest, Harry's heart was filled with gratitude to Sirius. But Professor Dumbledore didn't seem to hear what Sirius said. He leaned towards Harry and looked at him. Harry looked up and looked into his blue eyes. If I thought, Dumbledore said gently, that it would be good for you to hypnotize you to sleep, Harry, and allow you not to think about what has happened recently, I would do so, but I know better than you do. We all know that temporarily numbing the pain will make it more painful when you finally feel it. Then he looked at Tom, and Tom, I have to say that you have shown a bravery that far exceeded my expectations of you. Tom, you have made us all proud of you, and your father proud of you. After Dumbledore finished speaking, the Phoenix let out a soft and trembling cry. Tom glanced at Peter and saw that Peter was in a good mood. The corners of his mouth slightly raised as he thanked Dumbledore. Thank you, Headmaster. Sirius on the other side was puzzled by the fact that the two wands were connected. Professor Dumbledore, why are Tom's and you-know-who's wands connected? Sirius looked at Dumbledore in confusion. Is there any special reason for the two wands to be connected? He asked. He looked at Tom and then at Dumbledore. Professor, can you explain it to me? Tom was also curious when he heard this question. He looked up at Dumbledore and saw that the other person had a deeply attracted expression on his face. It's the flashback spell, Dumbledore murmured. His eyes stared deeply into Tom's eyes, and an invisible knowing look flashed between the two. You mean, it can get the effect of the replay spell? Sirius asked him cleverly. Very correct, Dumbledore nodded. Tom's wand and Voldemort's wand have the same wand core, and the feather they each contain is taken from the same phoenix. To be honest, it is this phoenix, he said, pointing to the golden and red bird quietly perched on the office desk. Tom's wand was made by Peter using the branches of the world tree and the phoenix feathers he asked Dumbledore for. Raven, Loki and Mark's wands were also made in this way. So, what will happen if a wand meets its brother? Sirius asked Dumbledore curiously. They will not attack each other normally, Dumbledore replied. However, if the owners of the wands force the two wands to fight, a very rare phenomenon will occur. That is, one wand will force the other wand to repeat the spell it has cast, in a flashback manner, first a most recent spell, and then the previous spell. As he spoke, he looked at Tom. In other words, Dumbledore said slowly, his eyes fixed on Tom's face. Some dead people will reappear in some form, Sirius responded quickly and asked, that is, the resurrection of the dead? No spell can wake the dead, Dumbledore said in a serious tone, there will only be a phenomenon similar to echo replay. A shadow of the dead person when he was alive will emerge from the wand. Am I right, Tom? That may be the case, but he spoke to me. Tom's expression became complicated. That existence similar to the dead soul spoke to me. It's an echo, Dumbledore explained to him. It retains the appearance and personality of the dead, and then other similar forms appeared. These are all victims of Voldemort's wand in the past. There is an old man, Tom said to him, Bertha Jorkins, and Harry's parents, Dumbledore asked softly. Yes, hearing about Harry's parents, Sirius grabbed Harry's shoulder painfully. Well, that's it, the people who were recently harmed by the wand, Dumbledore nodded and said, these are flashing in reverse order. Of course, if you keep the two wands connected, more phantoms will appear. Tom, These echoes, these phantoms, just retain the appearance and personality of the past people. They are not real souls. Tom was about to speak, and the Phoenix Fox flew to Tom's knees. It seems that Fox likes you very much, Dumbledore smiled at Tom. Tom didn't feel disgusted with the Phoenix. He stroked the feathers of the Phoenix. After talking about a flashback spell, Dumbledore looked at Peter, who was lost in thought, and said to him, "Okay, we have to talk about business, Peter. I hope you can talk to Minister Fudge." Now the staff of the Ministry of Magic are coming in and out of the school, which has seriously affected the activities of the students. Harry immediately replied, "Yes, especially the woman named Dolores Umbridge." The Umbridge that Harry was talking about was Cornelius Fudge's confidant, the senior deputy minister of the Ministry of Magic, and the senior investigator of Hogwarts. Due to Peter's butterfly effect, Umbridge appeared in advance. As the only person who left a permanent scar on Harry besides Voldemort, Harry's fear and disgust for her were no less than Voldemort's. In the original world line, Umbridge asked Harry to use a quill without ink to write "I can't lie" over and over again. The quill was enchanted and left a painful scar on his hand. Harry had to endure this torture for several weeks, and Umbridge liked to express her point through the pain of others. Umbridge created these torture instruments called black quills with the purpose of using dark magic to make the children she hated obey. Now Umbridge had only been at Hogwarts for 2 days, and Harry was treated specially by Umbridge. He was directly locked up by Umbridge for half a day. Peter looked at Harry's expression of despair and showed a sympathetic expression. Then he said to Dumbledore, "I will talk to Fudge." After finishing the conversation in Dumbledore's office, Peter hurried to the farm. Tom asked him, "Dad, what happened?" "One thing, Clark and Azu seem to have encountered some trouble in the world of injustice. The sand I placed on them tells me that they are injured." "Injured? Could it be that the Injustice Superman was released, and only Superman can hurt them?" Tom showed a surprised expression on his face. "No, it's not just him. The danger level of the DC world is beyond your imagination." Peter frowned. He remembered that the Injustice world was invaded by Brainiac later. However, this happened after Superman was imprisoned, and he had long forgotten the specific details. Did the two encounter Brainiac? He remembered that this guy had a 12-level intelligence, almost the smartest person in the DC universe. He often appeared in a green body and high-tech equipment. He was a conqueror and scientific researcher. Moreover, this supervillain had the ability to self-replicate and create. He was the mortal enemy of Superman and the Justice League, and also had a very high level of technology. In some settings, the scientists who created Brainiac not only created 12-level intelligence, but also created artificial jealousy, artificial greed and artificial hatred. After ruling its own planet Comet, it traveled through, conquered and destroyed one planet after another, including Superman's hometown Krypton. Brainiac liked to collect cities, shrink them, collect them, and observe their actions. If this guy set his sights on the Earth in the Injustice world, it would be really troublesome. "Dad, do you need us to go to the Injustice world? If Zoo and Clark are in danger, I can help," Tom asked Peter with a serious expression. On the other side, Harry, who was about to return to the dormitory, also heard what Peter said about going to the Injustice world. Injustice world? Harry scratched his head, thinking that Mr. Peter was very likely to take the whole family to travel to another world again. Common room. Harry told Hermione and Ron what he accidentally heard. "You said Clark and Zoo were in trouble in a dimensional world called Injustice World." "Yes," Hermione said excitedly. "Then we have to help too. Mr. Peter helped us a lot before." Harry looked at her in surprise. "But we have to go to school at Hogwarts, Hermione, and the Triwizard Tournament is not over yet." Hermione interrupted him. "Do you still have the mind to go to class when Umbridge is here? With her around, I don't want to stay in school at all. I would rather go to the outside world for adventure." "Harry, so this is the real reason why you want to follow Mr. Peter to another world?" Chapter 758 Hermione, I need to think about the wizarding world and the meaning of what I pursue. "You want to go on an adventure with Mr. Pedraic?" Ron, who was standing next to him, asked Hermione in surprise. Hermione didn't answer him and turned her eyes to Harry. Since the two of them had a Cold War, although they have started talking, their relationship is not as close as before. Just avoiding Umbridge's harassment and helping Mr. Pedraic. By the way, Hermione said that this was just a normal thing. The three of them walked towards the playground while talking. Harry opened his mouth and wanted to say that Hermione's attitude towards Peter was not too normal. But he estimated that if he said it, Hermione would blush, so he closed his mouth decisively. When the few people just walked to Madame Pomfrey's ward, they suddenly heard a quarrel. So they approached the infirmary cautiously, wanting to see what happened. "This is Fudge's voice," Hermione whispered to Harry. "This is Professor Minerva McGonagall's voice. Listen to what they are arguing about." At this time, Harry also heard a noisy sound. Someone was shouting and running towards the ward. Cornelius Fudge, the Minister of Magic, said loudly, "It's a pity, but there is nothing we can do about it, Minerva. No, it's absolutely your fault. You should never have brought it into the castle," Professor McGonagall said to him rudely. "If Dumbledore finds it," Then Harry heard the door of the ward suddenly opened. Then he noticed that Fudge, wearing glasses, strode into the ward, followed by Professor McGonagall and Snape. Then Dumbledore also walked into the ward quickly. "What happened?" Dumbledore asked everyone with a serious expression. He looked at Fudge, then at Professor McGonagall, and asked several people, "Why are you disturbing these people here?" "Professor McGonagall, you really surprised me. I asked you to watch Barty Crouch Jr., there is no need to watch him anymore, Dumbledore," she said to Dumbledore in a sharp voice. "Our minister has ensured this." Harry, who was hiding outside the infirmary, swore that he had never seen Professor McGonagall as excited as she was now. Professor McGonagall's cheeks flushed with anger, her fists clenched, and she trembled with anger. Snape whispered to Dumbledore, "Mr. Fudge seemed to feel that his personal safety was also in danger, so he brought the Dementor into the office where Barty Crouch Jr. was." Professor McGonagall continued excitedly. As soon as he entered the office, she pointed at Fudge, her whole body trembling with excitement. He rushed directly towards Crouch. Harry suddenly felt a cold breath invade him. He didn't need to listen to Professor McGonagall's words to know what the Dementor had done. The Dementor must have given Barty Crouch Jr. a fatal kiss. It sucked his soul from Crouch Jr.'s mouth. Crouch Jr. was probably living a life worse than death. He deserved it, Fudge said to the others in a menacing manner. He caused the deaths of several people, and he also attacked Padraic, but he can't come out to testify now. Cornelius, Dumbledore stared at Fudge with a sharp gaze, as if he saw through him for the first time. He can't provide evidence to explain why he killed those people. Fudge's expression was also very angry. No reason is needed. He is a wandering madman. From what Minerva and Snape told me, he seems to think that everything he did, these intolerable things, were in accordance with the wishes of the you-know-who. No, this is not his delusion. Voldemort did give him orders before. Dumbledore's expression was a little angry. The death of those people was just a byproduct of Voldemort's plan to make a comeback. The plan succeeded. Voldemort restored his body and almost killed Tom. Hearing Dumbledore say this, it was as if someone suddenly hit Fudge in the face. He blinked hard and stared at Dumbledore blankly, as if he didn't fully understand what the other party had just heard. "You said the you-know-who is back." "No, that's impossible." "Nonsense, don't be kidding, Dumbledore. I think Minerva and Severus have undoubtedly told you." Dumbledore stared at him. "We all heard Barty Crouch Jr.'s confession. Under the influence of Veritaserum, he told us how he was secretly taken out of Azkaban, how Voldemort learned from Bertha Jorkins that Barty Crouch Jr. was still alive, and the plan was successful. Crouch Jr. has helped Voldemort make a comeback, and Mr. Padraic has always known about this." Hearing Dumbledore say that Peter has always known, Fudge's face flashed an awkward smile. "No, Dumbledore, you can't really believe all this? The you-know-who is back? Don't be kidding." Needless to say, Barty Crouch Jr. may think that he is acting on the instructions of the you-know-who. How can you take the words of such a lunatic seriously, Dumbledore? After that, no one listened to the conversation between Fudge and Dumbledore. Leaving the infirmary, Harry asked Hermione and Ron in shock, "Why is Fudge trying so hard to cover it up? He seems to not want to admit it." Hermione shook her head and asked Harry, "Do you know what cognitive dissonance is, Harry?" "What?" "This feeling occurs when people are faced with two ideas or cognitions that don't really merge. Cognitive relationships are divided into two important categories. One is an irrelevant relationship," Hermione explained to him with a serious expression. "For example, Harry is fine and I want cheese for lunch. These are two unrelated statements. They may also be really related, but this is an insignificant relationship." Hermione continued to the two stunned people. "The other is a disharmonious relationship. For example, I'm allergic to milk, and this is why I want to drink 3 glasses of milk in a few minutes." Is a disharmonious relationship. Dumbledore insisted that Voldemort was back and we were all in great danger. But Fudge insisted on the belief that almost no one had seen Voldemort and people generally believed that he was dead. He felt disharmonious. Hermione paused for a moment and continued, "The concept of cognitive dissonance is closely related to confirmation bias, which is the idea that we are more likely to accept facts and information that confirm what we already believe, which means that the stronger our beliefs, the less likely we are to be swayed by counter-evidence. If the emotion is very strong, then all the evidence that supports the belief they hold, the belief that Voldemort will not return, seems more likely." In Fudge's case, this includes the fact that almost no one had seen Voldemort's physical form at that moment, and so many events had not occurred. Even if Mr. Peter and Dumbledore both pointed him to the truth, he refused to accept it. Accepting Voldemort's return means that the Ministry of Magic has not dealt with such trouble for nearly 14 years, and Fudge just can't bring himself to face it. Harry and Ron were stunned listening to Hermione's thesis-like explanation. Harry asked her, "Hermione, where did you learn these theories?" "Mr. Padraic taught me, Harry," Hermione sighed. "I can feel that from now on, our peaceful life will be broken, and the entire wizarding world will fall into turmoil because of Fudge's stupidity and stubbornness." Hermione found herself extremely disappointed with this group of elites in the wizarding world. Her desire to become one of those wizards who stood on the top suddenly became dim. She worked hard and studied hard, became an excellent student in the eyes of the professors, and passed 12 subjects in 12 OWLS exams, but in the end she just became someone like Fudge, or his subordinate. It turned out that this group of wizards was actually just a mob. What exactly did she pursue all along? Pulling out her wand, Hermione said to the stunned two people with some disappointment, "I think I have to leave for a while. I need to think about the wizarding world and the meaning of what I pursue." Looking at Hermione turning around and leaving, Harry and Ron looked at each other. Ron swallowed his saliva. "Does she want to go to Mr. Patrick?" Harry nodded, "I guess so." At the same time, in Justice World, Bruce sat in front of Brother Eye and said to the system, "Brother Eye, report to me the situation in Gorilla City." "I can't do that, Mr. Bruce Wayne." The system issued an electronic sound of rejection. Injustice Batman was slightly stunned, and then asked, "Why?" "Because I am not Brother Eye." The next second, countless snowflakes appeared on the display screen, and a bald, green-skinned robot creature appeared on the display. Bang! As he spoke, the screen emitted green bars and dense snowflakes, and the harsh sound instantly transmitted to the outside. Startled, Bruce moved his chair back suddenly and stood up with a look of astonishment on his face. After realizing that the Brother Eye system had been hacked, he immediately operated on the virtual display. "You can't take back control, Bruce Wayne. In recent days, Brother Eye has been assimilated by me into my mental network, and now it is an extension of my brain." Brainiac appeared on the screen and said to him, "You, a fragile human, captured and imprisoned a fully grown male Kryptonian?" Bruce looked at him coldly. "Maybe I'm not that fragile. In order to win, you used cutting-edge technology, nanotechnology, satellite communications, and dimensional teleportation technology. I want to take these things away from you." "Why?" "Because Kryptonians belong to me, not only the Kryptonians you imprisoned, but also the Kryptonians in another dimension. Soon, the same will happen to your planet." Chapter 759, Krypton's Destruction. Kara's crying. Bruce Wayne turned and left after looking at Brainiac's head on the Brother Eye system. In the room where all kinds of Batman uniforms were placed, Bruce tore off the cufflinks of his Armani Couture suit, and the buttons made a slight collision sound when they fell to the ground. He tore off the bulletproof fiber lining of the suit, revealing the old bullet marks on his left arm. As Bruce took off his shirt, the floor cracked and the nano-alloy armor box rose like a coffin. The moment the fingerprint unlocked, nitrogen mist gushed out with a smell of leather and metal. Bruce buckled the tactical belt around his waist with an expressionless face, and the Kevlar fiber lining automatically shrank to a millimeter-level fit. Then he grabbed the alloy gauntlet, and his knuckles turned white due to excessive force. Putting on the alloy gauntlet, Bruce's jaw muscles tightened and pulled out the lead-plated cape from the armor box interlayer. After everything was dressed neatly, Bruce, who changed from a suit to a Batman uniform, left the room and walked towards the location of the Batplane. In the tunnel, the emergency lights in the underground tunnel flashed rapidly. The steel bars on the top of the tunnel fell like the fangs of a giant beast, making a dull explosion, and the robot army quickly approached here. Buzz! The Batplane roared in the tunnel and rushed forward. The heat-seeking armor-piercing shells blasted into the tunnel in a fan-shaped manner, and the chain reaction of the explosion tore the concrete top. Then Bruce drove the plane in the thick smoke and hit the robot accurately with machine gun fire. While using machine guns to fire, the Batplane rushed over quickly and knocked the robot to the side. The robot army, feeling threatened, immediately started running. With a bang, several robots pounced on the tail of the plane and tried to climb into the cockpit of the plane. Bruce calmly operated the plane, performing a flip stunt while throwing the robots on the plane down. With a boom, the plane quickly drove out of the tunnel and flew into the sky. The robots on the plane that hit the sky were not completely thrown away. The robots that had already climbed into the cockpit raised their fists at the glass cockpit and bombarded it hard. Bruce looked up at the robot above his head and glanced calmly at the rear-view screen. The skyline of Gotham was emerging under the dark clouds. On the other side, Kandak, Black Adam and Wonder Woman had seen the robot army invading the Earth through the observation device. Hera. Where else did these robot armies appear besides Metropolis? Black Adam replied to her. Gotham, Yanjing, Moscow, many cities were attacked at the same time. Kara, who was next to her, was shocked by the scene in front of her. Who is it? Kara, who is he? Wonder Woman walked up and asked him puzzledly. Who is attacking us? Kara did not answer. She took a step back with horror. No, we must rescue Carl. Looking at the huge mechanical head on the screen, Kara instantly remembered the bad memory. She remembered watching this mechanical head absorb the entire city. Standing on a high platform blankly, she watched everything disappear, until footsteps came from behind. Kara, who was still a young girl, turned around suddenly and saw the robot raising its arm towards her. The energy stored in the arm was about to be shot at her. Just when Kara thought her life was about to end. With a bang, an energy bullet hit the robot and knocked it away. Her mother rushed over with an energy gun. Kara, come here. While shooting the robot with a gun, her mother shouted at Kara. Kara shouted and ran towards her mother in a hail of bullets. Her mother grabbed Kara and protected her behind her. After entering the base, Kara's mother immediately pressed the metal door to close it and isolate the robot outside. Mom, the ship and the city of Yagao are gone, and the millions of people inside are gone too, Kara said to her mother excitedly. This is just the beginning. The mother walked forward quickly with a gun in hand. Brainiac has destroyed the balance of the Earth's core. Krypton can't hold on for much longer. Hearing this desperate news, Kara excitedly asked her mother, Mom, you have done so much research, can't you do something? That's why we are here. Kara's mother entered her fingerprint and opened a closed space. Your Uncle Jor-El discovered a planet where Kryptonians can survive and stay away from Brainiac. He also built an identical spaceship for your cousin Carl. Looking at the spaceship in the space, Kara said in shock, but he is just a baby, so we need you to teach him. I will teach him. What about you? Kara looked at her mother in disbelief. Soon she realized what her mother was going to do, and her eyes were filled with tears. No, Mom, I can't leave you. She grabbed her mother's hand. Please, Mom, don't let me leave alone. I can't go with you, but you are definitely not alone. The mother hugged Kara. You belong to the L family, the family that symbolizes hope. Never forget this, and never give up hope. Just as her mother hugged her, the roof of the laboratory began to collapse, and heavy knocking sounds came from outside. Kara hugged her mother and saw the ceiling trembling through the gaps in the fabric fibers of her mother's clothes. The liquid metal flowing with silver light was pouring in from the ventilation ducts, crawling on the walls like a living thing, corroding the kryptonite building materials into charred gullies wherever it passed. Knowing that the situation was critical, the mother pushed Kara into the spacecraft and then quickly operated on the operating table. The coordinates are set. The mother's fingers flew on the holographic keyboard, and her silver hair was stuck to her pale cheeks by sweat. The protective shield can still support 3 minutes now, enough to start the warp jump. A sharp metal friction sound came from outside the laboratory. Mom, with a dull bang, several mechanical soldiers landed from the gap in the ceiling. Their joints are made of liquid memory alloy, and silver energy lines flow on the surface of their bodies. The escape pod rose under the floor of the laboratory, and the cold mist sprayed out when the hatch opened made Kara shudder. The pupils of the mechanical soldiers who broke and shrank into blood-red vertical lines at the same time. Their chests cracked open, and several silver tentacles stretched out. Kara's mother pressed both hands on the protective shield activator, and blood oozed between her fingers. A metal thorn pierced her right shoulder. Seeing her mother injured, Kara frantically slapped the transparent cabin wall. No, Mom. No, The life support system has been activated. The mechanical female voice made Kara tremble all over. Destination, Earth. When the first metal tentacle pierced her mother's chest, the warp engine of the escape pod roared. The last thing Kara saw was her mother's mouth shape. The Kryptonian phrase that would appear after countless bedtime stories was now stained red with blood. I love you. The metal wave engulfed the entire console. Inside the spaceship, Kara covered her face and looked at the gradually moving Krypton, tears constantly pouring out. She glanced at the aircraft next to her and saw her cousin Carl, who was still a baby, inside. Boom, Krypton exploded, and the resulting debris hid her spaceship in an instant. Kara, who had deviated from the course, could only watch her cousin's spaceship go away from her. No, the secret prison, where Superman was imprisoned. Injustice Superman, who was in the prison under the red sunlight, slowly raised his head. Bruce, wearing a Batman uniform, was already standing outside the glass room. Bruce, you came to see me in uniform. I think you must have encountered some trouble, right? Injustice Superman said to him slowly. Bruce didn't waste any words and asked him directly, Brainiac, what do you know? What? Injustice Superman looked at him in astonishment. How do you know that name? Are you afraid of him? He is invading, and he said you belong to him. Injustice Superman clenched his fists. Brainiac killed my parents and blew up Krypton. Bruce looked at him quietly. But you never told me. After a moment of silence, he asked Superman, how to defeat him? You can't, without me. You are wrong. The Homelander and Superman from another world have arrived in this world. We can save this world. After saying that, he turned and left. Looking at Batman leaving, Injustice Superman hammered the glass with his hand and said to Batman's back, no, Bruce, you need me. This is my war. Watching Batman leave without looking back, he shouted, Bruce. 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 Come back. At the same time, other people in the Injustice world also felt the invasion. The Arctic. Luther Wayne Climate Research Center. Barry entered the room with a cup of coffee and asked Dr. Randall, who is repairing the circuit board, do you need help, Dr. Randall? The blonde beauty Dr. Randall said to him without turning her head, I don't know. The satellite is down now, and so are the internet and the phone. Maybe this old hand can help. By the way, how do you get along with other people? You mean other people? Not bad. People here don't think it's exciting for the Flash to live nearby. After all, he is a political criminal. He is a pardoned political criminal. Dr. Randall said to him, give them some time. They will adapt. Pressing the repaired radio, she spoke into the microphone. LW base, can you hear me? Dr. Randall? Thank God, all communications are interrupted. Those spaceships emerged and launched an army of robots into the city. Now they kill everyone they see. We don't know if we can still. Chapter 760. Clark appears to be obedient, but tells on others behind their backs. The staff on the other end of the communication lost the signal before they finished speaking. Hearing this, Barry's expression also became serious. Randall saw that he could not contact a base, so he turned to Barry and asked, how long will it take you to Metropolis from here? I wrote in the agreement that you cannot use superpowers. Barry shook his head to indicate that he could not use superpowers now. Dr. Randall looked at him helplessly. Do you think this is still important when aliens invade? Barry, you helped to dismantle the regime, Barry, and that's why Mr. Bruce asked to take you in. If Batman thinks it's worth giving you a second chance, I think you can make the right choice. Looking at Dr. Randall's trusting eyes, Barry was stunned for a moment, then nodded. Taking a deep breath, he turned into a red lightning and quickly rushed to Metropolis. Are you okay? In an abandoned underground base in Metropolis, Lyra asked Clark, who looked a little uncomfortable. Clark has not fully recovered yet due to the influence of kryptonite. I'm fine. Where have you been? Leela, Bruce said you were missing. Clark perked up and asked Leela where she had been all this time. Azu beside him also looked at her curiously. I've been secretly investigating what the Gorilla Grodd is planning. I found out that he has a mysterious partner, and this person is the operator behind the scenes. Grodd is just a pawn. Leela explained her recent actions to the two. I discovered Brainiac's ambitions for the Earth, and I also knew that he had been searching for the Kryptonian orphans. I wanted to tell Bruce, but I knew that Brothers Eye had been invaded by Brainiac, and the world's satellites and communication networks were all monitored by him. As long as I see Bruce, he will definitely notice it. So you have been hiding? Clark asked her, waiting until we show up. Yes, I didn't intend to be exposed. I wanted to sneak into a spaceship and destroy its system, But when I saw you were controlled by Brainiac, I had to show up, Zhu added unhappily. This is just an unexpected situation, Leela. I promise I will make him feel good next time. Leela shook her head and said to the two of them, no, our strength alone is not enough now. We also need the help of the Master. Only the Master can come and stop him. You mean, let me contact my father with sand now? Zhu looked a little embarrassed. No. Never. Clark looked at Zhu in surprise. Why don't you agree? Zhu, because I can solve it. I am my father's proudest son. I am one of the greatest superheroes in the world. If I can't even handle this, how can I inherit my father's farm and the glory of the Padrick family in the future? Zhu said that if he couldn't even solve Brainiac, how could he be the eldest son? Otherwise, he would be outdone by Raven in every way. How could he face his brothers and sisters in the future? Think about it, Clark. As long as we catch Brainiac, doesn't this guy like to collect cities? We subdue this guy and give his collection to Dad. Isn't this the best gift for Dad? Listening to Zhu's serious bragging, Clark was silent. You are really confident. Although he wanted to object to Zhu's confidence, he finally remained silent rationally. Forget it. Since Zhu is so confident, he shouldn't stand up to spoil it now. He can secretly report the situation here to his godfather. At the same time, Hogwarts. Hermione left the infirmary disappointedly and was now standing in front of Mark in the library. Mark stared blankly at Hermione and Fleur standing in front of him. Hermione, you said you wanted to follow me back to the farm. Yes, but I have to make it clear in advance that Fleur and I did not come together. We met outside the library and I did not invite her, Hermione explained to Mark to clear up the relationship between the two. I heard that Mr. Patrick and Tom are in some trouble, so I want to ask you about it, Mark. Fleur did not know that Hermione was going to give up her studies and go to Peter's farm at the end of the semester. She was just curious about the news about the resurrection of the mysterious man circulating in the school, so she came to ask Mark about it. Hermione hesitated and asked Mark, Mark, do you know about the world of injustice? She wanted to ask Mark about the Injustice League. Yes, although I didn't experience it, I just heard Raven talk about it. Hermione continued to ask, what happened there? It's a bit complicated. It's a story of a parallel world similar to our world. Mark organized his words. In the world of injustice, the Joker kidnapped Clark's pregnant wife Louise, and used fear gas mixed with kryptonite powder to make Clark mistake Louise for Doomsday, thus accidentally killing Louise, and then used a nuclear bomb to destroy the metropolis that Clark had been protecting. Driven by anger, Clark punched through the Joker's chest, avenging Louise and tens of millions of people in Metropolis. Hearing this, Hermione and Fleur were stunned. Neither of them expected that Clark, who was sitting in the stands, clapping with Peter and looked very kind, would be so fierce. The scene where Clark killed the Joker was indeed satisfying. The unforgivable villain got the punishment he deserved, but little did he know that this was exactly what the Joker wanted. Mark said with a heavy heart, what the Joker has always done is to make these superheroes break their bottom line and slide into the abyss little by little. Abyss. Hermione didn't understand why Mark said that. Yes. After killing the Joker, Clark decided to maintain the safety of the entire world in order to prevent the tragedy from happening again. He led the Justice League to mediate most of the wars on Earth in less than a month, and tens of thousands of civilians survived. What really made Clark's reputation soar was that Darkseid's son Caliban led the demon-like army to invade the Earth. Clark instantly wiped out the demon-like army and saved the Earth once again. This directly caused the number of people supporting Superman to surge, and even Superman's believers appeared. By the way, I forgot to tell you that Clark is Superman, Furing asked him puzzledly. Isn't this good? Maybe it was good at the beginning, but eventually things slid into an irreversible abyss. Mark said to the two, in Batman's view, Superman is releasing his power little by little, and will eventually become an existence that overrides all mankind. So Batman formed a resistance army to prevent Superman from controlling the Earth. After 5 years of struggle, the resistance suffered heavy losses, and Superman became more and more radical under the instigation of Wonder Woman. Finally, Lex Luthor commissioned Deathstroke to steal the Mother Box and open a channel connecting to our universe. Dad took Azu and Clark, Raven, Star-Lord and Loki to the world of injustice. Mark paused slightly, allowing the two to digest the information he said. Superman found out that his best friend Lex Luthor had been secretly helping the resistance and even betrayed him at the last moment. He was extremely angry and decided to destroy the rebuilt Metropolis and Gotham City to intimidate humans. Shazam objected for a few words, and was pierced through the head by Superman's heat vision. Finally, after a fierce battle, Dad successfully defeated Superman and imprisoned him in the Red Sun prison, and the world returned to its original state. After listening to Mark's story, Hermione and Fleur looked at each other and were silent. Why did Clark do that? Hermione asked, puzzled. I don't know, maybe the Superman in the Injustice world is not bad, and he did a lot of good things at the beginning, eliminating terrorists, rebuilding war-torn countries, protecting small countries from interference from big countries, etc., so that all mankind can live a stable life. Mark expressed his opinion. But after the experience in the invincible young hero world, I understand some truths. That is, a true hero, in addition to having great power, the most important thing is to have an indestructible belief. No matter when and where he fights with whom, his belief will not be shaken in the slightest. I think Superman's belief may not be strong enough. My father taught me this, but the Injustice Superman probably hasn't understood it yet. Hermione listened to Mark's words and agreed with him. She has now remembered Clark. The Superman in the parallel world will turn evil and want to destroy the world. Maybe Clark in this world will have the same psychological problem. It seems that I have to pay more attention. Now I am also half a member of the Padrick family, so I have to be on guard against him. Okay, I want to see what the Superman in the Injustice world is like. Mark, can you take me to the farm? Hearing that Hermione was going to the farm, Fleur was not willing to lag behind. I haven't thanked Mr. Padrick yet, Mark. I also want to go to the farm. Looking at the two girls who raised their hands, Mark scratched his head awkwardly. He didn't know whether he should agree or not. Finally, after thinking about it, he decided to leave it to his dad and let him worry about it. Mark smiled at the two of them. Of course, at Padrick's farm, Peter didn't know that Mark had brought him back two wizards who skipped classes. Holding the ruby, he had already sensed the message that Clark had conveyed to him. On the surface, he pretended to obey Azu's words, but Clark sold him in an instant. If you want to deal with Brainiac alone, I'm afraid you don't have the strength, Azu. Peter shook his head slightly and snorted in contempt for Azu's overconfidence. This kid is really bold. Chapter 761 Is Fleur in Avila, or is her father Avila? Hey, Mr. Padrick, Peter was considering whether to return to the unjust world right now and kill Brainiac and his army, when he suddenly heard a voice coming from outside. Standing up, he was surprised to see Hermione and Fleur coming to the farm. Mark stood aside nervously, not knowing how to explain to Peter that he brought Fleur with him. Miss Granger, Miss Delacour, good afternoon, Mr. Padrick, I hope I didn't disturb you. Hermione squinted her eyes and greeted Peter with a smile on her lips. No, of course not. Peter glanced at Star-Lord who was flipping through the latest newspaper next to him. Star-Lord immediately understood what Peter meant, stood up and coughed, and said to Fleur and Hermione, I'll go make a cup of coffee. Seeing Star-Lord go to make coffee, Peter cast his eyes on the two with satisfaction. This bear child is getting lazier and lazier. He doesn't even go to make himself a cup of coffee and lies on the sofa all day. No wonder he is getting fatter and fatter, gradually developing in the direction of Fat Lord. Now if Star-Lord sees that there are guests at home and he is still lying on the sofa, Peter will at least find time to give him a good beating and help him lose weight. Turning his thoughts to the present, Peter said to the two, I remember that Hogwarts has not had a holiday yet, ladies. Hermione pretended to sigh. Yes, but Umbridge and those people from the Ministry of Magic have made it impossible for the school to have normal classes. I would rather learn runes from you, Mr. Padrick. Runes. Fleur next to her immediately became interested when she heard Hermione mention runes. Fleur's green eyes flashed with silver light, and she asked Peter curiously and excitedly, Mr. Padrick, can I also learn runes from you? She knew that Hermione used runes to kill many alien monsters in the second round of the competition. Of course, Peter would naturally not refuse Fleur's request. Pulling Fleur into the Farm Alliance may help to deal with the Dark Army in the future. Hermione next to her felt a little depressed when she saw Fleur also wanting to learn runes. She suddenly felt that something that belonged to her was taken away. After trying to adjust her mood, Hermione asked Peter about the world of injustice. Mr. Padrick, will you go to the world of injustice? I can help you. I mean, I won't be in Hogwarts for the time being. If you are short of manpower here, Peter was slightly surprised to hear Hermione talking about the world of injustice. Who told you about the Injustice League, Hermione? It was Mark. Hermione quickly sold Mark out. Mark said that you solved the entire Justice League. Is that true? Fleur next to him blinked. I seem to have seen it. in the best-selling book about Mr. Pedrick's adventures. Well, that's a long story. On the other side, looking at Hermione and Fleur sitting on Peter's left and right, Mark, who did not enter the room, stood in the yard and sighed slightly. He has now discovered that his father is evolving more and more like those ordinary middle-aged people he knows. He likes to tell people his great stories in the past. On the other side, Star-Lord, who went upstairs, saw Quicksilver, who had just woken up with sleepy eyes. Quicksilver greeted him. "Hey, Star-Lord, good morning." Star-Lord looked at him in shock. "It's already afternoon. You just got up," Quicksilver said sleepily. "I played games all night last night. You know, when you are addicted to something, time always flies by quickly," Star-Lord said to him. "You remind me of Thor. He was also addicted to games on the farm. He borrowed his father's money to buy a game console and PK with others. By the way, where's your sister?" "My sister." Quicksilver shook his head to make himself more sober. "I remember she said last night that she would go to Gotham with Gwen today to help Batman deal with a villain called Hush." Quicksilver quickly found the coffee pot in Star-Lord's hand and said to him, "I want a cup of espresso." "Thank you. No, this is not prepared for you. This is for the 2 guests from the Hogwarts world downstairs." Hogwarts guests. Quicksilver immediately activated his super speed, moved downstairs in an instant, and then returned from downstairs. "I recognize them. They seem to be the 2 most beautiful ones among the 4 campus beauties selected by Hogwarts recently." 4 campus beauties? Star-Lord looked at him in shock. "Where did you hear that?" "Loki told me." Star-Lord nodded, and then asked curiously, "Which 4 campus beauties?" "Hermione Granger, although she usually has thick and macy brown hair, piercing brown eyes, and hangs 20 books on her body every day. She spent several hours dressing up for the ball and was beautiful as soon as she appeared." Quicksilver also turned into a gossip expert and commented on the appearance of the wizard girls. "There's also Ginny Weasley, Zhang Chu, and the last one is Fleur Delacour." Quicksilver took the coffee pot from Star-Lord and poured himself a cup. "I heard that she has Vela blood. It seems that in some legends, Vela is described as a beautiful woman with moonlight skin and long golden hair. Even if there is no wind, their long hair will fly behind them, and their appearance, especially their dance, has a very bewitching hypnotic effect on almost everyone who is attracted to them. Men who are fascinated by Vela's dance will become irrational and willing to do anything to get close to Vela. After that, Vela can control him at will." While drinking coffee poured from a cup that was taken from somewhere, Quicksilver said, "I heard that when Vela are angry, they will become more like harpies. Their faces will become bird heads with sharp beaks, long scaly wings will grow on their shoulders, and they can also spit fireballs from their hands." In the Quidditch game, the Vela supporting the Bulgarian team and the Leprechaun supporting the Irish team quarreled, and the quarrel triggered a large-scale melee between the 2 teams. At this point, Quicksilver said with some regret, "It's a pity that my sister doesn't seem to be competitive enough." Seeing the other party's regretful look, Star-Lord asked cautiously, "What competitiveness do you mean?" "My sister likes Mr. Pedrick, so of course she married Mr. Peter." "Ah." Star-Lord showed a shocked expression on his face for the 3rd time. "Wanda likes her father, not the kind of daughter who likes her father, but the kind of wanting to get married? Is Fleur Vela, or is her father a Vela? Why didn't she inherit her father's physique? In the other world, she already has Gamora, but she doesn't have a girlfriend yet. Can she only inherit her father's Vela physique if she loses weight?" Seeing Star-Lord's dazed expression, Quicksilver coughed and asked Star-Lord, "I heard that there is a guy called Flash in your world. Is he fast?" "Yes. Clark and Azu competed with him in speed." "What was the result?" "The Flash won." Star-Lord calmed down his hurt mood and said to Quicksilver, "Once Tokyo was about to be flooded, Barry Allen said that he could save Tokyo's 38 million people within 30 seconds. That is, he could save about 1.27 million people every second, but we don't know his rescue destination, so the specific time is really impossible to calculate, but it can be determined that it is much faster than the speed of light, because if it is assumed to be calculated according to the speed of light, then each person only moved 4 kilometers, which is obviously not enough to resist the flood that can flood Tokyo." After a pause, Star-Lord said to the stunned Quicksilver, "Dad said that Barry Allen is connected to the Speed Force." "What is the Speed Force?" "The Speed Force is one of the 7 original forces that created the multiverse. It can create huge energy and push time and space itself forward. The Speed Force gives the Flash a variety of superpowers. This allows him to even distort time and space, and even move when time is frozen. Because of the connection with the Speed Force itself, the Flash's super speed is fundamentally different from speedsters who are not Speed Force based. Therefore, he is much faster than John, Clark and other people who also have super speed. However, because he is afraid that running too fast will tear a big hole in time and space, the Flash often limits his speed, Speed Force. Hearing this word, Quicksilver's eyes narrowed. At the same time, Barry in the world of injustice is running fast with his super speed, killing the robots that are killing innocent civilians along the way. Barry turned into a red lightning and moved to Metropolis. Stopping on an empty street, Barry stopped. His old friend, Green Lantern Hal Jordan, slowly descended from the sky. "Nice to meet you, Barry, Hal. Long time no see." Barry was a little surprised to see that the imprisoned Hal had regained his freedom and even put on the Green Lantern ring. "Which dead man did you steal the Green Lantern ring from, Hal?" "No, I didn't steal it." Hal shook his head and took a step closer to him. "You know it was the ring that chose me, even after you betrayed the Guardians and joined Sinestro's Legion." Hal glared at him after Barry exposed his past humiliation. "You know it was the Guardians who locked me up." Soon he calmed down and slowly stretched out his hand to Barry. "But they also trained me and helped me overcome my fear. I earned the second chance." Barry shook his head at him. "The Guardians were confused. I have reformed, Barry. Then let me try my fist first." Whoosh! Barry turned into lightning and rushed towards Green Lantern. Hal quickly created a spherical shield to block his body. But he was still a step too late, and he was hit hard by Barry's red lightning. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 762, A Zoo, My Will is My Father's Will. Looking at the Green Lantern lying on the ground, Barry looked at him with a complicated expression and did not continue to attack. "Why didn't you fight back?" Barry asked him. Without waiting for Hal to answer, Barry stretched out his hand and said to the other party, "You held back, right?" Hal grabbed his hand and stood up. "I told you, Barry, I want to correct the mistakes I made. I betrayed my planet, my legion, and my friends. This is the worst." Barry sighed. "I understand. I remind myself every day now how to live up to the identity of a hero and regain the trust of others. It is a very difficult thing. It seems that we are all on this road." Hal nodded. "We still have a long way to go, Barry. It will be much easier if we are together." The two shook hands and smiled at each other. After finishing the conversation, Barry contacted Batman and rushed to Batman's new secret base with Hal Jordan. "The new Batcaven brothers I have been occupied by Brainiac, and Bruce has reactivated the backup base." Inside the temporary base, Barry said to Bruce, who was looking at the map, "We need help, don't we?" Bruce put his hands together and said to Barry, "No, not Green Lantern, but you gave me a second chance, because you finally woke up and helped Peter Padrick to overthrow Superman. If Superman was in power now, he would still wear the Yellow Lantern ring." Before Bruce finished speaking, Hal came over angrily. "I am no longer the person I used to be. I don't understand why you don't believe me. Even if you don't believe me, you should believe in the Guardians." Hal showed the Green Lantern ring in his hand to Bruce. "This ring has its meaning. I went through hell before returning." Seeing that Bruce was silent, Hal said no more and turned to leave. "Forget it, I have my own things to do, but I thought it would be better to cooperate at the beginning." Seeing that Hal was about to leave, Bruce finally reached out and called him. "Wait." When Hal stopped, Bruce shook his head helplessly and said to Barry, who was hesitant to speak, "Maybe it's time to expand my circle of trust." Green light. "Stay." Hal smiled when he heard Bruce asking him to stay. But he quickly put away his smile and turned around to pretend to be serious. "Thank you, I think this is a win-win choice." "Win-win? Did this guy kill his best friend?" Suddenly, a voice came from the other side. Bruce, Hal and Barry looked into the distance in surprise. As a result, they saw Zoo, Clark and Leela coming over. "Leela." Bruce made a somewhat unbelievable sound when he saw Leela finally appear. Leela, who had been missing for a long time, finally appeared, and he finally let go of the heart that had been hanging. He had been worried that there would not be enough helpers to deal with Brainiac before, and now the arrival of the three made him breathe a sigh of relief. "What did you mean by that just now?" Hal stared at Zoo with an unhappy look. Zoo shrugged his shoulders. "I'm just telling the truth. As far as I know, during Superman's reign, you made a very serious mistake. You lost the reason to use the ring because you attacked your teammates, but Sinestro made you join the Yellow Lantern Corps, and it seems that later you were fooled by Sinestro in a battle between the Green Lantern Corps and Superman, and you completely lost your mind and killed your best friend in anger. Hal was immediately angry when Zhu revealed what he had done. I have always felt guilty and am willing to atone for it. Now I am doing this. Hal Jordan has always felt guilty for killing Guy Gardner. After the unjust Superman was defeated by Peter, he was also taken to the OA planet for trial. The Guardians did not pity Hal Jordan for what he did at first, and he began to hate himself very much. Hal Jordan was imprisoned by the Green Lantern Corps on a desolate planet for labor reform, but he kept talking to himself. This made the Green Lantern guarding him very strange, and in Hal's eyes, his best friend Guy Gardner was right in front of him. Excessive sadness and regret almost destroyed Hal Jordan's sanity. He always felt that Guy Gardner was always living beside him. Hal, who was immersed in fantasy and grief, was knocked down by a punch. The person who came was Sinestro's daughter. Her name was Solinik Natu. Unlike her fallen father, Solinik had always been a Green Lantern. But she was very angry with Hal because the war between Superman and the Green Lantern Corps destroyed the Green Lantern Mago, Green Lantern planet. When Solinik just became a Green Lantern, she spent a whole week playing on Mago. They were very good friends, but Hal and Superman and others destroyed everything, and Mago was pushed into the sun. Although all the knowledge Solinik learned came from Hal Jordan, she was still full of vigilance and anger towards this man. After being punched by Solinik, Hal began to walk out of pain and guilt. John, seeing that Zhu seemed to want to speak, Bruce put his hand on his shoulder and shook his head at him. We need the power of Green Lantern now, and we need to trust him. Seeing Batman's expression, Zhu finally stopped arguing with Green Lantern for his sake. Hey, why don't we invite Mr. Patrick? Seeing that the tense atmosphere at the scene had eased a little, Barry said to Clark and Zhu, I mean, you two are here, why didn't your father come, and Raven and the others? If they come, I think we will be more confident in dealing with Brainiac. Seeing Barry mention Peter, Zhu's face was a little ugly. He is his father's eldest son. If his father doesn't come, can't he solve the problem here? I am the eldest son of the Patrick family. I am here on behalf of my father's will. From now on, I will represent my father himself, Zhu said to Barry unhappily. You should understand that you don't need to bother my father with these little things. Clark, who was next to him, felt a little guilty when he heard Zhu's words. Because of his informant, the Godfather already knew everything about the situation here. I don't know if the Godfather would get angry if he knew that Zhu said he would replace him. Seeing that Zhu seemed to be unhappy, Barry shrugged his shoulders and said, Okay, I'm just asking casually. Ahem. Batman coughed, attracting the attention of several people, and said to everyone, our circle of trust still needs Aquaman and his army. Barry, Hal, you need to go meet Aquaman. Green Lantern Hal replied, do you think he's willing to help? Aquaman has never appeared since the collapse of Superman's regime. He is very unhappy that Superman forced him to join the regime. I guess he will be unhappy to see me too, Batman said to Hal with a serious expression. Although he may be very unhappy, you have to get used to this way. On the other side, Kandak. Seeing more and more robots gathering, Kara said to Diana and Black Adam anxiously, we must stop them. More and more people are being hurt, I can hear their screams. They are very scared, just like when I had no power on Krypton. Now we can save these people. I have power and I can help them. Diana shook her head and said, no. We have more important things to do now. What is it? Save Kal-El. After he was defeated by Peter Patrick, he was imprisoned in the Red Sun prison. He insisted on the ideal of justice, but was harmed by Peter Patrick, Bruce Wayne and Lila. Now Brainiac invades, and only he can resist. Listening to Diana's words, Karen nodded heavily. My mother told me to take good care of my cousin. I will rescue him. At this time, Kara didn't know what the unjust Superman had done before. Her only thought now was to rescue her brother. Go and rest, Kara, we will set off tonight. Batman's Red Sun prison is heavily guarded. This is not an easy task. Black Adam asked Kara to rest first and prepare for the next battle. Okay, taking a deep breath, Kara walked towards her room. Watching Kara's figure leave, Black Adam asked Diana, how are you going to explain to her then? No explanation is needed, unjust Wonder Woman said with a serious expression, we are doing the right thing. Carl is right, she will understand us, and She is Carl's relative. Kara entered the room, lying on the bed, and thought of the scene where her home was destroyed by Brainiac. The overwhelming army of robots, with faces like skulls, broke into her dream again. After she used her superpowers in her dream to kill these skull-faced robots, she found that the environment in front of her suddenly changed. She found that she had come to an extremely strange place. The towering golden palace was in the center, with sharp towers piercing the clouds, and the surface was covered with flowing metallic luster, as if forged from star fragments. In the building that looked like a fairy palace, the dome was high, and the inlaid runes flickered like star tracks. In the distance, a colorful bridge like a rainbow was like a giant glazed dragon spanning the void, with a 7-color halo flowing on its surface. Kara was stunned and walked forward without blinking her eyes until she stopped in front of a towering palace. In the center of the palace was a throne shining with golden light. On the throne was a man who gave her a strong sense of oppression, sitting on it and watching her slowly approaching. Chapter 763, Unjust Superman escapes from prison. Peter sits on the golden throne. Kara, Peter, sitting on the golden toilet, didn't expect Kara to break into his dream. But he soon realized that this was not the Kara of his world. The more immature Supergirl in front of him, wearing a red and blue Superman uniform, looked more like the Kara of the Injustice universe. The blue tights, red cape and golden belt, with neat short hair, were a little more immature and younger than the Kara he knew, and their temperaments were completely different. He didn't expect that the other party would enter his dream. Hearing Peter calling her name, Kara stopped and looked at him warily. "Who are you?" Looking at Peter sitting on the golden throne, Kara felt that the other party was quite dangerous. He looked like the evil big boss. "I'm Peter Patrick," Peter said to Kara calmly. Hearing the other party say his name was Peter Patrick, Kara was stunned. You are the guy who imprisoned Carl," Kara gritted her teeth and asked Peter angrily. She didn't expect to meet the guy she was going to avenge here. "Yes, it's me, Kara. Are you going to take revenge on me?" Peter didn't care much about Kara's attitude. Now this Supergirl probably doesn't know what her cousin did in the world of injustice. Or she may have been brainwashed by Poe and think that everything the Injustice Superman did was right. "You defeated Carl and imprisoned him," Kara said to Peter indignantly. "You made him lose his freedom. He's my brother. I once promised my mother to protect him." Listening to Kara's words, Peter stood up from the golden toilet. "No, you are wrong. I didn't imprison him. I just defeated him. Imprisoning him was the decision made by the whole world." Peter shook his head, took 2 steps towards Kara, and stopped. "Kara, let me ask you, if you have the power of Superman, what would you do?" "No, this question is not rigorous. You already have the power of Superman. In other words, how would you exercise your Superman-like power?" Kara was slightly stunned when she heard Peter's question. She thought for a moment, raised her head and said to Peter, "I will use this power to help those who need help, instead of using my power to bully the weak and satisfy my own desires." Hearing Kara's answer, Peter nodded with satisfaction. It seems that Kara in the world of injustice is not the kind of person who is completely brainless and stands on the side of her cousin. She is hopeless. "Good answer, Kara. For your cousin, he also had the same idea as you at the beginning," Peter said to her slowly. "He can go to heaven and earth, he can be extremely strong, and he can defeat an army alone, but he will still be a fast-running reporter in his daily life. When he is a Superman, he only helps the police to arrest criminals, helps the weak escape from danger, and takes the lead in some unexpected accidents. In fact, to a certain extent, a Superman who has not turned evil is already forbearing. I think it must be the credit of his parents on Earth that such a person who is close to God can be so law-abiding." After a pause, Peter cast his eyes on Kara, who was lost in thought. "But he is still just a simple boy from the countryside of Kansas. He is not like Bruce Wayne, who became an orphan at a young age and grew up in such a cruel environment as the Assassin's League. When the Joker took away his beloved woman, children and city, he felt that he had lost everything. He has been a Kansas child who has never grown up since he was a child. When he is scared, he will protect himself in his own way, even though this way seems more and more crazy and irrational to others. I think, Kara, you should be more mature than your cousin." Listening to Peter's words, Kara fell into shock and stared at Peter blankly. She didn't expect Peter to know her cousin so well. And it seems that her cousin doesn't look as great as Diana and Black Adam said. Kara's face showed a puzzled expression, not knowing how to respond. She opened her mouth, but said nothing. "Kara, do you understand Brainiac, who you are going to deal with?" Peter didn't wait for Kara to speak, and suddenly turned to other topics. What? Brainiac is also called the Brain Demon. He has a 12th level intelligence. The people on Earth in the 20th century generally only had a 6th level intelligence, and most of the people on crew had an 8th level intelligence. By the time people on Earth in the 31st century generally had a 9th level intelligence, but since Brainiac came online, he has had a 12th level intelligence. To a certain extent, it is not an exaggeration to say that Brainiac is one of the smartest people in the DC universe, Peter slowly said to the stunned Kara, and there is an additional invader setting in Brainiac's setting. In the setting, after conquering his own cometary core, Brainiac began a plan to conquer the star map C. During this period, before destroying Krypton, Brainiac had destroyed and collected the technology and wisdom of thousands of galaxies into one, so it's not easy for you to defeat him, even if your cousin is released, Peter said as he walked in front of Kara. She was still a little wary and took a step back. Don't worry, Peter slowly stretched out his hand to her, and a red crystal-shaped amulet appeared in his palm. Brainiac can control people's minds. While this and you can resist his mind control, the amulet made of the Samad ruby in Peter's hand can connect to his spiritual world. Since he sat on the golden throne, coupled with the power of faith he gained in the Zoan world, Peter's current power of the Sandman can even affect other parallel universes. The amulet given to Kara has the power of his ruby, which can prevent Kara's mind from being easily controlled. Kara was stunned for a moment, looking at the amulet in Peter's hand, not knowing why the other party helped her. After hesitating for a while, she finally took it from Peter. Thank you, she thanked him in a low voice, and the moment she took it, the scenery in front of her suddenly changed. Then Kara saw that the palace and the golden throne in front of her suddenly disappeared, and the familiar ceiling appeared in her sight. Kara woke up and heard a knock on the door outside. Kara, we have to leave. Kara got up while rubbing her forehead. She was a little confused after just waking up. She tried to rub her aching forehead. Recalling what Peter said to her in the dream before, she opened her clenched hands and found a ruby-shaped diamond crystal in it. What is this? Kara looked at the gem in her hand in shock and fell into a daze. Is this not an ordinary dream? Kara, are you in there? Yes, I'm in there and will be out soon. Without thinking too much, she put the ruby in her pocket and walked out quickly. In the corridor, Kara asked Diana a little uneasy, Peter. Patrick in prison Carl. Is it really him? I mean, what kind of person is he? Diana looked back at Kara. Yes, that's what he did. He is a powerful guy. If you really meet him, you must be careful. Kara listened to Diana's words and nodded with some doubt. Red Sun Prison. Superman in the prison suddenly heard an explosion outside, and then the ground shook violently. He stood up, walked to the glass wall and looked outside. The deafening explosion was caught by his ears through the glass. Blue Beetle and Firestorm, who were responsible for guarding Injustice Superman, became a little panicked. Blue Beetle's original name was Jamie Reyes, a teenager from Texas, who accidentally obtained the Scarab and merged into the third-generation Blue Beetle. As one of the most advanced technologies in the universe, the Scarab not only serves as an exoskeleton, but also provides countless weapons, flight and defense capabilities for the third-generation Blue Beetle Jamie Reyes. As for Firestorm, it is a form completed by the combination of the athletic man Ronnie Raymond and the intelligent Dr. Martin Stein. They must combine to fight. Firestorm's ability: he can rearrange the atomic and subatomic structure of inorganic matter, transform the atomic structure of objects, change the shape of objects, spray flames and energy waves, and absorb radiation. No, this is not good. Dr. Martin Stein realized that someone had broken in and immediately said to Ronnie, "We must merge immediately." As he said that, he stretched out his hand to Ronnie. Ronnie did not hesitate and immediately stretched out his hand for the two to merge. With a loud bang, the two of them merged into a strong man in an instant. Firestorm, wearing red armor, had his eyes turned into bright flames. Looking at the dark corridor in the distance, he uttered a sentence: "Game on, there's something wrong with the controller. Let's go check it out." Blue Beetle interrupted his show-off and asked Firestorm to go with him to check the controller. Otherwise, if the controller was damaged, Superman would definitely escape from prison. Firestorm glanced at Superman in the prison and said, "Yes, the power center. If there's a problem with the energy source there, the sunlight generator will be useless." As soon as the two finished speaking, they immediately rushed to the power center. Boom! After the two left the cell, a hole was blown out in the ceiling, and then the ceiling was torn apart by a strong hand. Superman in the cell looked at all this with an incredible expression on his face. Am I dreaming? Crack, the ceiling was torn apart, revealing Kara floating in the air. Kara slowly came down, stood outside the glass, and looked at Injustice Superman excitedly. You are Kara? Yes, Carl, it's me, we finally meet. Chapter 764, Fierce Battle of Red Sun Prison. Do you recognize me, Carl? Yes, Injustice Superman put his hand on the glass and said to Kara with some excitement, of course I know you. My parents have your information on the spaceship. Kara, you are my guardian. Kara endured the surging emotions in her heart, put her hand on the glass, and faced Superman through a layer of glass. I'm sorry, Carl, I'm late, I'm decades late, she smiled at Superman, not knowing how to release her inner emotions. I'm sorry, I left Krypton with you, but the explosion of Krypton caused my spaceship to deviate from its course. Seriously, I know, it's okay, it's not your fault. Superman looked at Kara, who was much younger than him, and said in shock, you haven't aged at all, Kara? Kara explained to him, when you were growing up, I was frozen, so I didn't age. Superman smiled, that's great, I never thought that after I was locked up here, I would meet my family, have the same eyes and blood as me, and you know my parents. Kara looked into his eyes with mixed feelings. Yes, I know your parents, Carl. They love you very much and asked me to take care of you. Boom. As the two were talking, Cyborg also flew in. Cyborg, who entered the scene, nodded slightly to the imprisoned Superman, and began to operate the controller next to him. Give me 5 minutes, and the power will go out. On the other side, Blue Beetle and Firestorm had already arrived at the power center. The glass of the laboratory dome rustled in the energy shock. Black Adam was suspended in front of the ring core of the sunlight generator. His fist wrapped in golden lightning was about to hit the precision instrument, but a blue and gold energy cannon suddenly tore through the air, forcing him to dodge sideways. Looking at Black Adam trying to destroy the sunlight generator, Firestorm shouted at him, Hey, man, Batman has protected this thing, you can't destroy it easily. Black Adam listened to the two people's voices, turned around, and said to them with disdain, Fragile little bugs, you two will die here today. That's not necessarily true. Blue Beetle's armor quickly covered his whole body, and two butterfly wing-shaped thrusters stretched out from his shoulder blades. His right arm instantly turned into a cannon. With a bang, the first beam of light brushed Black Adam's cape and burned a smoking hole in the metal wall. After Black Adam dodged the attack, before he could throw the lightning condensed on his fingertips, he could hear the buzz of molecular reorganization above his head. Countless ventilation pipes suddenly twisted and merged, and covered Black Adam's head. Ronnie, don't let those bolts hit the reactor, an old voice came from midair. Got it. Firestorm was surrounded by the orange-red halo of nuclear fusion. With his hands pressed, the metal fragments shattered by Black Adam were rearranged into a carbon fiber net, wrapping the sunlight generator tightly. Don't worry, I will protect this thing, a younger voice burst out from the same throat, and Firestorm swung his arms violently. The ground support column suddenly melted, and with a boom, the ground under Black Adam's feet collapsed instantly. The ruler of Kandak took off at a faster speed. The next moment, Black Adam's fist wrapped in thunder went straight to Firestorm's face. Seeing that Firestorm was about to be attacked, Blue Beetle's scarab compound eyes lit up with a faint blue light. With a bang, the rushing Blue Beetle pushed Firestorm's body away heavily. Black Adam's fist hit the gas tank at the back. Liquid nitrogen poured down like a waterfall, and Firestorm converted it into hydrogen the moment it touched Black Adam's skin. The Beetle's plasma cannon fired at the right time, and the violent explosion blasted Black Adam into the wall. Black Adam was defeated, and before the two had time to catch their breath, they suddenly noticed scarlet lines lighting up in the rubble. The next second, Black Adam's magic shield forcibly pushed open the collapsed ceiling. Then Black Adam floated up, his pupils glowing with the dark gold of ancient power. Bugs and Fakons, as Black Adam chanted the spell, all the metal instruments in the laboratory began to vibrate at a high frequency. You don't understand what real power is. Seeing that Black Adam was about to attack, Firestorm immediately closed his palms, creating a shield and preparing to counterattack, but the next second Black Adam had Flash behind him. The knee strike wrapped in black magic hit Firestorm's lower back hard, and the energy shield banged and cracks appeared in the spider web. Blue Beetle roared and rushed over, and the sharp dagger instantly pierced Black Adam's right shoulder. Seeing that he had attacked Black Adam, Blue Beetle was delighted, but he didn't expect that the dagger would be caught by Black Adam's muscles. Blue Beetle gritted his teeth and turned his left arm into liquid nitrogen sprayer, and the cold current poured into the wound. Black Adam, who was attacked by the chemical, felt the severe pain and roared to throw him away. With a bang, Blue Beetle fell heavily to the ground. Black Adam knocked Blue Beetle away, looked at the ice crystals on the wound, and with a little effort, the liquid nitrogen was melted into steam by the magic rushing in his body. "Leave it to me, I'll trap this bastard." Roaring, Firestorm rushed over again, and the copper pipes of the ventilation system were melted into chains by him and thrown towards the opponent. Blue Beetle, who fell to the ground, staggered to his feet, seized this fleeting opportunity, and unfolded the armor on his back, revealing a honeycomb-shaped energy matrix. As he released powerful energy, the dark blue light column penetrated through layers of barriers and crashed into Black Adam. At the moment when Black Adam held up the shield, a huge energy impact came. Black Adam struggled to resist the energy impact of Blue Beetle, but soon cracks appeared in the magic shield. At this time, Firestorm's flames finally broke through the defense. With a dull boom, Black Adam was pushed out of the laboratory by the double energy, crashed through several walls and fell into the ruins. Seeing that Black Adam was finally defeated, Blue Beetle sat down in the smoking ruins, looking at the damaged joints that Scarab was slowly repairing. "The explosion just now," he panted and looked at Firestorm falling from the sky. "How can you be sure that the whole base will not be blown up?" Firestorm shrugged, "Because the doctor's mathematics has never been wrong." The two looked at each other's scarred battle suits and smiled at each other. After Firestorm and Blue Beetle defeated Black Adam and entered the area where Superman was imprisoned, they saw Kara outside the glass cage. Seeing someone entering, the two immediately hid. Oh, no, a Kryptonian appeared. Blue Beetle was stunned. Superman alone is hard to deal with, and now there is a Superwoman. How can we fight? There was already a Black Adam, and now there is another Superman. If the two fight, won't they be completely doomed? Maybe we should call the new Superman and Homelander. This is safer. The new Superman definitely has a chance to deal with him. Blue Beetle and Firestorm already knew that Zoo and the others had arrived in their world. Clark was called new Superman by them. "No, we can handle this. He doesn't look that strong. We can defeat her. There is no need to call Superman." Firestorm was full of confidence. "Get motivated. Batman is counting on us now." Kara, who was secretly spied on by Firestorm and Blue Beetle, received Diana's message in the headset and said to the Injustice Superman behind the glass wall, "Diana is in some trouble. I'm going to help her and will be back later." Superman nodded. "Go ahead, be careful." "Of course, believe me, I'm very powerful." Smiling at Superman, Kara whoosh flew out quickly. Cyborg, who was cracking the system, glanced at Superman in the glass room and complained, "I have to say that Palmer's encryption technology is good. Although it is already first-class encryption technology, it does not mean that I can't crack it." Before he finished speaking, Injustice Superman pointed at his back and shouted, "Watch out behind you." Victor, who heard the voice prompt, had already felt in advance that someone was hiding behind him and spying on him and his group. He was already prepared for this and responded quickly. He raised his arm and fired the plasma cannon. The blue energy boomed from Cyborg's cannon and directly hit the flying Blue Beetle. He knocked down the exhausted Blue Beetle with one move, and Cyborg looked at the stunned Firestorm leisurely. Although his body was no longer suitable for fighting at this time, Firestorm still shot out of his eyes and condensed flames on his body. The flames lingered on him, and Firestorm looked at Cyborg angrily. "Cyborg, what is the melting point of your body?" Before he finished speaking, his hands released fierce flames and released them towards Cyborg. Cyborg instantly released an energy barrier to block the fierce flame impact. Then his left hand released a beam of energy, which hit Firestorm's body with a bang. Firestorm, who had already consumed too much energy in the battle with Cyborg just now, was easily knocked down by Cyborg. "Stop it, kid, you have no chance of winning here." Cyborg raised the plasma cannon with his right hand and aimed it at Firestorm. Blue Beetle's voice rang out next to him, "I have the same thing as yours." With a bang, Blue Beetle blasted Cyborg, who was unable to react, out. Blue Beetle and Firestorm stood up, panting slightly, looking at Cyborg lying on the ground. Firestorm took a deep breath and walked to the glass, looking at Superman inside. "Superman, it seems that no one can save you now." He was about to say something else, but he didn't expect a roar from behind. "Stay away from him." Kara flew over and strangled Firestorm's neck. Wonder Woman arrived in time and tied Blue Beetle with the lasso of truth. Kryptonian, huh? Blue Beetle was strangled by Kara's neck and said with difficulty, "Don't be complacent, Doctor. Doctor has already told me how to deal with you." Chapter 765, Old Friend, Why Do You Still Keep It? Before he finished speaking, Firestorm rubbed out 2 pieces of green fluorescence in his hands. The light emitted by imitating kryptonite instantly made Kara, who was strangling him from behind, fall to the ground. Surrounded by a feeling of weakness, Kara knelt on the ground, looking at Firestorm, whose hands continued to emit green fluorescence. "You are as bad as Wonder Woman," and Adam said. With a painful groan, Kara staggered on the ground and tried to stand up, then fell down and continued to struggle, while gritting her teeth, and said to Firestorm. Firestorm was suspended in the air, looking at Kara in great pain. Although he was a little reluctant, he still turned his head away. "Stop, as long as you surrender, everything will be over." "No. I will never." Using all her strength, Kara finally stood up despite the great pain. "No. I will never surrender. Kryptonians will never surrender." With a roar, Kara rushed towards Firestorm fiercely, and with a bang, her fist hit Firestorm's face hard, knocking him out heavily. With a bang, Firestorm rolled and hit the ground. Blue Beetle next to him was also thrown to the ground by Wonder Woman using the lasso of truth. "You acted very bravely, but it's over," Diana said to the 2 coldly. "You 2 have no chance of winning." As she spoke, Black Adam, Damian and Cyborg also came over. Firestorm looked at the team that was assembled to rescue Superman, covered his chest and took 2 steps back. Then, in the surprised eyes of Kara and others, Firestorm began to talk to himself as if he was sick. "What do you want me to do, Doctor?" No, you must be crazy. I know, maybe we can control it, but," as Firestorm talked to himself, the expression on his face became more and more determined. "Yes, you are right, we have no choice." Firestorm cast his eyes on the stunned Blue Beetle and said to him sternly, "Go, Heyman." "Wait, what are you going to do?" Before Blue Beetle finished speaking, Firestorm clapped his hands fiercely, and with a bang, a burst of flames instantly enveloped him. A powerful aura surrounded him, and a vast force erupted instantly. A sun-like aggregate was formed in his hands, and it continued to erupt with hot power. In the burning and disturbing flames, Firestorm said to everyone, "You'd better run quickly, otherwise this will definitely be much more serious than sunburn." Blue Beetle looked at his partner's operation and was stunned. "What do you want to do, Firestorm? Are you trying to nuke us? Is my friend rubbing a nuclear bomb with his hands?" Diana looked at everything in front of her and frowned. "You would rather blow up the metropolis in front of you than let Superman go." In the rising momentum, Firestorm said to her, "At least this can save the Earth." Seeing that the other party seemed to be about to explode, Diana and Kara gritted their teeth and stepped forward to try to stop him. Diana drew out the Vulcan sword and prepared to attack Firestorm. At the critical moment, Azu fell from the sky with a boom and stepped on the ground with both feet. Seeing Injustice Wonder Woman and Injustice Kara about to attack Firestorm, Zu's heated gaze forced Kara back, then swung a punch, hitting Wonder Woman's raised arm and knocking her back heavily. Bang! At the same time, Clark also fell from the sky and landed in front of Black Adam, Cyborg, and Damian, stopping the 3 from attacking Firestorm. "Stop! Firestorm!" The next second, with a crash, the sound of wings spreading out sounded from the air. Batman spread his wings and fell from the sky. Seeing Batman appear, Firestorm gradually calmed down and immediately stopped rubbing the nuclear bomb with his hands, and the bright light in his eyes gradually extinguished. Injustice Batman, who fell to the ground, glanced at Wonder Woman, Black Adam, Cyborg, Kara, and Damian, and finally stopped at Kara. "Who are you?" Batman frowned and asked Kara. "The sister who is overprotective of Superman." Hearing Kara say that she was Superman's sister, Bruce looked at Injustice Superman in the cell with some surprise. "What? Are you surprised?" The naughty boy Damian mocked Bruce. "You have so many secrets, but you can't stand others hiding them from you, right?" Faced with his own son's complaints, Bruce ignored him and walked straight to the controller of the cell. Injustice Wonder Woman shouted at him, "You can't beat Brainiac, Bruce." "Maybe." Bruce operated on the console and put his fingerprint on it. After receiving Bruce's fingerprint, the closed cell door of the controller slowly opened. Everyone was stunned when they saw the door opened. Injustice Superman was stunned for a moment, then slowly walked out and stood opposite Batman. Looking into Batman's eyes, Superman asked him, Have you used all means to deal with Brainiac? Batman replied, use the means I can control. Injustice Superman stared at Batman's eyes, as if trying to see through what he was thinking. What are you planning, Bruce? You're always 3 steps ahead. I only have one thing in mind, that is to save the world. Superman narrowed his eyes, glanced at Sue and Clark, then turned to Bruce and asked, where's Leela? She has a mission. We have more important things to do next. Let's go. After that, Batman walked out with Sue and Clark. Kara was a little confused about the situation. Her cousin was released just like that? And judging from the atmosphere just now, the cousin and Batman don't have a bad relationship, as Wonder Woman said. Temporary underground base. The superheroes of the world of Injustice, as well as Sue and Clark, reunited here. Injustice Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Catwoman, Harley Quinn, Firestorm, Blue Beetle, Kara, Black Adam and others sat around a large round table. Catwoman had joined Ground Secret Society before, but she was actually Batman's undercover agent, and now she has successfully returned from undercover. Thanks to the Flash's reconnaissance, we have figured out all the locations of Brainiac's spaceships. They attack important cities on various continents, and then the suburbs. Catwoman told everyone the latest findings. We must evacuate these cities before we can attack the fleet, but the most important thing now is that we have to restore communication first. Injustice Superman stood up and said to everyone, Kara witnessed the destruction of Krypton. He said that we have less than 48 hours before the Earth will suffer the same fate. We don't have time to prepare for these. Batman replied to him, but without synchronized communication, we will lose a lot of precious time. As he said that, he turned his eyes to Cyborg. Catwoman and Harry will go to the Batcave with you. You need their help to get in. Cyborg shook his head and said, no, just give me a coordinate, and I will open a sonic boom channel to get in. You can't open it. I reverse analyzed the mother box technology of your armor. Now that the brother's eye is occupied by Brainiac, you can't open the sonic boom channel. Harley Quinn next to him said gloatingly, you can try using the sonic boom channel. I'm not sure if you can get in, but you will definitely explode if you go in. Cyborg's expression was a little ugly when he heard Batman reverse analyzing the mother box. Holding back his displeasure, he asked Batman, how do I get into the Batcave? The old underground tunnel under Arkham leads to the entrance. Hearing this answer, Cyborg looked at Catwoman and Batman. You said they would take me to Arkham Asylum. Harley Quinn smiled and replied, don't worry, Mr. Big, I promise I won't embarrass you. On the other side, Azu glanced at Injustice Superman, pinched his waist and stood up, exhaled like a big mushroom, and said to everyone, I don't understand why we need him. Azu was quite dissatisfied with the release of Injustice Superman. Don't forget what he did. It won't be easy for him to go back once he is released. It was my father who helped you defeat him. If Bruce wants to release him, you'd better ask my father for his opinion, Zeus said, looking at Clark. Also, we already have a Superman here. Clark's strength is no weaker than the Superman you know. Listening to Zeus' speech, Batman shook his head. We need more power, and this is a matter of our world. We can't always rely on Peter Patrick. No, Bruce, you're just arrogant, because you think this is a matter of your world, so there is no need for outsiders to intervene. For this reason, you would rather let Superman out, but why don't you think about it? If your father hadn't brought the people from the Smallville League here, how could you have locked up Superman? Admit it, Bruce, you are stubborn and arrogant, so you caused the situation today. My father is the one who saved everything. He is the greatest superhero, he saved you, and you want to abandon him, Zeus mocked Bruce mercilessly. Catwoman immediately stood up and glared at Zeus when she heard what Zeus said. No, absolutely not, Bruce is not that kind of person. Selina, Bruce stretched out his hand to stop Catwoman from continuing to speak, and said to Zeus, our main enemy now is Brainiac, not Superman or anyone else. No matter what, I am trying to save the world. Zeus glanced at Bruce, turned around and left without saying a word. Wonder Woman put her hand on the shoulder of Kara, who was stunned beside her. Let's go, we have things to do too. A few minutes later, almost everyone in the room left, leaving only Bruce and Injustice Superman. Superman suddenly asked Bruce, why do you still keep it? Chapter 766, Raven, I formed the Patrick Army. What? Batman was about to leave, but was stunned when he heard Superman's words. This, Superman said as he lifted the tablecloth. The round table of the Justice League hidden under the tablecloth was exposed. The round table had been broken into two halves before, But now it has been glued together and continues to serve as a conference table for everyone's meetings. Batman looked at this familiar round table that once held all his memories, and his heart became no longer calm. He opened his mouth and wanted to say something. But in the end he just snorted, "I forgot that this thing was actually placed here." After saying that, he left without looking back. Injustice Superman looked at the round table with the Justice League logo in front of him, which was reunited and had been restored, and his emotions became complicated. He gently reached out his hand and touched the round table that brought him endless beautiful memories of the past. With a smile on his lips, Superman turned around and looked at Batman's back as he left. Hogwarts. Slytherin College. Raven sat in the lounge, thinking about the world of injustice. I wonder how Clark and Zoo are doing in the world of injustice? Although I don't like Zoo very much, he is my elder brother after all, and I don't want him to get into trouble no matter what. And Clark. I have always respected this elder brother who has taken care of me since I was a child. Should I rush to the world of injustice to help Clark and Zoo? Raven was in trouble. Raven was worried, and her follower Pansy Parkinson came over. How is it? Are those guys from the Ministry of Magic still investigating? Yes, they are still warning people, especially Harry and the others, Pansy replied to her. Raven nodded and asked, because they let everyone know about Voldemort's resurrection, they want to ruin Dumbledore's reputation, Pansy said to Raven. Raven, didn't you read last week's Daily Prophet? No, what's wrong? They said that the International Magical Confederation voted to remove Dumbledore from the position of president because he was too old and no longer competent, but that was not the real reason. The reason they removed him was because he mentioned the news of Voldemort's resurrection in his public speech. Also, the Vishanto Tower, the highest court in the wizarding world, has demoted him to the level of Director of Wizards, and they are now discussing revoking his first-class Order of the Witch. But Dumbledore said that as long as he's not removed from the Chocolate Frog Collector's card, he doesn't care about anything else. Raven, she didn't know Dumbledore was so humorous. This is not a joke. Pansy sat down and continued to say to Raven, if he continues to openly resist the Ministry of Magic, he will be imprisoned in Azkaban, and Dumbledore being imprisoned is the last thing we want to happen. As long as that person knows that Dumbledore is still waiting outside and still has full magical power, he will be much more careful. But if Dumbledore is removed, then I think that person will have no scruples at all. Raven nodded, almost. Pansy, you are right, so the situation in the school is getting more and more complicated. Raven trusted her loyal and devoted follower who admired her very much. She thought about it and suddenly had an idea. Pansy, do you know the Order of the Phoenix? The Order of the Phoenix, what is that? Pansy asked puzzledly. When Voldemort's power began to rise, Dumbledore established this secret organization to fight Voldemort. The members include all kinds of people from wizards to squibs, aurors, bartenders, thieves, etc. Raven told the information she knew about the Order of the Phoenix. In the 1970s, the First Wizarding War, many members of the Order of the Phoenix died. Among them, Harry's parents, James Potter and Lily Potter, were killed by Voldemort due to the betrayal of Peter Pettigrew. The Longbottoms were tortured by Death Eaters with a Cruciatus curse to find out Voldemort's whereabouts, and were tortured to insanity for refusing to tell the truth. In 1981, Voldemort lost his body due to the Avada Kedavra curse bounced back by Harry Potter, and the Order of the Phoenix was temporarily disbanded. Raven looked into Pansy's eyes and said slowly, the Order of the Phoenix is dedicated to collecting intelligence, planning operations, and protecting those threatened by Voldemort. They hold secret meetings, make plans, and take action at critical moments to combat Voldemort's forces. The name of the Order of the Phoenix comes from the mythical creature, the Phoenix, which symbolizes rebirth and hope. Members of the Order of the Phoenix believe that even in the face of great difficulties and challenges, they can be reborn from the ashes like the Phoenix and ultimately defeat the forces of darkness. Pansy listened to Raven's explanation and blinked in confusion. I don't understand, Raven, what do you want to do? We can set up a Raven Society. Raven's eyes flashed with an inexplicable brilliance. This society is loyal to my father, but its purpose is also to fight against evil forces, such as Voldemort and other dark forces. We can also recruit people from all walks of life, including wizards, squibs, aurors, bartenders, etc., which reflects my father Peter Patrick's inclusive thinking and insistence on justice. Our purpose can be set as loyalty to my father and his ideas, resisting the power of dark magic, protecting the peace and stability of the magic world, including fighting against Voldemort and his followers, the Death Eaters, and devoting ourselves to destroying their plots and plans, Raven asked Pansy, "Pansy, don't you worship my father? We can use this organization to become an organization that protects and promotes my father's ideas. In addition, we can exchange and learn magic from each other to fight against the Dark Lord and others." Hearing what Raven said, Pansy also became excited. "Yes, we can recruit members from Slytherin first. I know Malfoy and the others will definitely join the Order of Ravens, as well as Blaise Zabini and Malcolm Bardock. Why don't we call it Padraic's Army? The Padraic Army will deal with Umbridge the Pink Toad and that mysterious man." Padraic's Army. Raven narrowed her eyes. "Very good, let's call it Padraic's Army." Raven didn't know at this time that she had already created the Padraic's Army in advance of Harry's Dumbledore's army, and it would become Peter's most reliable guard in the future. Night. Padraic's farm. During dinner, Raven asked Peter about Zoo and Clark. "Fortunately, although things are a little bad, it's not the worst yet. I believe they can solve it," Peter replied to Raven. "Don't worry about them, Dad. I plan to set up an organization to deal with Brainiac and the likes of Darkseid in the future to protect you and the farm." Raven put down her knife and fork and said to Peter. Little Horace and Boom Boom next to them were all stunned when they heard the news. What organization? Peter didn't really care. "You'll know when the time comes, Dad," Raven said smugly. Peter nodded pretentiously. "Then you'd better not recruit the Malfoy family." Raven's eyes widened and asked, "Why, Dad?" Peter thought about it and recalled the loyalty of the Malfoy family. The Malfoy family fully demonstrated a saying, "Escape is shameful, but useful." After Voldemort's first defeat, the Malfoy family relied on their intelligence to escape the reckoning and made a prosperous living in the wizarding world, with a transcendent status. Before Voldemort returned, Lucius, the current leader of the Malfoy family, had been waiting for Voldemort to return again. In the second grade, Lucius was smart enough to put Voldemort's first Horcrux, Riddle's diary, into Ginny's crucible. Ginny was manipulated into the Chamber of Secrets and encountered the Basilisk. Then Harry used the Basilisk's fangs to destroy the first Horcrux of Voldemort. At the same time, due to Lucius's carelessness, the house elf Dobby did not notice that there was a sock of Harry hidden in the book, which made Dobby free and became Harry's indispensable helper. In the end, when Harry's people were captured and taken to Malfoy Manor, it was Dobby who appeared and saved them with apparition. In the third grade, Draco was overturned to the ground because of his overestimation of Buckbeak in the magical creatures class. As a result, Lucius, who was protecting his child, proposed to the Ministry of Magic to kill Buckbeak. Hermione took out the time converter and saved Buckbeak at the same time as she saved Sirius. In the end, Buckbeak became Sirius's tool plane to escape from Hogwarts. In the fifth grade, Voldemort returned, and Lucius once again served him as a Death Eater. In the Battle of the Department of Mysteries, the only prophecy ball was broken, and Lucius and others were sent to Azkaban by the angry Voldemort. In the sixth grade, Draco was assigned a mission. Narcissa was worried about her son, so she signed an unbreakable oath with Snape, asking Snape to help save Draco, who was on a mission. This also changed the ownership of the Elder Wand. The real owner of the Elder Wand was not Snape, but Draco. When it was at the manor, the Elder Wand changed hands again and returned to Harry's hands. In the end, the Malfoy family sent the biggest wave. First, Narcissa helped to conceal Harry's fake death in front of Voldemort, alleviating Voldemort's concerns. Then, she did nothing in the war and only cared about finding her baby son. After receiving her son, she took her son away directly, which greatly shook the morale of the army. If these pig teammates were really accepted by Raven, they would probably screw their eldest daughter. It's better to leave the Malfoy family to Voldemort. "Can I join?" For some reason, Hermione suddenly raised her hand. Fleur, who was concentrating on dealing with General Tso's chicken and immersed in the food, also raised her hand, and me. Girls help girls, on the other side. Bao looked at this scene, supporting his chin with his hands and fell into deep thought. Should he go to Zwan and recruit some helpers? Chapter 767, Bao, way, Dad, the farm is our Neverland. But soon, Bao became frustrated. Unfortunately, she was not as influential as Raven in school. Looking at her favorite apple pie on the plate, Bao suddenly felt that the delicious food had no taste. Raven had already established her own organization, but she was still a little girl who had not achieved anything. She glanced at Wei, who was eating with a bulging mouth. When would she be able to be like Wei, always so pure and simple. She would never worry that her father did not love her, and she would never take the competition of other brothers and sisters to heart. Oh, Bayo sighed. Peter listened to his daughters pretending to be mature and sighed, and looked at her in confusion. What's wrong with you, little Lolita, sighing like others? I just wonder, when can I grow up? Dad, Peter was slightly stunned, and narrowed his eyes at Bayo, who was pretending to be mature. After coughing, he asked Boom with a serious expression, why do you want to grow up, Boom? Because, Boom paused, if I grow up, I can protect Daddy, instead of being unable to do anything like this. After hearing Boom's good answer, Peter touched her head, but you know, Boom, when you grow up, you will start to miss your childhood life again. I think Dad, you'd better call me Jinx. Boom puffed out her chest and said dissatisfiedly. But after seeing Peter's unfriendly eyes, she immediately gave in. Okay, Dad, you can call me Boom. Boom and Jinx are both your daughters. Seeing Boom give in, Peter's eyes returned to normal. Boom, don't you like growing up? Little Horace next to her asked her curiously. Of course, then you have Peter Pan syndrome. Boom blinked. What is Peter Pan syndrome? Haven't you read Peter Pan? The first sentence in it is all children grow up, except one, and that is Peter Pan. So, many people want to be Peter Pan and never grow up, but most people still choose to grow up and mature, to take on their due responsibilities. However, there are really some people who cling to the fantasy of youth and refuse to enter the adult world. The older they grow, the more painful they are, and they will also bring pain to the people around them. This is Peter Pan syndrome. That is, you. After hearing what little Horace said, Boom looked at him in shock. How did you know this, Wu Ming? Little Horace glanced at Peter. Dad told me. Dad, you didn't tell me the story of Peter Pan. Boom immediately became angry when he heard what Horace said. Didn't you say you have grown up? Why do you still want to listen to the story of Peter Pan? Peter asked her with a serious expression. Boom was immediately speechless. After glaring at Horace angrily, Boom immediately picked up his chopsticks and began to eat like Wei. At night, in Boom and Wei's room, Peter said goodnight to them as usual and prepared to leave. But seeing Boom's expectant eyes hiding under the quilt, he walked over and squatted in front of Boom's bed. Boom, Wei, do you two want to hear a bedtime story? Of course. Boom immediately raised his hand. Although Wei next to him was more reserved, she also nodded repeatedly. Dad, Boom quickly said to him again, actually, I have seen Peter Pan, and I have a question I want to ask you. Dad, what question? Why did Wendy choose to go home in the end? Boom asked with a blink of his eyes. Peter was stunned when he heard this question. The Wendy that Boom was talking about was the girl who had always been with Peter Pan. She lived with her parents George and Mary, her two younger brothers John and Michael, and their dog Nana. Wendy had a special obsession with the story of Peter Pan, and often told her brothers about his adventures on Neverland, so her brothers all admired Peter Pan. For Wendy and her brothers, the story of Peter Pan is real. Later, Wendy took her brothers and followed Peter Pan and Tinker Bell through the clouds to Neverland. Here, they met a dreamy mermaid and a group of lost children. After a fantastic adventure, at the end of the story, Wendy finally chose to leave Neverland. Peter thought about it and said to Boom, it's complicated, Boom. Wendy was attracted to Peter Pan and left home so easily with Mike and John. They yearned for such a free life and wanted to experience the fun of flying. Therefore, Peter Pan's life has an instinctive attraction to children. Stroking his daughter's hair, Peter continued, every child yearns for freedom, to be free from the control of their parents, not to care about rules, not to study, not to worry about growing up, and not to worry about being punished for doing something wrong. But, on the other hand, being away from parents also means losing their parents' love. Boom and Wei listened to Peter's story quietly without saying a word. Peter Pan left home. He was stubborn and believed that his mother had forgotten him and no longer loved him. This was his eternal knot, and he would rather avoid it than learn the truth. So, he chose to live in Neverland forever and be a child forever. But Wendy was different. As she was away from home for longer and longer, she missed home more and more. She told John and Mike stories about her home and didn't allow them to forget. Listening to Peter's story, Bombshell grabbed Peter's hand tightly and said with a depressed mood, Dad, no matter where I go, I will never forget you. Dad too. Peter held Bombshell in Wei's hands and continued, Wendy finally took the children home. She missed her parents and Nana. She knew that although life in Neverland was beautiful, it was not the life she really belonged to. She chose to live like a normal child, go to school, grow up, get married, and have children. The good thing about Neverland is that it will never really exist. The same goes for Peter Pan. He is a beautiful fantasy in our childhood and the part we lose as we grow up. Wei listened attentively to her father's story and asked Peter hesitantly, "Dad, why did Wendy hide there helplessly and ashamed when Peter Pan came to see her? Why did she feel ashamed?" Peter thought for a moment, organized his words, and said to Wei, "Because she once promised Peter Pan that she would never grow up, but she grew up and got old after all. She became a married woman. If Wendy's trip to Neverland was a gorgeous adventure, then she eventually returned to an ordinary life," Bao Bao said with some melancholy. "That's a pity." Yes, perhaps this is something Peter Pan could not accept. Fortunately, he was too forgetful. Even more fortunately, Wendy had Jane, a curious little girl. Jane replaced Wendy to go to Neverland to participate in the spring cleaning. When Jane grew up, she had Margaret. After listening to Peter's story, Bao Bao said to Peter with mixed feelings, "Dad, this place is like Neverland for me. I am free and at ease here. Dad never forces me to do things I don't like. I can study the guns I like, run around in the fields without restraint every day, and play with Fujin, Mark and Wooming in the fields. Even if I do something wrong, Dad won't scold me. If I were Wendy, Dad, I would never leave Neverland for the rest of my life, and I would never forgive anyone who wants to destroy Neverland." "Of course, Dad believes you." Peter stroked Bao Bao's watermelon head and comforted her. Wei wanted to say that the farm was also her Neverland. But seeing how harmonious the atmosphere between Dad and Bao Bao was, she didn't know how to start. Dad, do you think John and Clark have left Neverland and don't want to come back? I haven't seen them for several days," Wei asked Peter in a low voice. "Of course not, they just ran into some trouble," Peter said to Wei. "I believe they will solve it. These things are not easy to solve." In the world of injustice, Kara looked at the densely packed robots on the ground and said to Diana, "But we still have to help those citizens." "No, we don't have enough time," Kara said. "Didn't Batman tell us to wait? Delay the attack. We still have time to help them." Wonder Woman shook her head. "Batman's plan is not right at all. Delaying the attack is meaningless. It will only give Brainiac more opportunities to send us to hell, but I don't want to do nothing." Kara didn't wait for Wonder Woman to speak, and rushed directly to the robot army below. Seeing Kara attacking, Wonder Woman had to rush up. The two attacked the robots and instantly broke the robots into pieces. Bang! Wonder Woman crushed the head of the skeleton robot that rushed over with a punch, and said to Kara, "I'll go over there and meet up later." "Understood." Kara nodded, her eyes shot out hot vision, and killed the robot that rushed over. But the next second, a powerful magical force hit. Kara, who did not react, was blown away directly. Kara, who fell to the ground, suddenly felt weak. She looked up and found a woman with leopard patterns all over her body and cool clothes, walking slowly towards her. Kara remembered that Wonder Woman once told her that there was a superhero called Cheetah. It is said that the other party has the strength, endurance and speed of a cheetah. She once scratched a leg of the Flash Barry Allen when he was running at high speed, as well as all the senses of a cheetah. In addition, her claws and fangs are extremely sharp. Anyone she bites will be infected and become half human and half leopard, and will completely lose their own thinking, with only killing in their minds. Is this Cheetah? Chapter 768, The Enemy Supergirl and the Unjust Supergirl. Girl of Steel, you are indeed quite rare. No wonder Brainiac wants you, Leopard said as she straddled Kara. Looking at the moaning Kryptonian girl below, Leopard bent down, her sexy body visible in the sun. Kryptonians are afraid of magic. As she spoke, she stretched her claws towards Kara's face. The sharp claws gently scratched Kara's face. And these claws are like magic. Before she finished speaking, Leopard showed her claws and punched Kara's stomach fiercely. With a dull bang sound, Kara let out a painful groan. Leopard's move caused her body to suffer great pain. Bang! The next second, Leopard was knocked away by Wonder Woman who suddenly appeared. With a bang, Leopard fell heavily to the ground, and the ground was cracked. Hold on. Kara, Wonder Woman said to Kara and cast her eyes on Leopard who stood up. Leopard gritted her teeth and stood up. She looked at her dislocated left arm and slammed into the pillar next to her. With a click sound, Leopard successfully reattached her left arm. Seeing Leopard reattach her arm by hitting, Wonder Woman's eyes flashed with a trace of solemnity. Minova, it's really ironic that a wild thing would obey God. Facing Wonder Woman's ridicule, Leopard carefully circled around her and retorted, No, you are wrong. I just want to find my own prey. Wonder Woman moved her wrist and kept turning around to face Leopard. You should understand, Minova, this is a stupid job, just like you were cursed by the cheetah when you were looking for the magic fruit. Leopard continued to circle around her and shook her head and said, no, this is more like a gift from the cheetah. I am now stronger, more agile, and more hungry. I am very hungry and want the blood of the Amazon. You can try. Wonder Woman drew out her Vulcan sword and prepared to fight Leopard. With a roar, the Leopard Woman rushed over quickly, and her sharp claws hit Wonder Woman. Diana's armor collided with Leopard Woman's claws, and a shriek whistled away. The muscle fibers of the Amazon warrior were as hard as steel under the skin, and they withstood the force that could overturn a tank. The moment Leopard Woman retreated, her waist was bent back, and her heel kicked towards Wonder Woman's temple with a sound of breaking wind. As Wonder Woman leaned back, she felt a fishy wind passing through her nose, and took advantage of the situation to grab the opponent's ankle and turned around to smash it. With a bang, a dull explosion sounded. Leopard Woman groaned in pain in the cracks of the concrete road. But she endured the severe pain, grabbed Wonder Woman's arm, and rushed the opponent out with a roar. The two rolled on the city road and crashed through the load-bearing wall of a nearby building. Leopard Woman's nails scratched sparks on the shoulder armor of the woman, and her knees continuously hit the opponent's ribs. Bang! Diana's elbow suddenly changed its angle, hitting the diaphragm of the cheetah accurately, and she used her legs to twist her waist while the opponent was briefly stiff. The two bodies full of destructive power were like gears stuck together, pressing spiderweb cracks on the road below. The two people were in a stalemate, and the cheetah's knee suddenly hit Wonder Woman's wrist at an anti-joint angle. The severe pain forced a female warrior to release the suppression. The two jumped back at the same time to distance themselves. After looking at each other, the second round of confrontation between the two broke out in the gap. Cheetah folded her body like a switchblade and rushed forward, supporting herself with both hands to kick. Diana's forearms crossed into her shield, and every collision between the shin and arm bones caused a visible shock wave. When Cheetah's kick landed, Wonder Woman grabbed Cheetah's foot and swung her whole body into the air. Bang! When the concrete fragments exploded on Cheetah's back, Wonder Woman's pursuit was already in succession. Her right hook passed by the cheetah's cheek and broke the remaining load-bearing column of the tall building behind. The cheetah, who was at a disadvantage, used all her strength to attack, but was caught by Diana in midair. The Amazon warrior's back muscles bulged like mountains, and she slammed her opponent to the ground. Cheetah's claws frantically tore at the woman's back during the fall, but her position was twisted at the moment before the impact. Boom! A deafening sound rang out, and the shock wave shattered all the glass within a radius of 100 meters. Diana's knee pressed down on Cheetah's chest. The fist hit Cheetah's shoulder blade hard, nailing her right arm into the ground. The moment the fist hit the jaw, the Amazon warrior's thumb accurately grabbed the opponent's carotid artery. Cheetah's struggle gradually weakened until she completely lost the power to resist. Grabbing the slightly panting Cheetah's neck, Wonder Woman lifted her up in the air. Aiming the Vulcan sword in her hand at Cheetah's neck, she was going to kill her completely. Bang! Unexpectedly, her Vulcan sword was deflected by the bullet before it pierced the cheetah's neck. Wonder Woman frowned and looked in the direction where the bullet came from. She saw Harley Quinn, the Joker, holding two guns and pointing them at her. Harley Quinn pointed her pink double guns at Wonder Woman. You should have heard what the little bat said, no killing. Seeing Harley Quinn pointing a gun at her and telling her not to kill, Wonder Woman felt a little ridiculous. You actually taught me a lesson? How much blood has flowed on your hands? Harley Quinn, who had two ponytails, shrugged her shoulders. Oh, it's hard to say, maybe even a big bucket can't hold it, but I've been trying to please the wrong people, just like you and Superman. Humph, the unjust Wonder Woman snorted coldly and threw the cheetah woman she was holding out. Swoosh, the moment she threw the cheetah out, she activated her super speed and flashed in front of Harley Quinn like lightning. Harley Quinn's pupils dilated instantly, and she felt a sudden pain in her abdomen. She lowered her head and looked at Wonder Woman, who used the Vulcan sword to pierce her abdomen in disbelief. No, seeing Harley Quinn being pierced, Kara, who fell to the ground injured, cried out in pain. Gritting her teeth and standing up, she rushed towards Wonder Woman and knocked Wonder Woman away with a bang. No, you are bleeding too much. Kara clumsily covered Harley Quinn's wound with her hands. She was at a loss, and tears filled her eyes instantly. That will hurt, let me help you. Looking at Kara, who was at a loss, Harley Quinn smiled. That's even better, just leave it to me, you will be fine. Kara released a hot line of sight from her eyes, burning and suturing Harley Quinn's wound. Harley Quinn screamed in pain when Kara used this method to heal her wound. What are you doing, Kara? Wonder Woman, who was knocked away before, flew over and asked Kara, who was treating Harley Quinn, in shock. Kara stood up and faced her. Stop you before you make a mistake. Wonder Woman stared into Kara's eyes. That lunatic deserves death. Kara shook her head. Maybe, but she was not prepared and did not accept the trial. You told me that Amazons should be honored when fighting. No honor is needed for these guys. Kara heard Wonder Woman's answer and glared at her. I always thought you were the right person, but now it seems that I was wrong. Wonder Woman looked at Kara. Her eyes became unfriendly. Are you going to oppose me? Kara, don't forget who taught you after you came to Earth. It's you, but I will not stand on your side without any reason, and I rescued you from Paradise Island. Wonder Woman held the Vulcan sword and took a step forward after listening to Kara's words. Kara's eyes immediately shot out a hot line of light, which hit Diana in front of her. A deep gully was instantly cut on the ground in front of Wonder Woman. Don't come forward, or we will become enemies. After saying this to Wonder Woman, Kara picked up the sweaty Harley Quinn and flew into the sky without looking back. Wonder Woman on the ground looked at Kara flying away with Harley Quinn in her arms, and her expression kept changing. In the sky, Kara said to Harley Quinn, who was already in a semi-comatose state, don't worry, I will take you to see a doctor, and Carl will protect you. Superman. Harley Quinn smiled bitterly when she heard Kara say that Superman would protect her. You are so humorous, blonde. Kara held Harley Quinn and quickly flew to the Fortress of Solitude in the Arctic. Superman said before that he wanted to bask in the yellow sun to enhance his strength, so Kara knew he was in the Fortress of Solitude. In the Fortress of Solitude, the unjust Superman, who had already basked in the sun, was talking to Black Adam and Damian. Seeing Kara flying in alone, Black Adam and Damian left, leaving the space for the two. Superman asked Kara who flew in. I heard Damian introduce the situation. Is Diana okay? Kara exhaled hard and said excitedly, yes, she's fine. Carl, I want to talk to you about something. She wanted to kill Harley. I didn't expect her to be so cold-blooded. I don't know what she was thinking. Superman looked at Kara and nodded expressionlessly. Yes, unfortunately, she chose to deal with Harley Quinn at this time. The next sentence Superman said completely stunned Kara. Even more unfortunately, you hindered her. What? Kara listened to Superman's words, as if she knew him for the first time. Is this still her cousin? Superman slowly said to Kara, the Joker bewitched Harley. She is incurable. If she relapses, innocent people will die, but innocent people are dying now. She is helping us now. She is our comrade in arms. Don't be naive, Kara. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 769 Master Peter is my father. Superman said to the completely stunned Kara, Harley Quinn is a criminal. My only mistake was that I didn't deal with her sooner. Kara took a deep breath and looked him straight in the eyes. Diana said that the Joker was executed. It was you who did it, right? Injustice. Superman turned his head and clenched his fists. I took one life, but saved countless lives. Kara walked up to Superman. No, that's not right, Carl. It's more than one life, right? Seeing that Superman's eyes were not meeting hers, she grabbed Superman's shoulders and asked him angrily, how many people? Tell me how many people. This logo. She put her hand on the S logo on Superman's chest and said in an unbelievable tone, now I understand. No wonder so many people are scared when they see this logo on my chest. Because of you. Superman explained to her, no, it's not like that, Kara. I don't want the situation to develop to this point, but humans have been killing each other for thousands of years, and I stopped this atrocity. Humans need strong leaders, and I must save them from them. No. Kara glared at this cousin who made her feel strange, and said to him in a disappointed tone, Mr. Patrick said that you have been a Kansas kid who has never grown up since you were a child. When you are scared, you will protect yourself in the way you think, even though this way seems more and more crazy and irrational, and more unreasonable to others. I didn't believe what he said at first, but I do now. She took a step back and looked at her with disappointment. Whose son are you? Jor-El or General Zod? After saying that, she turned and flew out. When Superman heard Kara mention Peter, he clenched his fists even tighter. "Don't let Kara leave here." As Superman said this, Damian in the corridor blocked Kara. "Wait, Kara." Seeing Damian trying to stop her, Kara floated in the air and said to him coldly, "I now realize that your father should have locked you up." Damian clenched the short stick in his hand and took a fighting stance. "Superman is a better father than Batman." Kara shook her head, her body turned into a flash of lightning, and rushed towards Damian. Bang! Damian, who was unable to react in time, was hit hard and flew out. "Carl should have taught you better." After taking out Damian with one blow, Kara complained and was about to fly out, but she didn't expect a familiar voice to suddenly ring out Shazam. Then a silver thunder struck, and Kara was directly hit by the thunder and rolled on the ground. Staggering to her feet, Kara covered her chest and looked at Black Adam, who had been teaching her. "Since you found me, all along, everything about me has been half true and half false, all lies, used to cover up your evil, right?" Kara looked at Black Adam in pain and asked him with a trembling voice. Black Adam looked at her and shook his head. "No, Kara, you always look at good and evil with the eyes of a child. Good and evil are not eternal. Their meaning is determined by those who have power. No, power never determines the standard of good and evil." Seeing that the other party was unwilling to let her go, Kara had to use force to solve it, even though she didn't want to fight with Black Adam. She made up her mind and prepared to attack Black Adam. But sooner lightning struck. Kara's back hit the ice crystal wall of the Fortress of Solitude, and the severe pain from her spine made her eyes go black. Black Adam flew over quickly, pressed his knee against Kara's hip, and grabbed her right shoulder with his other hand. Kara gritted her teeth and slammed her forehead into the other's nose. The dull sound of skulls colliding exploded in the corridor. With a bang, the two of them let go and retreated at the same time. Kara shook her numb right arm and took a few steps back. Black Adam's whip kick was faster than the sound. Kara raised her left arm to block, and the vibration of the collision between the tibia and ulna caused the ice edges in the entire corridor to fall. Then she took advantage of the situation to grab the other's ankle and turned around to smash her body wrapped in black armor against the wall. The several meter thick Krypton alloy plate was dented into human shape, but Black Adam used his 5 fingers to hold the wall at the moment of impact and jumped back like a beast climbing a rock. Bang! Boom! Boom! The two fists hit each other in the middle of the corridor. The shockwave blew away the overhead lighting device, and the sound of the blow became clearer in the darkness. "Don't forget, Kara, I also taught you how to fight," Black Adam shouted at her, and then his swinging fist hit Kara's left ribs accurately. "You rely too much on Kryptonian talents, Kara Zor-El." Black Adam grabbed Kara's right wrist and pressed her ulnar nerve groove. The numbness of the whole arm made Kara lose balance, and then a heavy elbow hit her temple. Bang! Her body bounced twice on the ground and smashed the isolation door leading to the main control room. Kara endured the pain and turned over to avoid Black Adam's stomping. Black Adam's combat boots stepped on the ground to make cracks, but the shockwave still blew her to the front of the control console. The blue light of the display screen reflected Black Adam's approaching figure. Kara grabbed the broken Kryptonian energy conduit and smashed it at him. While Black Adam blocked the attack, Kara took the opportunity to grab Black Adam's ankle and swung him to the ceiling. Bang! The violent collision caused spiderweb cracks to appear on the protective glass. "Ah!" Kara roared, and used a shoulder throw to smash Black Adam into the main console. The fragments of the controller flew like shrapnel, and Black Adam was hit hard in the machine. Looking at Black Adam, who fell to the ground and couldn't stand up for a while, Kara panted slightly. "Lucky for you, I still use my power in moderation." Swoosh! Kara's voice was not finished, and a heat vision rushed over. Seeing this scene, Kara immediately raised her arms to her chest to resist the bombardment of the heat vision. But she was still rushed back violently in the end. Bang! Kara hit the wall with a dull sound. Superman's eyes flashed red and slowly flew towards her. "Kara, listen to me." Superman reached out to her, stopping her from continuing to fight. "We shouldn't restrain our strength, otherwise the people we love will pay the price." Kara slowly slid down the wall. She raised her head and said to Superman, "I'm sorry I wasn't there and couldn't help you. What happened in Metropolis is not your fault." She calmed herself down and walked towards Superman. "But this is not our spirit. The L family should not rule by fear." Superman looked at Kara, still stubborn, and couldn't help but increase his voice. "Hope is not enough to save the world. Without me, they would have died long ago." Before he finished speaking, the hot eyes in his eyes shot towards Kara. Kara tilted her head to avoid the fatal blow, and the next second Clark's knee had hit his chest. Kara grabbed Superman's arm, and the two rolled and crashed through the isolation wall. Superman's back of the head smashed the wall into a spider web-like bend, but he took the opportunity to grab Kara's shoulder. Kara, wake up. We are family, you should understand what I did. Kara's right hook, bang, knocked Superman out. It's you who should wake up, Carl. The L family. Kara breathed heavily. We should give people the courage to resist violence. Superman stood up from the ground, and flew towards Kara with a somewhat ugly expression. He was now completely enraged. Just as Superman was about to hit Kara, a figure pierced the air with a bang and flew in from outside. The red and blue figure shot out heat vision, forcing Superman back. Lila, after Injustice Superman retreated, he looked at his daughter who suddenly appeared and used heat vision to force him back in shock. Dad, you are so crazy now, not like the gentle and elegant dad I know, who advocates solving everything peacefully. Leela slowly landed in front of Kara and looked at Superman with a serious expression. Leela, that was just my dream. We all hope that good things will happen. If the explosion in Metropolis had not happened at the beginning, we would not have come to this point, but now, there is no other way, so. I am just a false dream of yours. Leela looked at him with sad eyes. You, of course you are not, Leela, you are my favorite daughter, but now, look outside and think about everything we have lost, Leela, and Kara, if you can save a Krypton, what will you do? Kara walked to Leela's side, and the two stood together facing Superman. Kara, with mixed feelings, said to him, I think about it every day, all the time, then do as I say. Now the Earth is suffering the same fate, I can save it. No, Leela interrupted him, Dad, not in your way, but in the way the Master said, there is no need to sacrifice more people, no need for power and violence to save the Earth. Shaking her head at Superman, Leela grabbed Kara's hand, turned around and flew out. Looking at his cousin and daughter flying away, Superman hammered his fist against the wall. It's Peter Patrick again. Why do his relatives and loved ones eventually betray him and choose to go to Peter Patrick? On the other side, Kara flew out of the Fortress of Solitude. Because her previous injuries had not healed, coupled with the successive battles with Damian, Black Adam and Superman, her spirit and body could no longer support her. Finally, her body softened and she fell into Lyra's arms in a daze. Kara, are you okay? I'm fine, just a little tired, Kara said dazedly. Lyra hugged her and comforted her anxiously. Don't worry, the Master will definitely save you. Who is the Master? The Peter Patrick you know, the Master who created me. Chapter 770, Metropolis is being destroyed, Supergirl's perseverance. Kara felt her cold palms suddenly turn into the temperature of burning asphalt. She saw the buildings of Metropolis constantly collapsing under her feet. The crowd screamed and fled in all directions. Countless cracks opened up in the ground, and countless people were swallowed by the cracks. The mother holding the baby screamed and fell from the cracks. Watching this scene, Kara shouted desperately in her heart, no. She dived down quickly, but her cloak was nailed in the air by a force. In the end, she could only watch her mother and baby being swallowed by the cracks. Kara, my daughter, you can save everyone. Kara's mother's voice came from behind. Hearing the voice, Kara turned around suddenly and saw her mother floating on the top of the burning building. Her white coat was spotless. Just hold those hands, my daughter. Then in Kara's astonished eyes, she saw thousands of blood-stained hands suddenly piercing the ground. Kara frantically grabbed each pair of hands, but found that she couldn't grab them no matter what. All these hands were absorbed into the spaceship above her head. No, suddenly awakened from her dream, Kara opened her eyes and saw an unfamiliar ceiling. Lying on the bed, she subconsciously looked at her abdomen where she was stabbed by the leopard woman. As a result, she saw that the previous wound had healed. Confused, she reached out and touched the wound to confirm that she was not dreaming now. You are awake. Leela pushed the door open and was very happy to see Kara awake. Leela, Kara covered her forehead, which was slightly painful, and asked Leela, where am I? Patrick Farm, Mr. Peter Patrick's house. Kara opened her mouth in astonishment. After a while, she asked Leela, have we come to another dimensional world? Yes, the Master opened the portal and took you over. When Kara heard that Peter took her over, the shock on her face became even stronger. I was saved by Mr. Patrick. With mixed feelings, she took out the ruby diamond amulet from her close-fitting uniform. At first I thought that what Mr. Patrick said was not entirely true. Holding the amulet, Kara didn't know how to describe her mood. I didn't expect that, Leela. I always thought you were a bad guy, too. Leela looked at her in surprise. What did Wonder Woman and Black Adam say about me? He said Batman is a bad guy. He will definitely try to corrupt Superman. You are Carl's daughter, but in fact you are the daughter created by Mr. Patrick. You stand with Batman, Leela nodded. At least he is right about one thing. I was indeed created by the Master. He gave me life. But the fact that Batman is a bad guy is debatable. In the eyes of some people, he is indeed a bad guy, because some people think that Batman is the richest man in the world. How can he, who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, understand the pain of the little people? He has never worried about what to eat tomorrow, and he won't even run around for a job. No one will target him because he is the richest man in the world and everyone will flatter him. Others think that Batman is breaking the law. He is a hypocrite. In the eyes of many civilians, Batman is a lunatic who abuses lynching. He despises the law and uses his own feelings to judge whether the other party is guilty. Peter's voice suddenly came from outside. Leela and Kara looked outside and saw Peter coming in. Are you feeling better? Kara, yes, Mr. Padraic, thank you. Thank you for saving me, Kara hurriedly thanked Peter. You're welcome. After all, we are familiar with each other. Leela, who was standing next to him, was a little confused when she heard Peter say that he knew Kara from the world of injustice. How did the Master know Kara? Did Kara have to live in the base hidden by Black Adam after the spaceship was discovered? Kara was a little embarrassed when she heard Peter say that he was familiar with her. It was incredible that the dreams of Mr. Padraic and herself were connected in 2 dimensions. Master, you just said that Batman is a bad guy. Do you think so too? That's hard to say. After all, there are countless parallel universes. Maybe Batman is a bad guy in some universes. Peter said something that stunned Leela. Soon Peter changed the subject, but the Batman in your world is not a villain. Although he may have various shortcomings, he is still immortal. He also has weaknesses, and he will lose. Batman has also become a god, sitting on a Mobius chair, and has also obtained superpowers, Green and Yellow Lantern rings, but every time he returned to his original self, and he did not have much desire for these superpowers, because he has always regarded himself as a human being, a little boy who lost his parents when he was young and never got over it. Peter came over, patted Lyra on the shoulder, and said to the 2 of them, Persephone has prepared lunch downstairs, let's go eat first, at the lunch table. Except for the 4 siblings of Raven from Hogwarts, and Clark and Azu in the world of injustice, everyone else gathered. Star-Lord muttered in a low voice, great, now there are 2 Karas, and the family will not be at peace again. Fleur and Hermione looked at the 2 Supergirls in shock, and whispered to Wanda beside them, is this the same Kryptonian as the Kryptonian female commander? Wanda was also a little confused about Kara's origins, and whispered, maybe, I met Leela last Christmas, but I am not familiar with the Kara of the other world. Being looked at with curious eyes by everyone, Kara felt a little uncomfortable and unconsciously leaned towards Peter. After lunch, Kara curiously walked to the photo wall in the living room. Looking at the pictures of Clark and Zoo chasing each other happily on the farm when they were young, Kara showed a surprised expression on her face. The Clark here, is he living a happy life? Kara turned around and asked Peter. Yes, I don't think he is in too much pain. He hasn't married Louise yet, nor has he gone berserk because of the nuclear explosion in Metropolis. He likes Lana now, and is struggling with which girl to choose. When he was a child, he liked playing basketball with Sam and Zoo in the backyard. Chloe would help him check the secrets of Luther Corporation. He would go to Miami Beach with Zoo to see girls, and would be called country bumpkin by Louise with disdain, and his parents would instill in him the truth that the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Do you know what he said to me the first time I took Clark to fly? Peter asked Kara. What is it? He said, Godfather, can you see through my heart? I am like a kid going to school, holding God's hand. I am a fool, I am trembling, like a trembling little girl. It is amazing, Clark is not alone, here. Kara listened to Peter's words, her eyes reddened. This is great, I know there is a world where my brother lives happily. I think there is nothing happier than this. Thank you, sir. I think I have to go back, because I still have to help my brother deal with Brainiac, although he makes me very uncomfortable. I can't give up the people in that world. Peter looked at Kara's determined eyes and said, of course, I believe you can protect them. Unjust world. When Brainiac's mothership descended from the stratosphere, the sunset in Metropolis had just begun. People looked up at the dark metal cloud that covered half of the sky until they found that at the edge of the cloud was flashing ominous purple arcs. Countless hexagonal holes were cracked at the bottom of the spacecraft, and in each hole there was a kilometer-long nerve bundle hanging. When these fluorescent mechanical tentacles penetrated the edge of the city, the lightning rod on the top of the Empire State Building was the first to vaporize. At this time, Catwoman, who was in the square, watched the advertising screen in Times Square suddenly switch to countdown 0 hours, 3 minutes, and 47 seconds, and the scarlet numbers were reflected in the pupils of the fleeing crowd. "Get into the subway," she shouted in vain, and her sharp claws frantically cut the tentacles that were wrapped around the Chrysler Building. But the nerve bundles will regenerate the moment they are cut, and the silver nanoarms sprayed from the fractures will accelerate the decomposition of the building. The entire skyscraper collapsed like a melted wax figure, and the white-collar workers in the office who did not have time to evacuate were absorbed into the spacecraft before falling into the jungle of nerve bundles. The foundation of the city began to roar. The lake in Central Park boiled and rolled, and the lake water formed a 1,000-meter-high waterspout when it was sucked into the sky. Catwoman saw picnic baskets, baby carriages and squirrels that had no time to escape wrapped in the rotating water flow. When these things came into contact with the energy field at the bottom of the mothership, they all collapsed into metal cubes the size of stamps. No, with a whoosh, Clark, who arrived in time, dived towards the collapsing Daily Planet building. A female reporter's workstation was stuck between the broken 15th and 16th floors, and she was grabbing the window frame with horror. When Clark's fingers were only half a meter away from her, the entire floor was suddenly pulled horizontally into noodle-like metal flow, and the female reporter was rescued by Clark at the critical moment. The collection cabin in the belly of the mothership was taking shape. Countless tractor beams were woven into golden birdcage, uprooting the Statue of Liberty and the seawater within a radius of 50 kilometers. The steel cables of the Brooklyn Bridge broke one by one, and the falling cars were decomposed into basic elements in the tractor beams, shooting into the sky like a reverse metal rainstorm. On the street, a mother huddled in a broken window holding her child. When the tractor beam swept over, the child's stuffed toys were absorbed into the spacecraft along with the mother. The ground of the entire city began to curl. The asphalt pavement of Fifth Avenue was lifted up like a carpet, wrapped in subway cars and underground pipes and flew towards the mothership. Chapter 771, Battle of Metropolis, Patrick Alliance mobilizes. Whoosh, the Batplane stopped at the city square. Bruce shouted to Catwoman from inside, "Selina!" Catwoman saw the door of the plane open and jumped to the back seat of the plane. With a boom, the Batplane rushed directly into the sky. Batman pressed the thrust lever to the bottom. Catwoman felt a violent push on her back, and her nails dug into the plane wall next to her. The kryptonite-coated Batplane was like a black blade, cutting through the flying mechanical tentacles. Those metal mechanical arms flashing purple light whipped on the bulletproof glass, leaving white smoke burn marks. Left, Catwoman suddenly put her hand on the back of the driver's seat and shouted loudly to Batman. Batman pulled the joystick hard, and two scarlet hot eyes swept across the wings, melting the two Brainiac drones into molten iron. As he was suspended in the air hundreds of meters away, his cape fluttering in the airflow of the explosion, and the red light in his eyes had not yet gone out. "Should we go to Gotham now?" Catwoman asked Batman, who was sitting in the front row, after looking at Zoo in the sky with a shudder. "Brainiac is on that skeleton ship and controls all the fleets. We have to kill him," Batman said as he flew quickly into the sky. Seeing the Batplane getting closer and closer, the skeleton ship, which was the mothership, also responded. Countless mechanical tentacles were ejected from the belly of the mothership. The Batplane was accidentally hit, and with a boom sound, it spiraled down in the steel forest. The cabin alarm sounded a dying buzzer. Batman quickly controlled the plane to stop falling, and Catwoman waited until the plane was stable, unbuckled her seatbelt and rushed to the weapon station, manually controlled the machine gun to straf the pursuing mechanical eyeball, and shouted to the Bat, "Can't you install an automatic aiming?" Just as Bruce controlled the Batplane and stopped it from falling, the energy shield at the bottom of the mothership suddenly unfolded. The pale blue film of the skeleton ship expanded rapidly like a balloon, and the wreckage of the drone that was hit was burned to ashes on the surface of the barrier. Batman pushed the joystick hard and turned sharply. The moment the belly of the aircraft scraped the shield, the coating of the Batfighter and the energy field rubbed against each other, producing dazzling sparks. As he passed over their heads, and his thermal vision cut through several mechanical arms that tried to outflank. The molten liquid metal dripped on the windshield of the fighter, leaving charred marks. Batman stared at the flashing core in the shield. "I've seen the bullseye." Catwoman nodded and put her palm on the porthole. "We can try to see if we can blow up the shield." The Batfighter climbed up against the gunfire of the 4 drones. Catwoman grabbed the bomb button in the violent turbulence. Now, boom, 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 ripples appeared at the places where the 3 missiles hit the shield. The pale blue film of light was like a lake surface broken by a stone, with a gap of less than 2 meters in diameter. "Success!" Catwoman shouted excitedly when she saw the Batfighter successfully break a hole in the shield. But the next second, the light blue film was quickly repaired, and a powerful energy rushed over, blasting the Batfighter backwards. Impact in 5 seconds. In the rapidly falling plane, Catwoman shouted to Batman, 3 seconds left. Seeing that the fighter plane could no longer be controlled, Batman shouted to Catwoman, prepare to eject. Just as he was about to press the ejection button, a figure whoosh flew over and supported the falling plane with his hands. Kara suddenly appeared and turned the plane over with a little effort. Clapping her hands, she said to the 2 people who were stunned in the cabin, "You're welcome." Catwoman breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that it was Kara who suddenly appeared to save the plane. After parking the plane, Kara frowned slightly and asked the 2, "What happened?" Batman replied to her, "It was Brainiac's position shield that created a shock feedback loop." Kara nodded, "So the more powerful our attack, the stronger the rebound." "Yes, I'll try it." With her fist clenched, Kara rushed over. As a result, before she hit the shield of the spaceship, she was hit by a lightning with kryptonite properties. Kara, who was caught in the air by the lightning, let out a painful scream. Seeing Kara trapped in the air by lightning, Injustice Superman, who arrived in time, flew over quickly and wanted to help Kara. As a result, a lightning bolt rushed over quickly in the next second, and Superman, who was unable to react in time, was hit to the ground by the lightning. Kara and Superman were smashed from the sky to the ground with a boom. On the other side, the shadow cast by Brainiac's mothership gradually engulfed the city streets. Leela, who had already rushed back from the farm, ran on the street like lightning, and every time she flashed, she brought 3 or 4 humans with her. As they passed the entrance of a nearby coffee shop, Leela saw a female barista, who was carrying an unconscious old man under the counter. "Be careful." Leela rushed out at the moment when the shockwave overturned the French window. The energy beam brushed past her heels and absorbed the leather sofa. Leela grabbed the female barista and the unconscious old man. She felt that the old man's heart seemed to have stopped, so she ran while performing CPR with her vibrating fingers until she heard a faint cough around the corner. Clark, who was also saving people, saw the ceiling steel bars falling like raindrops when he crashed through the roof of a hospital. Clark held a 20-meter-wide concrete slab in his left hand, and kept exhaling frozen breaths from his mouth. The ice layer formed a vault above the mother and baby area, and 30 babies slid from the ice bridge to the emergency exit. One baby accidentally fell into the crack. Seeing that the baby was about to be swallowed, Clark quickly flew over and hugged the baby, and his thermal vision melted the steel beam that hit the exit at the same time. As for the other members of the Justice League, Hal Jordan's Green Lantern ring exploded green fireworks over the square. The giant slide made of energy caught a tourist who jumped from the observation deck. His other hand held a fire hydrant-shaped spray gun, and the water flow dispersed the skeleton robots that had gathered. "Run to the green light," Hal's roar spread out through the loudspeaker. An old soldier in a wheelchair was stuck in the deformed subway gate. Hal directly materialized a mechanical arm to pull up the man and the chair. The metal frame of the wheelchair that could not be taken away in time was sizzling and smoking in the energy decomposition. As the spacecraft continued to absorb, the entire Broadway street arched upward. Flashberry carried the last 5 civilians and sprinted. The road surface rolled up to a 90-degree vertical under his feet. He stepped in the fallen taxi wreckage and spiraled up. The nano-arm swarm kept chasing him behind him. Barry endured the pain and threw the civilians into the buffer bubble created by Hal. Just as everyone was busy saving people, a portal opened. In the astonished eyes of Barry and Green Lantern Hal, they saw a group of people slowly walking out of it. Star-Lord, Wanda, Quicksilver, Gwen, Boom Boom, V, Horace, and Fleur and Hermione in power armor all walked out of the portal. Except for Peter himself, Raven and the other 4 who were at Hogwarts, and Diana and others who were acting as superheroes to save people in other cities. Almost all other members of Patrick's farm were present. "It seems that we are not too late," Wanda took a deep breath, looked at the almost damaged metropolis, and said to Hal and Barry. Seeing that saving people was the most important thing, Star-Lord was the first to move. With his eyes wide, he released the energy of the gods, wrapped the foundation of the city hall and flew up. The marble pillars were turning into powder. The moment he saw the dome of the library collapse, Star-Lord quickly used the silver god energy to cut a triangular escape hatch. The female librarian fell into his arms holding the book. The pages of the book were flying in the wind, making a rustling sound. 2 Brainiac drones swooped over from the side. Horus, who was responsible for covering Star-Lord, wore a power armor, raised his bolter and focused the drones. With a boom, the drones crashed into the disintegrating Chrysler building. Hal and others were immediately encouraged when they saw the reinforcements coming. The green crane he materialized smashed the mechanical tentacles sticking out from the bottom of the mothership, but it couldn't stop the entire river from being siphoned up into the sky. The back-flowing river water wrapped the ferry and the fishermen, folding in the tractor beam. The flash turned into electricity and jumped into the water curtain, pulling out a person before the liquid cube closed. Gwen saw a school bus that caught the airflow and immediately jumped over quickly. In an instant, countless spider silks shot out of her wrists to catch the car. Fleur and Hermione, who had never seen such a scene, looked at each other. Is this still the Earth they know? The whole city was uprooted and sucked up into the sky. Is there anything more outrageous than this? Well, I thought the Triwizard Tournament was dangerous enough, but now it seems that this place is more dangerous. Fleur couldn't help but complain to Hermione. Hermione shrugged her shoulders. You insisted on coming, be careful. Seeing one of Brainiac's planes release energy attacks, Hermione pushed Fleur away and raised the grenade launcher in her hand. Boom! After the plane was shot down, the two looked into the distance in shock. When the collection chamber in the belly of the mothership began to close, the oak forest in Central Park was being uprooted. Hal materialized a giant spring net to catch the people in the park. Wearing boxing gloves, Wei roared and tore off the mechanical tentacles wrapped around the building. At the same time, in the skeleton ship at this time, Brainiac looked at the actions of Wanda, Gwen and others, his face full of surprise. Who are they? Why are these people not among the people who defeated Superman's Peter Patrick last time? When he saw Star-Lord, he knew that this group of people must be from the Patrick Alliance in another world. He already knew very well about the last battle in which Peter defeated Injustice Superman. But when he saw someone who had never appeared before, Brainiac still had an incredible expression on his face. Chapter 772 The Death of Superman? Staggering to his feet, Injustice Superman glanced at Kara who was lying unconscious on the ground. With a boom, he flew up into the sky, watching more and more city buildings being absorbed into the spaceship. The scenes of the destruction of Metropolis replayed before his eyes. It was because of his own mistakes that Metropolis was destroyed and Lois died tragically. Now the scene reappeared before Injustice Superman. Unable to accept it, he rushed to the sky angrily. No, with a roar, Injustice Superman rushed towards the skeleton ship in the sky. With a bang, he violently hit the shield of the spaceship, but it only caused some small waves. Unconvinced, he turned into lightning and kept rushing towards the shield. The roar of bang bang continued to sound in the air. Batman's communicator burst into static noise in Superman's ears. Clark! Stop! His shield before Bruce could finish speaking, Superman rushed over again. His fist sent out shockwaves a few hundred meters away from the ship. The ripples on the shield surface had not yet spread, and the regeneration film had already reorganized like a mirror. The reaction force shook Injustice Superman, knocking him back. Panting heavily, Superman stopped in the air, hovering just above the shield, and his red cape broke into strands in the energy field radiation. Superman tore off the tattered cape fragments, revealing the traces of Brainiac's laser plowing on his back. Clark, the shield will concentrate energy at the point of attack. If you use an attack speed faster than the energy concentration speed, you may be able to break through it, Batman's voice sounded in Superman's mind. Hearing Batman's reminder, Injustice Superman nodded slightly and flew towards the shield again. His muscle fibers burst out with dense cracking sounds, and the sonic boom cloud formed a milky white air ring around him. The speed of this charge exceeded all his previous speeds, and the things flowing on the retina suddenly became slow. He could see the tiny time gap when the shield regenerated. Seeing Superman's speed increase, Brainiac in the skeleton ship shook his head. Very smart, but not enough. Set the shield refresh time to 100,000th of a second. Bang! On just Superman, who had used all his strength to charge forward, was hit by a powerful recoil force and fell to the ground. In his blurred vision, he saw Bruce's backfighter passing by. Boom! Superman hit the ground, making a deafening sound and creating a huge crater. This time, not only did he fail to break through the shield, but he was hit to the ground by a stronger recoil force. Superman lay at the bottom of the pit, watching the mothership gradually sucking the city fragments into its body. Enduring the pain, he staggered to his feet, and the mechanical arm of the skeleton ship had already stretched out. Boom! The three mechanical arms released a dazzling blue light. The powerful energy released by Brainiac's mechanical arm seemed to penetrate his chest. Being hit by the blue energy, there was no pain, only a cold touch? No. Seeing her cousin being hit by the energy violently, Kara immediately released a thermal vision. The scorching heat burned white marks on the surface of the mechanical arm, but more liquid metal flowed out from the crack to repair it. The three mechanical arms began to vibrate synchronously. The body of Injustice Superman was nailed in the air, flickering like a broken holographic projection, and his left leg was so transparent that he could see the collapsed building behind him. The last scene Superman saw was the trajectory of Kara's hair burning in the blue light when she was blown away by the energy recoil wave. Kara sprayed frozen breath at the joints of the mechanical arm like crazy, and the high-frequency vibration shook the white frost into ice chips as soon as it condensed. In Kara's painful eyes, Superman's right eye was the first to decompose, and the sapphire-like iris shattered into light points, leaving only the empty eye socket looking at Kara. The vibration frequency of the mechanical arm suddenly doubled. The next second, Superman's figure gradually became thinner in Kara's unbelievable sight. Boom! A random deafening explosion sounded, and Kara was blown away by this powerful shock wave. Dust quickly spread and surrounded the entire area. Being thrown into the air, Kara looked at the clouds rising up after the huge explosion on the ground in disbelief. No, watching Superman disappear in the explosion of blue light, Kara flew down and knelt on the ground in pain. Tears welled up in her eyes. She vaguely saw her mother's chest pierced by metal thorns, and her father's last smile dissipated in the atmosphere of Krypton. Now seeing her cousin disappear in front of her again, she burst into tears. Buzz! At the same time, Batman and Catwoman also flew to the ground in a plane. Wanda, Little Horace, as well as Hermione and Fleur also came over. Clark, who had been busy saving people, flew slowly behind Kara with a heavy expression. As he was busy dealing with a robot army and didn't pay attention to the situation here. Black Adam and Wonder Woman walked towards Batman aggressively. Leela saw her nominal father disappear, and she also had an expression of disbelief on her face. She didn't expect that Superman, her father, would disappear like this. Sadness and helplessness surrounded her instantly. Catwoman, who could feel her pain, came over and put her hand on her shoulder. Everyone looked at Kara, who was kneeling on the ground and crying with different expressions, and all fell into silence. I can't find his body, and I can't hear his heartbeat, Kara said to Batman sadly. I should have protected him, and now he's gone. I think this is the best news you have heard all day. No, I never thought so. Unjust Batman shook his head and said, I will miss him, because he was once my best friend, and I am willing to give my life to him, but the Joker killed him, and I couldn't stop this tragedy on the spot. From that moment I lost my friend, and from that moment I missed him. Listening to Batman's seemingly sincere words, Kara did not continue to blame Batman. She knew that this was not Batman's fault. She was just angry and threw the fault to others to relieve her pain and guilt, but in fact it was just her cowardice. Seeing Kara didn't say anything, Wonder Woman came over and said to Batman angrily, This is all your fault, Bruce. Carl and I could have defeated Brainiac. You should have obeyed our orders. Seeing Diana still blaming others, Kara stood up, put her hand on his shoulder, and pushed him away. Don't be delusional, Diana. There are still many people on the ship waiting for us to rescue. Wonder Woman snorted at Kara. We don't need him. What a mess. Just as the two were arguing, a voice suddenly came from the sky. Everyone looked up and found that Brainiac's projection was slowly falling from the sky. No wonder human civilization has not expanded beyond the Earth. Seeing Brainiac coming up to provoke him, Zoo asked him unhappily, Are you here to shine and get beaten? Brainiac glanced at Zoo, ignored him, and continued, My sub-bombs are spreading in all directions of the Earth. It will probably not be long before they all explode at the same time, burn up the atmosphere of this Earth and finally turn this land into a hairless land like the moon, unless you hand over Kara Zor-El. Brainiac stretched out his hand to the stunned Kara. She is the only survivor of Krypton in this world. She is my last way to study the factors that affect the combination of yellow sunlight and Kryptonian cells. Hand her over, and I will let this world go." Hearing the other party's request, Batman took the initiative to stand up and rejected Brainiac's conditions. "No, even if you will abide by the agreement, we will not accept it. You have 6 hours to think about it." After Brainiac finished speaking, his eyes looked at Star-Lord. "I didn't expect you to arrive here. It seems that your father has confidence in you. I have always wanted to communicate with your father. His farm is also one of the collections I want to get, and it is the most interesting to me." Hearing Brainiac say that he wanted to collect the farm, Zhu was furious and shot his hot eyes at him. But at this time, Brainiac's projection had disappeared. "Damn it. I will definitely kill him," Zhu clenched his fists and said indignantly. Boom also had a gnashing expression. If she hadn't been unable to break through the shield of the other party's spaceship, she would have blown up the other party's spaceship long ago. Seeing that the other party's target was herself, Kara hesitated for a while and finally said, "Thank you for supporting the newcomer, but I think maybe I should go." "No," Clark stood up and said, "we will definitely find a way to break Brainiac's shield. I will ask the Godfather. He must know how to deal with the shield." Black Adam looked at the discussion and interrupted, "Maybe we don't need Peter Patrick. We can turn to magic for things that science can't do." He naturally didn't want Peter to enter his world. Otherwise, what if Peter comes in and wants to lock Superman and himself up? Black Adam said to everyone, "I can go from Kandak to where the Stone of Eternity is, and channel the powerful force inside the Stone of Eternity, but I need a relic, a carrier to channel the force, something that can withstand this force. How about a trident? I have a trident." Azu said that he had a trident weapon given by his father. "Okay, it should be able to withstand this force." Batman nodded and said to everyone, "Then let's go to Kandak now." Fleur, who was walking at the back, saw that everyone decided to go to Kandak, and whispered to Hermione, "Does the magic he mentioned include the magic of our world?" Chapter 773. Azu was knocked down as soon as he came up. "Actually, this is a completely different magic," Hermione explained to Fleur. Mr. Padraic told me that magic in their world all has a price. Here, magic is divided into 3 parts. Fleur was stunned. "Which 3 parts?" "The positive universe, multiverse, the antimatter universe and the dark multiverse. Among them, Hecate is the embodiment and source of multiverse magic, and the inverted man is the counterpart of Hecate in the dark multiverse, and is the embodiment and source of dark multiverse magic." Hermione whispered to her, "The magic used by wizards now is basically taught by the goddess Hecate. Hecate has appeared before." Hermione told Fleur about the witch mark incident that Raven, Diana and others had experienced before. Because Hecate was betrayed, she could no longer trust anyone, so she divided her power into 5 parts and hid them in 5 girls she chose. Once someone betrays her, she will bring an indelible mark of the witch to the world. In modern times, the 5 witch marks are on Wonder Woman, Manitadon, Witchfire, Black Orchid and Circe. Fleur asked curiously, "Who defeated her in the end?" "It was Raven, Mark, Tom and Loki. The 4 of them worked together to use the Patronus spell to repel Hecate." "Patronus?" Fleur made a surprised sound. "Is the magic in our world so powerful?" Hermione shrugged. "I asked Mr. Peter the same question as you, and he said that it's not the Patronus that is so powerful, but that Raven and the other 4 use the strongest magic in our world." Fleur became more and more curious. "What kind of magic is it?" Love. Hermione walked at the back and said to Fleur, who was lost in thought, "Yes, love is the most difficult and powerful magic. In the Department of Mysteries, there has always been a room studying it. Love may also be the most mysterious branch of all magic, and it is very difficult to understand." Fleur nodded thoughtfully. "I know that Lily Evans died under Voldemort's killing curse to save Harry Potter. It was this sacrifice that gave Harry the protection of love, which saved Harry from Voldemort's harm and allowed him to survive." She thought for a moment, and asked Hermione, "You should have someone you love, right?" Hermione nodded. "Of course, I love my family and my friends." "Me too. For me, the person I love most is my sister, Gabrielle." The 2 people who were originally at odds with each other became the best partners in the world of injustice and talked about more private topics together. "Why did you stay on the farm, Fleur?" Hermione asked Fleur the question she wanted to know the answer to the most while wearing power armor. "Because I'm French." "French? Yes. Do you know what kind of country France is?" "The French have their own unique personality, passionate, romantic, generous, brave, unrestrained, dare to think and do." And most importantly, I am a proud French. Hermione couldn't help but complain in her heart when she heard this. You are indeed as proud as a peacock at the beginning. She remembered that Fleur looked down on the facilities of Hogwarts at the beginning. When Dumbledore expressed his hope that everyone would be comfortable and happy here, she let out a sneer that was undoubtedly sarcastic, which annoyed her. And according to Harry, when Fleur accidentally learned that Harry was also one of the warriors, Krum just slightly frowned his thick eyebrows. While Fleur frowned and proudly announced that Harry was too young to participate in the competition. Yes, Hermione, because I am a proud person, I am upset that you invited Mr. Peter to be your dance partner, but you refused me. So when I saw that you followed Mr. Peter to learn runes and made great progress, I naturally did not want to be outdone by you. Hearing Fleur's seemingly heartfelt thoughts, Hermione smiled slightly. Then let's compete fairly. Let's see who will be the best wizard in the end. Of course, Fleur raised her chin. I may lose to Raven and the Padricks, but I will never lose to anyone else. Kandak. Black Adam, Azu, Fleur, Hermione, and Wanda came to a palace complex in the desert. Since Wanda, Fleur, and Hermione knew magic, Batman arranged for them to follow Black Adam. Standing in front of the palace building, Black Adam chanted a spell to the statue in front of the door. Ancient gods, please open the golden gate in your name. Shu, Heru, Yaman, Aten, and Mahan. As he chanted these spells, lightning gradually lingered on his body. The lingering electric sparks continued to expand, and then a bolt of lightning rushed from the door of the building and hit Black Adam. At the same time, Brainiac on the skeleton ship also saw this scene using satellites spread all over the world. He gave an order to the Ape God. Black Adam revealed the power of Kandak and his location. Let the secret society retrieve the Eternal Stone for me. I want to study this so-called magic on Earth. Grodd replied to him, the secret society has been cancelled because they thought that the Earth would be ruled by them, not destroyed by you. Brainiac looked at Grodd. What about you? Grodd, Earth is destroyed, and I serve Brainiac? Brainiac nodded with satisfaction. A wise move. I will give you soldiers. Bring the samples to me before the Earth is destroyed, and then your loyalty will be rewarded. Grodd nodded and prepared to leave. Wait, Brainiac called him again, and said to him with a serious expression, we still need to be on guard against Peter Patrick. Since his children have arrived, it is not surprising that he will show up later. Grodd, tell me about the war in which Peter Patrick defeated the Justice League. I need to know the details of that war. Grodd replied to Brainiac, I will, my master, but please complete this mission first, and then tell you about Peter Patrick's deeds. Kandak. As Black Adam released the spell, the clouds instantly boiled into vortex like asphalt. When the first lightning struck his left shoulder, the entire desert began to resonate. The sand particles jumped violently, and the hexagonal energy matrix radiated from Black Adam's feet. When the fifth lightning struck, Azu and others saw clearly that it was not lightning, it was countless scepters made of lightning, which seemed to be chiseling invisible doors in the air. Then, a 30-meter-high obsidian door rose from the sand. The chain on the door was not made of metal, but a statue made of solidified lightning. Seeing the door open, Black Adam was about to lead people in. Unexpectedly, there were footsteps behind him. Everyone looked back and found that it was Green Arrow and Black Canary who were walking over with a group of gorillas. Don't try to go in, you have no chance. Looking at the approaching Black Canary and Green Arrow, Azu's eyes narrowed. He remembered that these two were Batman and Dr. Fate. Superheroes from another time and space. They were commissioned to investigate the City of Apes before, but they disappeared. Now it seems that these two guys are completely controlled by Brainiac. Black Canary made a sound that seemed to be an electronic synthesized sound. A ship is on the way, and Kandak will become Brainiac's collection. Black Adam looked at the Black Canary who was speaking. You are the gorilla Grodd, right? This electronic synthesized sound was very similar to the sound made by the gorillas under Grodd, so he guessed that Grodd was controlling the two. Wanda couldn't help but ask the two, since you are from Earth, why would you help Brainiac destroy the Earth? On the other side, Green Arrow said in the same voice as Black Canary, I am not loyal to Brainiac, I am doing this for myself, I will wait until the alien reveals his weakness, and then kill him. With this spaceship, I will be unstoppable. Hearing the gorilla Grodd speaking through the mouth of Green Arrow and revealing his identity as a traitor, Hermione and Fleur looked at each other in surprise. Zu moved his wrist and said, very good, I want to see how you can overestimate your own abilities. As he said that, he rushed towards Green Arrow. Before Zu rushed over, Green Arrow shot countless arrows in an instant. Archers should stay in the circus. Zhu grabbed the arrow and threw it back. With a whoosh, the arrow pierced Green Arrow's left shoulder. Oliver staggered back and was caught by Black Canary. Then Black Canary released ultrasonic waves, shattering the obsidian ground within a radius of dozens of meters. Zhu's only weakness is ultrasonic waves. He felt dizzy and swollen when he was suddenly attacked by Black Canary in this way. He couldn't hold on and retreated. The ability of Black Canary Dynalaural Lance is the famous superpower Canary's Cry, which is a powerful sound wave attack that can hypnotize, interfere with the enemy, make people dizzy, and can imitate any sound. At high frequency, the direct attack of the Canary's Cry can destroy the human skull, wood, stone and even metal. Even just hearing it is enough to make the eardrum of a normal person bleed. Zhu's ability was restrained by the opponent, and he staggered back. Black Adam had already rushed to the spaceship. Only Wanda, Hermione and Fleur were at the scene. Seeing Zhu falling to the ground with his ears covered in pain, Wanda released crimson energy with a serious expression and threw it towards the howling Black Canary. Black Canary activated the sonic bomb, and the sound wave lifted the heavy obelisk and smashed it towards Wanda's magic energy. Boom! The magic and the stone pillar collided with each other, making a deafening sound. Fleur and Hermione were wearing power armor, holding wands in their left hands and bolters in their right hands, and attack Green Arrow. Chapter 774 Zhu, I didn't feel good today, I lost, sorry. The desert sun baked the sand into glassy crystals, and the shadow of Brainiac's ship passed across the sky. The tip of Hermione's wand burst out with blue and white magic energy. The motor on the shoulder of the Warhammer power armor roared, amplifying her armor protection spell into a spherical barrier with a radius of 5 meters. With a boom, the arrow shot by Green Arrow exploded on the surface of Hermione's barrier. The dark green poisonous mist corroded the barrier, making a teeth-grinding hissing. Left! Hermione! Fleur Delacour's voice broke through the roar of the bolter and shouted at Hermione. The jets on the back of her power armor burst into flames, leaving molten pits in the sand when she jumped up. At the same time, Fleur's bolter spurted out flames, and the steel core bullet instantly blasted the sandstone pillar where Green Arrow was hiding into pieces. Oliver Queen dodged, and purple data streams flashed in his eyes. He leaned back to avoid Fleur's sweeping shot, and the compound bow completed the fatal cycle of arrow string release in a short moment. The arrows were drawing a straight line, and the arrowheads suddenly split into arrows carrying explosives, attacking the two. Split into pieces, Hermione's wand drew an angle, and the spell was amplified by the power armor's psychic core, turning into a fan-shaped shock wave and rushing out. 3 arrows carrying explosives exploded in the air under the effect of the spell. But the remaining 3 grazed her shoulder armor and exploded violently outside the barrier, making a deafening sound. Fleur's power armor heel sprayed compressed air and rushed towards Green Arrow fiercely. The bolt gun switched to hot melt mode, aimed at the opponent and fired fiercely. But Green Arrow's nerve reflexes controlled by Brainiac were beyond common sense. Oliver quickly pulled out the sonic arrow on his belt and shot it at the ground, and the high-frequency vibration dispersed the sand's vortex. Then he used the recoil to flip back, and 3 freezing arrows formed a triangular shape to block Fleur's retreat. The power armor's constant temperature system sounded an alarm, and Fleur had to start to retreat quickly. Fire blazing, seeing Fleur in danger, Hermione's spell was released with her roar, turning into a fire dragon sweeping towards Green Arrow. Seeing Hermione release the flame, the startled Green Arrow wanted to retreat, but Fleur approached and released a fainting, plop. Green Arrow, who was directly hit, rolled his eyes and fell to the ground. On the other side, the battle between Wanda and Black Canary was also quickly decided. Wanda opened the 5 fingers of her left hand, and the chaos magic formed a barrier to block the incoming sound waves. The red energy field showed the lines of being hit by the sound waves. Black Canary's ultrasonic wave was completely blocked by the chaos magic barrier. Black Canary's tactical boots crushed the road surface. The next second, she jumped to the top of the stone pillar with a recoil of the sound wave, and tore off the shoulder straps to reveal the infrasound generator on her collarbone. When her throat muscles contracted to the limit, the wood within a radius of dozens of meters exploded at the same time, and the flying debris formed a storm under the control of the sound wave. Wanda's red hair danced wildly in the energy turbulence. Frowning, she poured chaos magic into her right hand, instantly raising a crimson energy tsunami on the ground. The desert road impregnated with magic bulged like a living thing, forming a 3-meter high red wave that swallowed up the storm and rushed towards Black Canary. At the moment when the crest of the wave was about to smash Dinah, Scarlet Witch suddenly tightened her fingers, and the crest of the wave solidified into several magic spikes suspended in the air. Obviously, your voice. Wanda's pupils lit up with a meaningful look. For me, it's not powerful enough. Being watched by Wanda, Black Canary's pupils suddenly lost focus. She heard that her vocal cords were no longer emitting weapon-grade ultrasound, but a silent cry. Brainiac's controller vibrated wildly behind her neck, but it could not stop the auditory hallucinations planted by chaos magic in her auditory nerves. When she instinctively covered her ears, Wanda's magic spikes had already pressed against her vital parts. The sand nearby that she controlled suddenly fell. Black Canary woke up at the last moment, shattered the two spikes formed by chaos magic with sound waves, and quickly retreated. But the crimson energy had already penetrated into her brain. When she wanted to launch infrasound, she found that she couldn't make any sound at all. Go to sleep, angry birds. Wanda's fingertips lightly touched the void. Black Canary, whose consciousness was controlled by her, fell to the ground with a thump. While Wanda was dealing with Black Canary, Blue Beetle also flew over and helped Zoo up on the ground. Are you okay? Blue Beetle asked Zoo, who was slightly panting. Nothing, just a bad feeling today, Blue Beetle. Zoo ignored Blue Beetle's strange look and asked him, didn't you and Firestorm disappear when you dealt with Gotham's robot army? Bugs won't die so easily. Blue Beetle shrugged. After dealing with Green Arrow and Black Canary, Hermione, Fleur and Wanda came over. Black Adam flew over after dealing with the miscellaneous soldiers. Let's go, we don't have much time. A few minutes later, the corridor of the Eternal Rock suddenly shrank when everyone stepped in, and the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs on the wall revealed the color of asphalt. Azu's hot eyes, who entered first, swept through the darkness and looked at the suspended statue of Set in front of him. After entering the space where the Eternal Rock was located, everyone looked around curiously. What exactly is the Eternal Rock? What should we do? Azu, holding a trident, asked Black Adam. This is the Eternal Rock, a dimensional space located between the dimensions of heaven and hell, guarded by a council composed of 7 ancient wizards. Its essence is the center of magical energy. The construction time can be traced back to the ancient Egyptian Kandak civilization period 5,000 years ago. Black Adam slowly said to Azu and the others, enter here through lightning transmission. The Wizard Council selects and grants the successor divine power here. I was originally chosen to be the guardian here. Black Adam paused after speaking and looked at the trident in Azu's hand. The Stone of Eternity has the characteristic of transcending time and space. It is not only the entrance to the inheritance of magic, but also the place to seal the evil forces. In addition, the International Gang once occupied Kandak for a long time to mine the Stone of Eternity and create weapons that can threaten our citizens. They believe that the magical energy contained in it can be transformed into military technology, and your US government has always condoned and intervened in the International Gang, and even sent Hawkman to intervene. Blue Beetle complained on the side. That was in the past. Now the US government is gone. Azu narrowed his eyes and asked Black Adam, you mean to say that through the Stone of Eternity, you want to infuse the power of the 6 gods into the weapon and open Brainiac's shield? Not only the power of the 6 gods, but also more magical powers. I will infuse the power of the Stone of Eternity into your trident. When the power is released, it will look for your weapon, and your mind will guide the wizard's power to the target. Listening to Black Adam's explanation, Fleur whispered to Wanda, I heard him mention Shazam. Isn't Shazam also a superhero? Fleur knew that there was a superhero named Shazam in Peter's world, but she didn't know why she couldn't see him here. He was killed by Superman. Oh, that's a pity. Black Adam pretended not to hear Fleur and Hermione's discussion, walked to the chair and sat down, ready to activate the power of the Eternal Rock. But when he sat on the chair where the wizards were meeting, the silent Blue Beetle suddenly raised his hand. Bang! An energy cannon hit Black Adam, knocking him back heavily. Looking at the Blue Beetle who suddenly turned against them, Wanda, Hermione, and Fleur looked at him in shock. Beetle, what are you doing? It's simple, he is following my orders. A voice came from outside the Eternal Rock. Everyone turned around in astonishment and found that the Gorilla Grodd walked in from outside. As he looked at the approaching gorilla and narrowed his eyes, it seems that a secret agent brought you here. Yes, even with the power of the beetle, this child is still easy to control. Grodd glanced at the Blue Beetle and ordered him, now, Heyman, kill them. The controlled Blue Beetle attacked Azu without hesitation. When Azu first entered the door, He was already suspicious of the blue beetle with stiff movements and a bit strange speech. Before he could launch an attack, Azu's heat vision had already rushed him out. Grodd on the other side also moved. His claws went straight to Wanda's heart. Facing the attack, Wanda transformed all the chaos magic into a mental blade. Hermione directly released a stun spell on Grodd. Fleur unceremoniously released a Imperious Curse. Under the influence of Hermione and Fleur, the mental defense of the Gorilla King was as brittle as thin paper and was instantly controlled by Wanda. When Grodd tried to cut off the connection, he found that his brain nerves were being repeatedly tortured by Wanda's traumatic memories. He saw the scene he feared the most, degenerating back into an ordinary gorilla in an iron cage in the zoo. Wanda pressed her right hand on Grodd's furry forehead, and chaos magic acted on his brain. With a bang, he was blasted out by Wanda's chaos energy without any resistance. On the other side, Azu also dealt with a blue beetle and came over. Stupid human, the gorilla who fell to the ground, who had woken up but was controlled by chaos magic and had no power to resist, cursed at Azu. Azu raised the trident and stabbed the weapon into the opponent's chest with an expressionless face. Swish, Grodd's chest was instantly pierced by the trident. Retracting the weapon, Azu said to him coldly, "Remember, idiot. It was the human who killed you." Chapter 775, Azu's Highlight, 9 Heaven's Mysterious Thunder, Magnificent Heavenly Might. John Padrick, son of Peter Padrick, the greatest superhero killed you. How? The gorilla Grodd, with blood flowing out of his mouth, looked at Azu who pulled out the trident, and said with great pain, "You want to fight Brainiac? I have peeked into his brain and felt his power. He is unstoppable, maybe, but there is no problem killing you, Zizzy." Azu's eyes turned red, and his hot eyes instantly pierced through Grodd's head. Looking down at Grodd's body, Azu turned away expressionlessly. Hermione looked at the body of Grodd, who was completely dead with his head pierced, and her heart was shocked. "He died just like that," Fleur comforted him. "Don't worry, he's an animal, not a human, so there is no problem for Azu to kill him." Hermione, although it's okay to say this, it seems a bit strange. After the episode ended, Black Adam began to absorb the power of the Eternal Stone. Black Adam sat on the chair, his fingertips embedded in the armrest of the Eternal Throne, and the ancient rock wailed in his palm. When the taboo word Shazam rolled out of his throat, the air of the entire Eternal Rock suddenly solidified. Countless lightning from different divine realms struck at the same time, melting a charred totem on his spine. Watching this scene, Azu immediately grabbed the trident and passed through the gate, instantly moving outside the Eternal Rock. With a bang, Azu heavily inserted the trident into the ground, and then held it tightly with both hands. Even outside the Eternal Rock, he could still hear Black Adam's roar mixed with thunder. Boom! Thunder blasted out from the door and hit the trident held by Azu heavily. Azu felt that the trident suddenly became alive, and the halberd forged with Atlantis mithril suddenly emerged with ancient Egyptian runes that he had never seen before. As the trident continued to emit high temperatures like lava in his palm, the patterns on it were like a living iron, leaving marks on his skin. Those symbols drilled into Azu's palm like a centipede, along the arm bone to the heart. The severe pain instantly filled his pupils with bloodshot. He could clearly feel that every blood vessel was boiling, not a metaphor, but a real boiling. The blood rolled under the skin and produced bubbles, and when it burst, it exploded into fine blood beads. Ugh! Azu roared in the severe pain. In the continuous impact of thunder, the tip of the trident burst out a dazzling blue-white halo. It was not the azure blue of the ocean, but the white of the stars at the beginning of the universe. His retina began to carbonize, but because of this, he saw the essential form of energy. Countless golden streams flowed out of Black Adam's body and crawled into his pores along the halberd. The sound of muscle fibers breaking was like the breaking of strings. Azu staggered and used the tail of the halberd to hit the ground to prevent himself from falling. "No, I can't fall here and let my father down. I am his proudest son." Azu gritted his teeth and stood up forcefully. The resonance frequency of the trident suddenly changed, and he felt the heaviness of the abyss exerted on him, as if the power of the entire ocean was exerted on his shoulders. It was as if the undercurrent of the Atlantic Ocean was running in his left arm, the hurricane of the Pacific Ocean was roaring in his right arm, and the volcano of the Indian Ocean was exploding in his spine. When the first wave of energy pulses rushed out of the tip of the halberd, Azu seemed to hear the sound of his bones breaking. Part of his uniform was shattered by the impact of thunder, revealing his bare muscles. At the same time, the trident showed its true form at the last moment. The halberd shaft cracked to reveal the marrow bone of the first generation of sea gods inside, and the 3 prongs on the tip of the halberd turned into the sharp teeth of the giant whale that devoured the stars. Azu felt that his power was being drained away. Azu endured the pain and roared and raised the trident. The huge thunder, whistling and emitting unparalleled power, rushed into the sky. The energy beam released by the trident rushed into the sky of Metropolis. After the thunder arrived in Metropolis, it completed several transformations in 1/10,000th of a second, first penetrating the energy shield of the mothership, then decomposing the outer layer of nano-armor, and finally breaking the shield of Brainiac's mothership. The shield of Brainiac's mothership originally lit up with a faint blue light outside the clouds. After being bombarded by the powerful thunder, there was a deafening explosion and then gradually disappeared. After releasing the power of the Rock of Eternity gathered by the trident, Azu gasped for breath and fell to the ground unable to support his body. The energy bursting from the tip of the trident had burned the ground into a glass-like state. Inside the Rock of Eternity, the dome exploded, and the accumulated energy turned into a pillar of light that pierced the sky. Wanda, Hermione and Fleur were shocked to see the scene in front of them. Looking at Azu who had just released unparalleled thunder, Wanda's face was full of disbelief. Is this still the countryman she knew? Even if the Injustice Superman in his prime came, he couldn't stop it, right? Azu, holding the trident of the 6 divine powers given by the Rock of Eternity, definitely has the possibility of fighting with Brainiac and defeating him. Hermione, who was next to him, looked at all this with an incredible and shocked expression. She had always thought that Azu was just a guy with a bit of a bad temper and liked to act like a big brother, but she didn't expect him to be so brave. In order to penetrate Brainiac's shield, she almost gave up her life. If it was her, she would never be able to endure the pain just now. On the other side, near Batman's fighter plane, Bruce, Kara, Clark, Lyra and Cyborg heard the thunder bombardment from the sky and immediately raised their heads. In their astonished sight, they saw the thunder continuously striking, forming a spectacular scene that was impossible to look at directly. It was not ordinary lightning, but a golden thunderbolt mixed with ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, and each fork carried a more powerful momentum. The energy trajectory of the thunderbolt was clearly visible in the sky, and Azu's roar was transmitted through Cyborg's signal relay. Energy readings have exceeded the energy level of the mothership's shield. Cyborg's voice was accompanied by the sound of metal friction, and his left arm projected a holographic model. The shield's weak point coordinates are moving, and the number of changes per second is reduced. The shield can no longer hold up. As the thunder bombarded the sky, cracks finally appeared on the mothership's shield, not ordinary spider-web-like cracks, but the collapse of the space structure itself. The shield is disintegrating. Kara's voice was filled with disbelief and shock. Cyborg said in surprise, "Oh my god. He did it." Clark clenched his fists and looked at the thunder bombarding the sky. "They have completed the mission. Now it's up to us. Clark, Kara, you and I will go to the center of the spaceship. Leela, you and Cyborg and the others will deal with the sub-body." Batman jumped onto the Batplane and drove towards the mothership with a boom. Clark wanted to confirm Azu's situation, but knew that now was not the time to think about it. He shook his head, gritted his teeth and flew towards the mothership with a boom. Kara also caught up in time and flew quickly towards the mothership. At the same time, inside the skeleton ship, Brainiac's metal fingers suddenly froze in midair. His pupils shrank into dangerous needle-like shapes. The bulkhead was not using the usual silver energy liquid, but a scarlet liquid with an organic smell. Warning: main shield effectiveness 97.3%, 95.8%, 93. The mechanical prompt was torn apart when it was counted for the third time. The entire mothership was like a doll stuffed into the tidal force of a black hole, and the millions of tons of the ship hull made a metallic groan. Sparks suddenly burst out from the data cable on the back of Brainiac's neck, and he fell backwards somewhat unsteadily. Although he supported himself in time, this perfect body tasted the taste of unbalance for the first time. Impossible. There was disbelief in his voice. On the main display, the model representing the integrity of the shield was collapsing, and a primitive energy source from the Earth was penetrating the defense in a way he could not understand. The gravity stabilizer on the top of the cabin exploded into a fireball. Brainiac quickly moved to the observation window of the Civilization Collection cabin and saw that the shrunken city was boiling inside the shield. The explosion of the spacecraft and the destruction of the shield caused a chain reaction inside the spacecraft. Damn. How did he do it? Brainiac made an unbelievable sound. At the same time, the sound of metal tearing came from the starboard side of the mothership. He immediately ordered the robots to quickly repair the cracks in the hull. The shock wave from the burst of the main energy pipeline made a deafening sound. The mechanical arm on Brainiac was inserted into the emergency interface and read the damage to the hull. Fortunately, it was still within the controllable range. He immediately activated the back energy of the spacecraft to repair it. Padwick Farm. Peter, who was talking to Mark, Tom and Loki, seemed to have a premonition of something and raised his head suddenly. "Dad, what's wrong?" Mark saw that Peter suddenly stopped talking and asked him in confusion. Mark was talking to Peter about Raven's recent private club at school and was warned by Umbridge. As a result, Peter suddenly stopped talking. Peter seemed to sense Azu's emotions and soul just now. Among the children of fathers worrying, Raven and Tom have a deeper emotional connection with him because their souls are connected to him. But he can also keenly perceive the situation of several others, such as Azu and Bayo. Now he felt a palpitation, especially about Azu's emotions and soul power, which seemed to be more closely connected with himself. A feeling of uneasiness came to his heart. "Dad? Are you okay?" Seeing Peter's frown, as if something was wrong, Loki beside him asked worriedly. "Did something happen?" "In the world of injustice, no, it's okay." Peter stood up and said to the others with a serious expression, "You stay here to take care of the house in Persephone and Fwakin. I'm going to the world of injustice." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.